Zhu was stunned and said in disbelief. You want to leave? I have worked hard to train you for 15 years, and you just leave like that? Your master said that you must serve the king of Xin. And if you do not achieve results, you cannot return to the mountain. Have you forgotten? Yunlong is weak and dull, and is not a talent that can be cultivated. If he stays in the mansion, he will cause trouble and bring trouble to his highness. As he said this, he knelt down and kowtowed 3 times to Xiaohu, indicating that the friendship between the two had ended. Yunlong, I'm leaving. If you need me in the future, please come find me. I will do my best and will never refuse. Seeing Xiao Yunlong so determined, Xiaohu also realized that he must have gone too far, making him see no hope, so he began to think about leaving. He quickly stood up and walked up to Xiao Yunlong. Yunlong, since you came into the mansion, I have always treated you as my own son or nephew, so I will be more strict with you. You must not resent me. I dare not, and I won't. Look at you. You're still saying no. Xiaohu held Xiao Yunlong's hand. How about this? From today on, you'll be promoted to Qianzong, and I'll give you 1,000 soldiers to be ready at any time. If there's a big battle, I'll definitely let you fight. How about that? Yunlong is not well trained and cannot take on the important task. Thank you for your kindness, Your Highness. However, I have made up my mind and I will have to let Your Highness down. Xiao Yunlong's heart was as hard as iron. He had spent 15 years and could not get a single word of truth. So why should he linger on? A fierce light flashed in Xiaohu's eyes. Are you really willing to give up this king, cure? And the friends here? I am reluctant to leave. If I have the chance, I will come back to see them. Then there's nothing to discuss. Are you determined to leave? Xiao Yunlong looked ashamed. I'm sorry, Your Highness. Xiaohu suppressed his anger and said, well, forget it. My temple is too small to accommodate a big Buddha like you. Since you must leave, I won't force you to stay. Thank you, Your Highness. Go down. Xiaohu pretended to be sad. After Xiao Yunlong left, Xiaochu went to see him again and talked with him late into the night, but still failed to convince him. The next morning, Xiao Yunlong simply packed his bag and put the spear on his back. But what he didn't expect was that Xiaohu and his son were waiting there early and had prepared a fast horse and a large amount of gold, silver and jewelry for him. You have worked diligently in my house these years, and I have nothing good to give you. You can take these vulgar things with you. Your Highness, you cannot. If you still recognize me as your elder, please accept it also. Please give this letter to your master on my behalf, Xiaohu said. Xiao Yunlong took the letter, but did not take a penny of the gold, silver and jewelry. I appreciate your kindness. Your Highness, Prince, I'll see you again if we meet again. Xiao Yunlong did not take the BMW, but instead rode his own old horse. Back then, his master had given him this pony, and now this old horse was almost at the end of its life. But when he rode the old horse out of Prince Xin's mansion, the old horse was galloping at a very fast speed, and it seemed to be able to feel the joy of its master. Old Ma, from now on, you and I are free and will never be restricted again. The wind whistled in his ears, and Xiao Yunlong was like a free bird as soon as he was out of the cage. I was full of energy when I left the mountain, but looking back, I am already in my 30s. How many 15 years do I have left in my life? Xiao Yunlong has no regrets. Although the old horse was in tune with its owner, it was old after all. Xiao Yunlong was afraid that it couldn't bear it, so he wanted to slow down. However, the old horse not only did not slow down, but kept speeding up. This horse has been with him for more than 10 years and it can be said that it is very human-like. Moreover, it is extremely intelligent and has helped Xiao Yunlong escape several times. There is only one reason why it speeds up instead of slowing down, and that is when there is danger. He became alert and took the spear in his hand. After running for a while, a group of people appeared behind me. These people were dressed in black and covered their faces. But this is the heartland of Xinshu. With hundreds of thousands of troops here, who can break in? His first reaction was that it was an enemy attack, and he even subconsciously wanted to go back and report it. But they shot themselves. There was a gun, and it was pointed at him. Xiao Yunlong was shocked. An inappropriate thought popped up. No, that's impossible, it can't be them. Xiao Yunlong's breathing became rapid. He tried to shake off these people, but they were chasing him very closely. He simply took off the longbow behind him and started shooting on horseback. A series of free arrows shot the 3 men off their horses. And repeat the same process until all the arrows in the quiver are shot out. However, these people are not vegetarians. He already felt like he was being hit by a bullet, and they were still riding and shooting. He gripped the spear tightly and tried to knock away as many arrows as possible. Bang bang bang. Bang bang bang. The sound of explosions continued. It's an explosive arrow. Xiao Yunlong's eyes were red with anger. At this moment, he finally understood that the people who were chasing him were from Prince Xin's mansion. Why? Xiao Yunlong didn't understand. He worked diligently for Prince Xin's palace. Even if he had no credit, he had worked hard. Why are you chasing me? At this moment, he felt a pain in the back of his heart, but he was too busy to check. He was furious and roared, "Old Ma, let's not run away, follow me and kill the enemy." The old horse began to run in a roundabout way, and Xiao Yanlong stuck close to the horse's back to avoid bullets and arrows. He rushed into the pursuers with only his horse and spear. The moment they started fighting, he knew that these people were using the fighting skills taught by their master. Confusion, anger, and murderous intent boiled in my chest. At this moment, Xiao Yanlong just wanted to kill the people in front of him and run back to ask Xiao Hu for an explanation. Wherever the long spear went, heads rolled down. Xiao Yanlong was also seriously injured. There were more than 100 people in this group, and they were the elite soldiers of Prince Xian's palace. After killing nearly half of them, Xiao Yanlong's spear tip broke and he also lost too much blood, and his eyes went black for a while. Looking at the old horse in the middle of his buttocks, he drove the old horse to the dry river. The surging waves were dawning. He used his last bit of strength to get off the horse, and then slapped the old horse's butt hard. "Run for your life." The old horse fled quickly, and Xiao Yanlong looked at the pursuers approaching him and smiled miserably. "Damn Xiao Hu, you hypocritical rat. Even if you die, you can never get my man." As he said that, he jumped into the river. Chapter 238 Blind Chen. He jumped into the river. Xiao Hu's face changed. "You useless people, 150 people can't catch Xiao Yanlong. What do you do for a living?" "Your Highness, he is too strong, we are no match for him. If it weren't for the advantage of the musket, we wouldn't be able to hurt him at all." However, when he jumped, he was already seriously injured and there was no way he could survive. "We searched for dozens of miles along the river, but couldn't find his body. He must have sunk to the bottom of the river." "Are you sure he's seriously injured?" "Sure, almost on his last breath." Xiao Hu stroked his beard and said, "Continue to send people to search. Increase the intensity." "Yes, Your Highness." After the guards left, Xiao Chu asked, "Father, is it really necessary to do this? I trained him for 15 years, but he left without mercy. What's the point of keeping a person like him? Since he can't be used by me, I can't let him be used by others." Xiao Hu sneered, "Besides, if I don't kill him, how can I lure out the sword saint? Don't think that the sword master is old and can't lift a sword anymore. In the past, he relied on a sword to defeat all his opponents in the three kingdoms and had tens of thousands of followers. If his last disciple died, how could he not come out to seek revenge?" Xiao Chu took a deep breath and said, "Father, you are still the best. No ruthlessness, no hero. I gave him a horse, gold, silver and jewelry. Do you really think I am willing to give it to him? It's just a Xiao." Xiao Hu said, "You go to Nanshan in person to announce the death. Remember, wear mourning clothes. Don't ask him to come out of the mountain. Just say that we will definitely avenge Xiao Yanlong after I find out the truth. I will go to Nanshan to apologize. Do you understand?" As he said this, he took out a letter and cut off a lock of his hair himself. Xiao Chu was really shocked by his father's cruel and vicious methods. "Yes, father." Xiao Chu took the letter and the hair, turned and left. While Prince Xian's army was searching vigorously, an old wounded horse carrying a man struggled to get ashore from the water. It seemed a little exhausted. It walked to the side and ate grass for a while, then walked forward with difficulty. Moreover, it did not dare to take the main road. I don't know how long it walked, from day to night, but finally, it couldn't hold on any longer and fell to the ground. It let out a sad neigh and hit the pale-faced man with its head. At this moment, it realized something and tried hard to get up from the ground, but it was too old and too tired. It had been hit by several arrows and cut by several knives. No matter how hard it tried, it could not get up. A group of people came from a distance and soon stopped in front of the old horse. "Boss, there's someone here." While sleeping, Xiao Yanlong had a very long dream. In the dream, there was a big fire and a middle-aged man with several knife wounds in his body. I carried him and the little girl out of the fire. Before the man died, he and the little girl were handed over to two different people. One went south and the other went north. "No, no, Dad, no, sister. No, no." Xiao Yanlong suddenly sat up from the bed, his whole body soaked in cold sweat. He looked around in confusion. Where is this place? At this moment, a Taoist priest in a Taoist robe walked in. Seeing Xiao Yanlong, he grinned and said, "Brother, you are lucky enough to survive." Seeing the old Taoist priest, Xiao Yanlong immediately became alert. "Who are you?" "Just call me Blind Chen." He took out a pipe, slowly filled it with tobacco, lit it with a match, and took a sip with satisfaction. "Brother, you are not an ordinary person. You were shot 7 or 8 times, stabbed more than 10 times, and choked on water. You held your breath for a long time. I thought you would not survive, but I didn't expect you to survive. You saved me? I happened to pass by and saw the old horse collapsed on the side of the road carrying you. I gave it a try and actually saved you." Blind Chen grinned. "You are from Prince Xian's mansion, right? How did you collapse in Mia's?" "Mia's? This is Mia's. Xiao Yunlong didn't dare to think about it. He clearly remembered that he jumped into the river, so how could he be carried by the old horse again? Chen Daoist Chen, where is my old horse? Is it still alive? That horse was very smart when it saw me saving you. It knelt down to me. It was seriously injured. But it's as tough as you and is alive and well. Also, this is not Mia's, it's Day. You have been in a coma for 7 days and 7 nights. I'm in Day. Xiao Yunlong's brain was in a state of paralysis, and he had no idea what happened during his coma. He resisted the discomfort and stood up, prostrating himself on the ground. Thank you very much, Daoist Chen. For saving my life. I have no way to repay you. I will do anything to help you. Old blind man. I do things according to my heart. I saved you because I like you. I don't ask for anything in return, just tell me. An old Taoist, what happened? Blind Chen crossed his legs and smoked a cigarette. All the wrinkles on his face came together. Xiao Yunlong did not hesitate and recounted what had happened. He went to Prince Xian's mansion when you were 15 years old, and stayed there for 15 years. You resigned and left, but were hunted down. Blind Chen touched his chin. It seems that your sword saint master is also quite confused. Master Chen. I accidentally read the letter you carried with you. I have to say that Xiaotu is not kind at all. He is so cruel. Blind Chen said with a smile. Boy, do you want to stay in Day? I can introduce you? With your ability, you should be able to stand out. Xiao Yunlong hesitated for a while. Now it seemed that the Taoist priest in front of him should have no hatred towards his master. Besides, he saved me, so he should stay to repay his kindness. I can stay with the Taoist priest and listen to his orders. I still need to go to Nanshan to tell my master the truth. If I delay, something bad will happen. After this feud is settled, I will definitely come back to repay you. Blind Chen knocked the cigarette butt, then put the pipe into the pipe. If that's the case, and it's probably too late. Xiao who wants to kill you, and he will definitely show no mercy. When your master was young, he was invincible. I have also heard of his reputation. He did something shady, and no one knows about it. He might take the opportunity to trick your master out, and either use him or destroy him completely. Xiao Yunlong became even more anxious when he heard this. Then I have to go back. You are paralyzed, so you will just be a waste if you go back. How about this? I can help you pass the message to your master, but I can't guarantee the result. Xiao Yunlong banged his head 3 times. Master, I have been so kind to you. I have no way to repay you. No matter if my master is alive or not, I will always be by your side. Blind Chen chuckled. Following me is useless. Day he needs talents judging from your strength. You must be a master who has been training martial arts for many years. If you are interested, then join Day, serve his majesty, and make great achievements that will be your repayment. Chapter 239. Storm is coming. Just before Xiao Jianjia was about to go to Liangjing, she prepared a gift and made all the necessary preparations. The current situation is relatively stable, and the Zhu family has really held back Prince Xian's mansion. With a batch of weapons supported by the Zhu family, the Saint King's army fought back and forth with the Yu King's army at the Tongshu border. A major event also happened in the north these days. Wang Jingdi borrowed the passage and moved the Wang family members out from Xiangbi, holding Li Yuan's imperial edict, and even had the protection of Day soldiers along the way. This proves that the Wang family is indeed the power of Day. Xiao Jianjia pursed her lips, feeling a pang of pain in her heart. So, when the Wang family besieged Tongshu, it was Li Yuan who tacitly approved it. Was it even Li Yuan who ordered it? But it doesn't matter anymore. It doesn't matter whether he did it or not. When Wang Jingzhi left Xiangbi and passed through Tongshu prefecture, he even tore up the marriage contract in the imperial edict promoting him to King Izajabignia in front of everyone. It seemed like an attempt to draw a clear line between themselves and the Holy King's army, but in Xiao Jianjia's eyes, it was just a move for Li Yuan to see, a move to avoid suspicion. Didn't Li Yuan just want to force me to give in? But his methods are too despicable. Your Majesty, are you really going to Liangjing? Xiao Podayo's face was full of worry. In her opinion, Xiao Jianjia was just angry. She knew that Li Yuan had changed his mind, but she insisted on going to see it in person. She would not give up until she hit the wall. Or, don't go. Why, hurt yourself. Doesn't he just want to see me in such a state of disgrace? Just satisfy him this time. It's not for yourself, but for all the soldiers and civilians in Tongshu. It's nothing to suffer a little injustice. Xiao Jianjia smiled faintly. Just as she was about to leave, a sharp voice came. Report emergency at the front line. Moyang City has been breached. Prince Xiaoji is under siege. Prince Wan is leading troops to support. A large army has entered from Biaishu, the territory of the Biaidai army. The number of people is no less than 100,000, all cavalry. Report. Mutant County was breached by the enemy, and a cavalry force entered from Haoshu, the territory of the Green Forest Army, with a number of no less than 50,000. The successive bad news coming from the front line made Xiao Podayo's face change drastically. Mutant County is the nearest county to Tongshu, only more than 50 miles away. Do you know where these two cavalry units came from? Xiao Ji and Jia said calmly. These people are quite diverse, and seem to be composed of several cavalry units, including many blonde-haired and blue-eyed red-haired ghosts. Red-haired ghost? Xiao Ji and Jia frowned. Could it be reinforcements from a vassal state? Thinking of this, her heart skipped a beat. The allied forces of the two governments numbered far more than 600,000 or 700. Zeroman, the sudden appearance of foreign cavalry was the best proof of this. Quick, let them retreat. Don't fight them head-on, Xiao Ji and Jia hurriedly gave orders. Your Majesty, they are coming for us. The joint forces of the two governments have held back the others, and most of our troops have been sent out. If there are more than 100,000 cavalry, we are no match for them. Xiao Puedeo's heart was trembling. Nearly 1 million enemy troops were distributed in these states, blocking their way out. Besides, no one knows how many of them there are. Don't worry, wait a little longer. Xiao Ji and Jia took a deep breath. Anyway, there aren't too many people in Tongshu. If you want to leave, you can leave any time. After moving the city last time, she did not move the people back. Instead, Tongshu was used as a temporary fortress. At this time, Lu Qiuishan walked in quickly. Your Majesty, something is wrong. Tongshu seems to be becoming the main battlefield. What do you mean? In an area of no more than 10 states, the enemy and our forces have exceeded 1 million, and there is constant friction. The coalition forces of the two governments are determined to defeat us. Judging from the map, Tongshu has become the only way to go. Xiao Ji and Jia looked at the map behind him. There were indeed enemies on 3 sides, and Tongshu had become the only main road in today. Lu Qi, does he have any idea about that red-haired cavalryman? Xiao Ji and Jia did not panic now. She became calmer when faced with major events. It was just a matter of death, so what was there to be afraid of? Lu Qiuishan stroked his beard and said, the coalition forces of the affiliated countries, and I am sure that the number of this batch of reinforcements is no less than 200,000, or even more. He must be a reinforcement, and there might be people from the Xi and Jing dynasties mixed in with them. Reason: if they fight they head-on, the chances of them winning are extremely low. If they enter from Daqian, the chances will increase significantly. It seems that the target of the two governments' coalition forces was us from the beginning. They could see it too. Although they will be on guard, they will not necessarily take the initiative to attack. But if the coalition forces succeed, they will really be trapped. Therefore, I think that attacking us will be of great benefit to the coalition forces of the two governments. If they fails, it will be the last straw that breaks the camel's back. I understand their target is us and not us, but if Day relaxes, they are very likely to attack Day, right? Yes, Day is short of troops. Fighting on 3 fronts will lengthen the battle line. If we use human lunts to fill the gap, we may be able to break the defense line. At this point, Lu Qiuishan said, retreat to Zongshu. If that doesn't work, retreat to the outside of Biaoyang Pass and see if they dare to take action. We'll talk about this later. Let's wait for news from Prince Duan and Shidadan first, Xiao Ji and Jia said. The atmosphere in the hall was depressing. Half an hour later, Shidadan led his troops back to defend. Your Majesty, I am incompetent and failed to defend Muden County. Get up and tell me what happened. Xiao Ji and Jia did not blame him. At first, there were only a small group of bandits invading, and I did not take it seriously, but later, more and more people came from all directions. This group of people is very mixed, but their number is no less than 50,000. I thought that Moyang city had fallen, so Moyang was indeed breached. Xiao Ji and Jia sighed. Shidadan's eyes were red with anger. How could it be? The latest news is that not only Muden County, but Lanshan County has also been breached, and there are also tens of thousands of troops coming from Kaishu, the territory of the Chaimai army. So many people? Are the two governments' allied forces out in full force? Unknown for the time being. Xiao Ji and Jia shook her head, but her heart was cold. This time, even the coalition of the 5 bandits could not match them. The hundreds of thousands of cavalry alone were not something the Holy King army could deal with, not to mention the hundreds of thousands of infantry. Shidadan was stunned, then gritted his teeth and said, no matter what, I will protect your Majesty and will not retreat a single step. Xiao Ji and Jia glanced at him with relief. It's not the worst yet. But soon after, Xiao Ji fled back with the remnants of his army. Wounded when he landed, he was carried into the hall by others. Your Majesty, hurry up, the main force of the coalition forces has caught up, with no less than 200,000 people. Retreat quickly. Where's your father? My father is trapped, and his life or death is unknown. Xiao Ji's eyes instantly turned red. Xiao Ji and Jia was devastated, but she couldn't bear to feel sad at this moment. Gather all the troops and withdraw. Chapter 240, Northern Earth Tremor. She couldn't count how many times she had escaped. Retreat again and again, collapse again and again. This reminded her of the Romance of the Three Kingdoms written by Liu Yuan. She felt, but she was very similar to Uncle Liu, but she did not have the same tenacious mind as Uncle Liu. Starting a business is difficult. And building a great business is even more difficult. Xiao Jianjia mounted his horse and looked at the soldiers behind him. Each of them looked as pale as death. Perhaps they also felt that they had followed the wrong person. Just as Xiao Jianjia was withdrawing his troops, the coalition forces had already captured Prince Tuan. Prince Tuan originally wanted to bite his tongue to commit suicide, but his mouth was blocked by these people. What shocked him even more was that most of these red-haired cavalrymen in front of him were from the Central Plains. Judging from their accent, they seemed to be from Diaxia. Why are the Diaxia cavalry here? Could it be that they are taking a detour and using Dakian as a breakthrough point to gather their forces and launch a general attack? Attack the Holy King's army first, then attack Biaoyang Pass? Prince Wan Shaochai, a burly man, walked up to him. Do you remember me? Prince Tuan took a closer look and shuddered all over. Wasn't this man the dragon and tiger general of Diaxia, Matai, Niki, Anjun? It seems that you still remember me when the empress ascended the throne. It was me who was ordered to deliver the gift. Niki Anjun smiled. I will bear with you for now. I will come and reminisce with you after I capture the empress. As he said that, he gestured. Pull it down. Prince Wan sobbed and struggled constantly. At this moment, he understood everything. No wonder the coalition forces had not invaded Day on a large scale for so long. It turned out that they had chosen to go far away instead of near, and had saved a lot of space and set up a huge trap. How many troops are here? No less than 1 million. Can your majesty hold on? On the other side, Zubier also received the news. Report to the Patriarch. Prince Xian's mansion has withdrawn its troops. Report to the Patriarch. The coalition forces of the two prefectures have invaded Tongshu, and Moyang has fallen. Report to the master. Many cavalry entered from Kaishu and attacked Tongshu. Zubier was overwhelmed by the continuous news. What about the Zi and Huan families? Did they just let the army pass by them? He hurriedly gathered everyone together. Tongshu is in danger. Hundreds of thousands of troops from the two prefectures have already invaded Tongshu. They are regular troops, not comparable to those rebels. The empress may not be able to hold on. What do you think? Zhuan frowned. Brother, unite with the Zi and Huan families to attack their rear base. It is credible that Wang's army has not withdrawn, so it cannot be easily conquered, Zhu Badao said. Then call on others, ambush the coalition forces, exert pressure and force them to retreat, Zhu Ren said. A group discussed for a long time before coming up with a plan. Zhu Ren went to call for reinforcements, and Zhu Wen went to provide assistance first. Not only the Zhu family, but also the Zi family and the Huan family took action at the first opportunity. At this time in Xiangbi, the Wang family has all moved out. Wang Jingdi is appointed as the governor of Xiangbi, and the military power has been handed over. The one leading the troops was none other than Hawkeye. Report to the brigade commander. The two governments and two armies have all gone out to besiege Tongshu. Prince Tuan has been captured. Tongshu is in danger. The scout quickly entered the camp. Hawkeye stood up suddenly and said without hesitation, hurry up and support Tongshu. The emperor is still there. The Wang family has 50,000 cavalrymen, whose combat effectiveness is not very good. The infantry suffered heavy losses in the past few days, and the total strength is only about 70,000 to 80. Zhao looking at the north, it is okay, but in Eagle Eye's eyes, his two ethnic brigade can beat them. Where is Pa Shan? This time Pa Shan brought the Xian's N camp along. Since his surrender, he has challenged Hawkeye several times but never won. Once he was completely conquered by Hawkeye and now has become Hawkeye's little brother. I am here. I'll give you 10,000 cavalry, 10 Zaro infantry, and 1,000 native soldiers led the Xianzhen camp to attack Prince Yu's palace. Do you dare? Dare. Pa Shan clasped his fists. Okay. Take the military order and go mobilize the troops. Hawkeye took out a military order and threw it over. Pa Shan took it and left the tent without looking back. Then, Hawkeye called Wang Jingdi over and said, Grand Master Wang, I'll leave you 1,000 to Ziyu camp soldiers, 5,000 cavalry and 5,000 infantry. Can you defend Xiangbi? Yes. Wang Jingdi nodded. He was now an official of Day. All the troops under his command were branded with the Yi logo, and all their equipment had been upgraded. With this batch of weapons, if he cannot defend the city, he can just buy a piece of tofu and kill himself. Okay, Hawkeye nodded, then left Xiangbi with the remaining troops. He had only one purpose, to protect the emperor. This was also what Liu Yuan had instructed before he came out. Just after Hawkeye left, all forces in the north began to move. The rest of the second-rate forces were also extremely nervous and were on high alert, as if even the air was filled with a murderous aura. At this time in Tongshu, various forces have already converged. The deserted Tongshu prefecture was desolate. Ni Qianjun smoked a cigarette and waited for the arrival of his allies. Soon Allies arrived one after another. General Ni, sorry to have kept you waiting, Liu Ju. The Earl of Huiyang, Da Jing, said with a smile and bowed. General Ni, I've heard a lot about you. Xiao Xuan, the second son of Prince Xian's mansion, and Xiao An, the third son of Prince Yu's mansion, also hurried forward. I've heard a lot about you. Ni Qianjun clasped his fists in return, and made a gesture of invitation, inviting everyone into the military tent, but the generals of the reinforcements from the vassal states were not qualified to come in. After everyone was seated, Ni Qianjun said, the Empress has retreated. It is obvious that she intends to use Day's power to intimidate us. Liu Yuan is ambitious. How could he help the Empress? Liu Ju sneered, unless she escapes to Biaoyang Pass she will die. That's right, we have an army of more than 1 million now. Are we still afraid of Biaoyang Pass? That can hardly protect itself now. Xiao Xuan sneered. This time, Prince Xian's palace and Prince Yu's palace sent out 500,000 troops, and Da Jing and Diaxia each sent out 300,000 troops, totaling 1.1 million. Including reinforcements from various countries, the total force reached 1.3 million. Among them, the cavalry exceeded 300,000. Even if we use human lives to pile up a mountain, are you still afraid that we won't be able to capture Biaoyang Pass? General Ni, don't worry, Day is not a fool. We have so many troops. Does he dare to come out of the city and fight us head-on? Xiao An said with a confident smile. Ni Qianjun said, don't underestimate the enemy. Although Day has few soldiers, their combat power is very strong. We have already suffered so much at Day's hands. Do we still need to be careless? He glanced at everyone and said again, it's better to be cautious. Moreover, this time, we have two main goals. The first is to defeat the Holy King's army in the name of the two governments. We must not alert the enemy. Second, catch Lu Qiushan or Xiao Jianjia. That's the most important thing. Everyone nodded. As Li Yuan rose to power, his entire family history became known to everyone. It is not difficult to find Lu Qiushan, but the news was leaked from Bianjing. Although Yang Ji did not dare to send troops, he was evil to the core. Not only the information of the Lu family's 8 generations of ancestors, but also the information of his 18 generations of ancestors had been made public. Chapter 241 Lu Qiushan breaks the impasse. Have you seen the portraits clearly? Ni Qianjun spread 2 paintings on the table. One was of Lu Qiushan and the other was of Xiao Jianjia. How could Lu Yuan, such a smart man, let his father stay in the Holy King army? Isn't this asking for trouble? Or does he not want another retired emperor above him? Liu Ju mocked. There is no father and son in the face of power. Ni Qianjun said, no matter whether Lu Yuan cares about this father or not, he has to acknowledge him, otherwise it would be unfilial. Since ancient times, all countries in China have governed the country with filial piety and placed filial piety at the top of all virtues. I think the Empress may have been controlled by Li Yuan. Xiao An said, Li Yuan is the magistrate of Biaoyang County. He is a traitor no matter what. The Empress has been jumping around under his nose and even attended the day games this time. It is really puzzling. His wife and his woman are all in the Saint King army, which is intriguing. As explained earlier, when Xiao Jianjia ascended the throne, the two governments were disrespectful, and since they were disrespectful, they naturally would not personally go to see the emperor. Everyone's expressions turned serious. It seems that the Empress has most likely become a puppet, Liu Ju said. Otherwise, why would we raise the banner of supporting the king? Xiao Xuan said. Whether she is a puppet or not, what is certain now is that Lu Qiushan and Xiao Jianjia are very important to Li Yuan. Therefore, we cannot delay and must capture them as quickly as possible to threaten Day. Ni Qianjun said in a deep voice. Yi cannot be defeated by force, we can only defeat him with wits. Don't underestimate the enemy. After discussion, everyone decided to divide the troops into 4 groups, surround the entire Zongshu from the outside, and then cut off the retreat of the Holy King's army. Immediately, Hongshu became a temporary base camp and the army set out overnight. In the second half of the night, they attacked Zongshu. An army of 1.3 million strong completely cut off their retreat from 4 directions. By the next morning, most of Zongshu had fallen. A large number of people were dragged to the front line. In Shuitan County, where Shengwang County first started, Xiao Jianjia was wearing armor and his saber was unsheathed. Shuitan County is not a large county with a tall city, but it has become a certain size after being reinforced by the rebels. Because it is too close to Biaoyang Pass, Zongshu does not have high walls. This is also because Zongshu has been poor since ancient times and the local government has no money to build it. The army has surrounded us, we have no way to retreat. Xiao Jianjia held a bowl of wine in his hand. Below him were many soldiers. In front of them were large amounts of fish and meat. Even Xiao Jianjia had not been so extravagant for a long time. Let's drink this bowl of wine and eat the meat until we are full. Even if we die, we will die with a full stomach. Cheers to your majesty. Everyone raised their bowls above their heads and drank them all in one gulp. The aroma of shoutous was strong and spicy, and the whole hall was immediately filled with ha sounds. Xiao Jianjia tore off a leg of lamb and started chewing it in big mouthfuls even though she had no appetite. She had to eat her fill for the upcoming battle. Inside the hall, everyone was chatting and laughing, eating heartily, without any of the tension that one would feel before the approach of a powerful enemy. Outside, all the soldiers were given a glass of wine, a large piece of meat, enough food, and even a cigarette, the best tobacco from day. They put the cigarette under their noses and took a greedy, then lit it impatiently and started puffing out smoke. Not long after, Xiao Jianjia wiped her mouth contentedly with a blushing face. She looked at the people below and asked, "Are you all full?" "I'm full." "Have you finished eating?" "Are done eating," everyone shouted. Bang! Xiao Jianjia smashed the bowl into pieces. "After eating and drinking, let's sharpen our knives and attack the enemy." "Bill!" Everyone shouted and then followed suit, smashing the bowls. And he walked out of the hall and climbed up the city wall with his soldiers. After this battle, the overall strength of the Holy King's army has been reduced from 100,000 to less than 60,000. Xiao Jianjia temporarily recruited 40,000 civilians to make up a total of 100,000 people. She called out to Lu Qiushan, who was about to leave. "Mr. Lu, please stay." "Your Majesty." "What do you want me to do?" Lu Qiushan stopped. "When the fighting starts, take those people away from the tunnel." Xiao Jianjia said. "No, I want to share life and death with your Majesty. I appreciate your kindness, but you are Lu Yuan's father. After all, being able to do this is enough to prove your loyalty. No matter why you stayed. In my heart, you are the most loyal minister of Daqian. I cannot let my loyal minister die in vain. So, let's go," Xiao Jianjia said. "Your Majesty, do you really have to drive me away?" "Yes, I don't need you anymore," Xiao Jianjia said. "If possible, I ask you to take care of Huan Huan for me." As she spoke, she bowed to Lu Qiushan as a junior. Lu Qiushan quickly stepped aside and said, "Your Majesty, we can't do that. We are not at the end of our rope yet." Back then, the Five Bandits coalition almost broke Tongshu, but we still managed to hold on, didn't we? Now that we have so many soldiers and food reserves, we will definitely be able to hold on. We can't hold it anymore. Xiao Jianjia shook her head. The walls of Tongshu were obviously high. So why did they come to Zongshu? To put it bluntly, isn't it because it's close today? There is no way to survive if you stay in Tongshu. But there is still a glimmer of hope if you stay in Zongshu. "I will go to Biaoyang Pass to borrow troops," Lu Qiushan said with a folded hand. "As long as we can hold out for one day, we will be able to resolve the threat in Zongshu. I will never be able to repay what I owe your son in my lifetime. How can I still have the dignity to be the emperor?" "Your Majesty, I still say the same thing. My son has never been an enemy. If you treat him as one of your own, you won't feel embarrassed. The reason for the disunity is very simple in my opinion," Lu Qiushan said. "That's because you have too many calculations and too many concerns. It's useless to be defensive from the beginning, no matter how good your defense is. The same goes for my son. He is too cautious and calculating. How about you trust me once?" "Lu King, if I ask him for help every time I encounter a problem that I can't solve, then I'm too hypocritical. If it is a problem that can be easily solved, then it cannot highlight his importance, right?" Lu Qiushan smiled faintly. "Some words, I am afraid that I said them too bluntly. But I believe that your Majesty knows what is going on. Even if you don't have a son, your Majesty will still get married in the future. In the final analysis, it is nothing more than a question of national succession. Even if we marry, you won't be the queen, but you still have to have children. Could it be that you want to pass the throne to your sons and nephews?" Xiao Jianjia stood there in a daze. Lu Qiushan's blunt words left her speechless. Only children have ever worshipped their aunts. How can nephews worship their aunts? Lu Qiushan's words completely revealed the worst side of human nature. If your Majesty is just trying to preserve the country's destiny, then you can admit defeat now. Zhao Yi of Bianjing is of the same blood as you, and he can also continue the country's destiny. Why bother about who is orthodox? If your Majesty agrees, I will go and ask for reinforcements. I can guarantee that the Daqian dynasty will continue and the Daqian royal family will not be disgraced. Chapter 240 to Forced Landing. Lu Qiushan really likes Xiao Jianjia, putting aside her identity as an empress. She is definitely the best candidate to be his daughter-in-law. But now, the Saint King's army is at the end of its rope. This time it is more dangerous than the Five Bandits coalition. More than 600,000 troops have surrounded Zongshu. The low city wall of Shuitang County is absolutely unable to stop it. Your Majesty, are you still calculating the gains and losses? Lu Qiushan sighed. Or does your Majesty not trust me? Mr. Lu, Xiao Jianjia didn't know how to answer for a moment. Just as Lu Qiushan said, she had considered these things, and it was precisely because of these concerns that constrained her. Your Majesty, even if everyone bullies you because you are a woman, I will not put aside your prejudices and calculations, and try to trust us. I am willing to use my life to guarantee that the Daqian kingdom will last forever. Chao Jianjia was in a state of confusion. She was clearly prepared to die on the battlefield, but was shaken by Lu Qiushan's words. Well, even if your majesty doesn't consider yourself, you should at least consider the soldiers outside. In the warring states period, hundreds of countries were at war. Wars were constant, and small countries could only survive in the cracks. There are wise kings who sleep on brushwood and taste gall, and there are princes who work hard to become stronger. There were also princesses whose country was destroyed, but they took control of the power and restored the country. If you want to change your fate, you must first believe in it. Lu Qiushan said in a deep voice. Chao Jianjia was shocked and murmured, if you want to change your fate, you must first believe in it. If my fate is destined to be bumpy, then why should I blame God for being partial? At this point, she said. Okay, then I'll leave it to Lu King. Lu Qiushan breathed a sigh of relief. He was afraid that Chao Jianjia would get too stubborn. This child had been protected too well by Emperor Shenzong in the palace since he was young. Prince Duan was afraid that the new party would purge the royal family, so he pushed Chao Jianjia, who was the easiest to control, to the throne and temporarily stabilized the new party. Unfortunately, as soon as the new party came to power, it used Chao Jianjia to eliminate the eunuch party. Although she was emperor for 5 years, she was always imprisoned in the palace and did not learn the essentials of imperial skills. It was also because Emperor Shenzong passed away so suddenly that no one taught him. In Lu Qiushan's eyes, she was like a child who tried hard to express herself but could never find the way. Although she has grown, time is not waiting for her. Your Majesty, it would be better to lead the troops to retreat to Biaoyang Pass. It's too late, they have surrounded us. Chao Jianjia shook her head. Lu Qiushan sighed, and without further delay, he went into the tunnel and went to Biaoyang Pass to seek help. He knew what Liu Yuan was thinking, but this time, he had to do it. Just when Lu Qiushan left the tunnel, a million-strong army had appeared 20 miles outside Shuitan County. After a night of fighting, the army was making temporary adjustments after the corrections. They began to advance again without stopping. A million-strong army surrounded Shuitan County from all sides. They were so dense, like a swarm of locusts passing through. In the front row are chariots, siege vehicles, and catapults. The soldiers holding large shields were behind the chariots, and the spearmen hid behind the shield soldiers. A dense footsteps in the human wall formed by the soldiers made anyone feel a chill in their heart. Chao Jianjia stood on the city wall, and was enveloped by a murderous atmosphere before the enemy even approached. The joint forces of the two governments are by no means comparable to the 5 bandits. This is a military force that can destroy an entire country, yet they are all here at this moment, which shows how much these people value me. She glanced at the soldiers behind her. They all had solemn expressions, and some of the temporary conscripted civilians were so scared that they wet their pants. Everyone, this is the last battle. Follow me to kill the enemy. Chao Jianjia was not wearing a ghost mask. He drew out his knife, pointed it at the sky, and shouted, kill, 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 kill. The soldiers on the city wall roared even though the enemy's number was several times theirs. They were not afraid. Large pieces of stone were put into the catapult, and with a command, they soared into the air. Bang, bang, bang! Large pieces of rocks hit the chariots, knocking down the soldiers holding shields. But there were too many people coming from all directions. This little bit of damage is just a drop in the bucket and won't have much effect. What really caused huge damage to the enemy was the Qian Niu crossbow with a range of more than 80 feet. The arrow is 3 meters long, and it takes several people to stir the roulette wheel. Collapse. The arrow shot out like a meteor, pierced through the shield and shot through the soldier behind it. Then, with its remaining force, it shot through 2 or 3 more soldiers in succession, nailing them to skewers. But this still could not stop the enemy, and the army continued to advance steadily. Ni Qianzhen was at the rear, observing the battlefield with a telescope in hand. This empress is really tenacious. She dared to fight back even though she was only guarding such a broken city. General, it's been so long and Day hasn't made any move. It seems that Liu Yuan really wants his father to die, another deputy general said with a smile. Sure enough, this guy is so young and doesn't want to have another emperor above him, for fear that his power will be divided. Don't be careless, Ni Qianzhen said in a deep voice. If they didn't have people inside the Holy King army who were sure that Chao Jianjia and Lu Qiushan were in the city, he would not dare to come here rashly. Who knows if this is a trap set by Liu Yuan? A war situation on the front line is deteriorating and there is no way to break through. This is the only solution. The marshal and his men in front were holding back the main force of his army. After capturing the empress, he would attack Biaoyang Pass. The prerequisite is that they have to capture Lu Qiushan and Chao Jianjia. Otherwise it will be no problem to defend the majestic walls of Biaoyang Pass for 3 to 5 days. By the time Day reacts, they will have no chance. Just then, a large fire suddenly appeared in front. The fire appeared suddenly from the ground. A sudden fire killed many people. Fire, I'm on fire, put it out for me. Many people rolled on the ground. But the march did not stop. Many people were trampled to death under the feet of the large army, and the formation on the front line became disordered. Liu Ju sneered. Idiot, you buried such an important war resource in the ground and burned it. Let's see what you will use when we attack the city. What can really cause harm are the uneven horse traps in the sea ultra-ps in the pits. No matter whether a person or a horse steps on them, one of their feet will be crippled. It is an extremely disgusting hidden weapon. After this set of attacks, they lost a lot of people before they even got close. At this moment, the army suddenly stopped. It's like pressing the pause button. Wait, don't shoot yet. Xiao Jianjia raised his hand and looked forward, only to see that the enemy camp was split and a large number of civilians were pushed to the front line. Seeing this scene, Xiao Jianjia's heart sank to the bottom. The area surrounding the city wall is full of traps. These bastards are planning to use the civilians to step over the mines. Your Majesty, they are trying to threaten the people to force us to surrender. Xiao Podeo clenched his fists, his face full of hatred. This scene also put the Holy King army into a passive position. Chapter 243, Hell on Earth. Men, women, old and young were driven to the front of the battle, including many babies in swaddling clothes. Get up there quick. You old man, you're dragging your feet, you, recording death. The allied soldiers waved their whips. And some were a little slow, so they raised their hands and slashed with their swords. Child, my child. A pregnant woman, holding a child in her hands, was a little slow, and the child was snatched away and fell to the ground. This horrific scene happened, but no one stopped it. They are as worthless as ants. Life is the least valuable at this moment. Seeing this scene through the telescope, Xiao Jianjia's heart was bleeding. There is not a single one of the Holy King's soldiers on the city wall who is not angry. But so what? Do they dare to do it? When the people were driven to the foot of the city wall, they were so densely packed that there were at least 200,000 to 300,000 people. Open the door and save us. Your Majesty, please open the door and let us in. It hurts, my foot is pierced, it hurts. At this moment, Xiao Jianjia faced the most difficult choice. Opening the door would mean admitting defeat with so many people. It would take time to enter the city. The coalition forces calculated this accurately. The cruelty of war once again refreshed Xiao Jianjia's cognition. Your Majesty, we can't open the door. Jidadan gritted his teeth and said, if we open the door, we will really have no hope. Xiao Jianjia felt extremely upset and was in great torment. When the people saw that the city gates were not opening, they began to curse. Incompetent and tyrannical king, open the gates quickly. Your Majesty, it is because of your incompetence that we have to suffer this. Your Majesty, please open the door. Please, my wife is about to give birth. Please let us in. Your Majesty, I am dying, please open the door. Below the city wall, there were shouts, curses please, and cries. The crowd was so crowded that it was even beyond the range of arrows. Xiao Jianjia was tortured by her conscience, and the guilt almost made her collapse. Let go of the ropes and save as many people as possible. Hurry. Xiao Jianjia exhaled a breath of foul air, his eyes full of bloodshot. Continue to attack me. Hearing this, everyone present breathed a sigh of relief. Your Majesty, there are bandits among these people. If we let them come up, the consequences will be disastrous, Jidadan said, gritting his teeth. You want me to stand by and watch someone die without helping? Even if I can repel the enemy, I can't get over it with my conscience. Then what kind of emperor am I? What kind of legitimate emperor am I? Xiao Jianjia questioned. Orthodoxy is a magic weapon, but also a constraint. She couldn't just watch 100,000 or 300,000 people die without helping them. She could only try her best to save more people. Jidadan was also helpless in his opinion. Her Majesty was too indecisive and did not have the qualities of a hetman. If it were a prosperous era, she would have been a good emperor. But this is a time of chaos, and the overflowing virginity will kill everyone. A large number of ropes were lowered and the attack resumed. Xiao Jianjia asked the secret guards to place ropes along the city wall to lure the people away to avoid hurting them by mistake. Seeing the effect, she felt better. When Mi Qianjun saw this scene, he sneered and gestured. Do it, General, attack. The loud voice echoed throughout the battlefield. The army changed its formation, the shield soldiers retreated and the archers moved forward. But, bang, 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 An's arrow shot up into the sky, tearing through the sky and drawing countless arcs in the air. Finally, it plunged into the bodies of unarmed civilians. Countless people had their bodies pierced and were turned into hedgehogs. There was a man who protected his wife and children in his body, but no matter how well he protected them, he could not withstand the dense rain of arrows. The family of 3 was nailed to the ground. Or people rushed into the crowd, trying to use other people's bodies to block the arrows. What's worse, they just pulled up the corpses on the ground to cover them. Let it go again. Bang, bang, bang. The second wave of arrows came again. Xiao Jianjia clenched her fists, her nails digging into her flesh, her eyes were red. And her anger overwhelmed her reason. These beasts, kill them hard. The people of the Holy King's army were driven crazy by the tragic scene before them. These innocent people were right before their eyes, but they couldn't save them. The ground was covered with corpses, piled up layer by layer, and blood flowed like a river. This is not the human world, this is clearly purgatory. But Shidaden had not yet lost his mind and still ordered his men to use catapults and crossbows. The range of ordinary bows and arrows was to shorten. The enemy had not come forward. If all the explosive arrows and bullets were used up, it would be difficult to cause sufficient damage. Moreover, they don't have many grenades, so they have to use them wisely. Your Majesty, save us, save us. I don't want to die. I haven't gotten married yet. And I haven't had children yet. Those pleading sounds reached Xiao Jianjia's ears, gnawing at her heart and making her feel like she was dying. If he had known what it would be like to be an emperor, he would never have taken over. At this moment, self-doubt, anger, and pain intertwined together to torture Xiao Jianjia's conscience, bringing her to the brink of collapse. Why didn't you shoot? Why didn't you fire a gun? Xiao Jianjia questioned Shidaden with red eyes. Your Majesty, this is our trump card. We must wait until they get closer before using it. If we use it now, we will really not be able to hold on. Shidaden felt as if his heart was being torn by a knife. How could he feel good as he watched the people die in front of him but was powerless to do anything? Xiao Jianjia took a deep breath, took out the Mauser pistol that Lu Yuan gave her, and moved out all the ammunition. Shot after shot. Where arrows cannot reach, the Mauser pistol can. Although I don't know how many people I can kill, I will kill as many as I can. Pull the trigger and vent the murderous intent in your heart. If her people could be like Day's soldiers, each armed with a spear, how could they have ended up like stray dogs? How could he watch people die in front of him time and time again and be powerless to do anything? At this moment, Xiao Jianjia suddenly understood. The self-esteem and reserve of a child when he was young are all jokes. Only the strong have dignity and the right to speak. She has always been too proud. Die. The barrel was already hot and half of the bullets were empty. The continuous and high-intensity shooting caused great wear and tear on the pistol. However, the pistol range was exceeded, and many archers fell to the ground, forming a vacuum zone in that area. She had long known the power of the pistol, but she had been subconsciously ignoring it. Or perhaps it was her self-esteem that was at work, causing her to instinctively resist the power created by Day. Being strong means being strong, and will not become weak because of her neglect. Trying to cover your ears and steal the bell will only make you more ridiculous. The Mauser pistol had a very fast firing rate and the magazine was emptied over and over again. The damage caused by thousands of bullets is unimaginable, forcing the enemy camp to retreat more than 10 feet. But before Xiao Jianjia could catch her breath, the enemy army was completely mobilized. Chapter 244, Meat Grinding Plant. Go ahead and pile up these people's bodies. You won't even need siege ladders, Ni Qianjun sneered. The Empress was more difficult to deal with than he had imagined, but these people were dead and their bodies could be used as stepping stones. They are not the people of Daxia, so he doesn't care how many of them die. The chariots rolled and the large army began to advance. Xiao Jianjia put away his Mauser pistol, picked up the crossbow, and waited for the enemy to get closer. Shoot! At that moment, he stepped forward and fired an explosive arrow. They don't have many explosive arrows, only about 70,000 or so. If they are fired at once, they can cause damage, but the follow-up effect will be weak. The main weapon is still conventional arrows. But the enemy is not made of wood and will not allow itself to be attacked. They have much more weapons than the Holy King's army. A large number of stones were thrown into the city wall, which was full of potholes and many people were crushed to death. Or it would fall on the heads of the people, smashing their brains, which would be a terrible tragedy. Fortunately, the explosive arrows worked and stopped the enemy's advance. Quick, throw the grenade. They placed the grenades in the basket of the catapult and threw them far away, where they exploded among the crowd. Even though the power of this grenade is not very great, it still caused considerable casualties when it exploded in a crowded area, and had a significant impact on the enemy. So many weapons must have been given by Day. Liu Ju was extremely shocked. Those he brought were all elite troops. So many were killed and injured at once that his heart was bleeding. Prince, their resistance is too fierce. We can't hold it back for a while. We have to push forward even if we can't. Xiao Xuyuan said angrily. No matter what, we have to catch the Empress before they do. When he came here, his father told Lu Qiushan not to touch him. Who knows who will win or lose in the end. To be on the safe side, just capture the Empress. Anyway, what they want is different from what Xia Jing and the other two dynasties wanted. The Empress is the only one who has weapons. We have them too. Xiao An said coldly. Explosive arrows and muskets. Both governments have firearms camps and a large number of explosive arrows. They even poison the outside of the explosive arrows. Once the explosive fragments injure the enemy, even if the poison does not kill them, the wound will fester and further endanger their lives. The Xii and Jing dynasties did not have these weapons and could only watch the armies of King Yu and King Xian show their prowess. Your Majesty, Qingnan can't hold on any longer. Your Majesty, the enemies in the north of the city have already arrived at the city. These people have explosive arrows and even muskets. Zhao Ji and Jia felt furious. It was because Li Yuan was dumping obsolete military equipment in the north to make huge profits. These weapons are very backward for day. But for others, they are extremely lethal and have a strong deterrent effect. It is precisely because of these weapons that the situation in the north has become like this. We have to hold on even if we can't. Zhao Ji and Jia said, tell everyone, as long as we hold on for one more day, Day's reinforcements will arrive. Soon, the news spread, which excited all the soldiers present. It's not the Zhu family, nor anyone else but Day. In the eyes of the Holy King Army, the soldiers represent invincibility. As long as they can hold on for one day, they will survive. For a moment, everyone's morale was high, and the enemy was unable to move forward. The ground below was already filled with corpses, and soldiers were constantly climbing up by stepping on them. The blood soaked the ground and soaked the rammed earth walls. Shuitan County has completely become a meat grinder. Get out of here! A Saint King soldier was stabbed in the body. He gritted his teeth and slashed at the enemy's neck. Then he covered his wound while fighting until he passed out, still holding the sword. The women's army also moved from the front line to the women's military medical battalion. And every soldier who fell to the ground was carried down to be rescued. Zhao Ji and Jia also understood that women were indeed inferior to men in terms of physical fitness. No matter how much you train, you can never overcome the innate gap. Before this, it was because she was too fierce that those heroic female soldiers were killed on the battlefield. After Zhao Ji and Jia had shot all the arrows in his hand, he immediately picked up the longbow behind him and shot at the enemy. But the location where she appeared was the enemy's special focus. Dozens of siege ladders had been defeated at the city wall, and a large number of enemies poured into the city wall. Jidadan led his men to hack at the city wall. And those civilians had almost all been killed. Their bodies piled up into steps. Even without a ladder, one could just reach the battlements by stepping on the bodies. Gold juice, rolling stones, rolling logs, flaming oil, all possible means were used. In the end, it turned into a fight with knives and hand-to-hand combat, a competition to see who was more ruthless. Zhao Ji and Jia was pulled down from the city wall by Xiao Pudao. Your Majesty, if it really doesn't work, let's go through the tunnel. No, I want to share life and death with everyone. If I can't defend it, I would rather die here, said Zhao Ji and Jia. Your Majesty, as long as you are alive, there is hope. There is no hope. Zhao Ji and Jia shook her head. She couldn't wait for reinforcements. All the people under her command were killed. Even if Lu Qiuishan called for reinforcements, she was all alone. How could she revive Daqian and continue the country's prosperity? Your Majesty, no matter what, escape, Xiao Pudao begged. There will always be a way. Rape, I don't want to run away anymore. I'm a coward as a princess, and I'm just as cowardly as an emperor. In that case, I might as well die heroically. Zhao Ji and Jia had already put life and death aside. At this point, the more than 200 people who died tragically outside, the people who were fighting bloody battles on the wall. If she left, would she still be considered a human being? So what about the emperor? If he is so cold-blooded, he might as well not be the emperor. Let the world of Daqian be taken by people with virtue. Xiao Pudao was so anxious that she burst into tears. Just then, there was a loud noise coming from the city gate passage, and these people were banging on the door. But at this time the passage was already filled with sandbags and they couldn't rush in. Zhao Ji and Jia returned to the city wall again. She knew very well that she was the center. At the moment that she moved away, she would be defeated instantly. Xiao Pudao had no choice but to pull Shi Jiyue and others to guard her and continue to clear out the invading enemies. The endurance of the Holy King's army is beyond imagination. The people in the city had already escaped through the tunnels that had been dug in advance. The tunnel was very long, extending to the edge of the big pond outside Shuitan County for several miles. Although the passage was narrow, it was enough for them to escape. Zhao Ji and Jia touched the Mauser pistol in the holster. There was still a bullet in it, which was left for herself. If captured, she would rather be shot than be a prisoner. The Emperor of Daqian will only die standing, not live on his knees. The battle became more intense, and the Holy King's army gradually began to run out of strength. But even though they were exhausted, they used their minds to support themselves and managed to block the army under the city wall. It was simply a miracle that the small earthen wall kept the army out for 2 hours. But there were too many enemies after all, and the stairs made of corpses reached the same level as the city wall, so they could climb up easily. At this moment, a large number of enemy troops rushed up the city wall. A holy king's army is in great danger. Chapter 245, Iron Man breaks the mountain. At the same time, Yushu. Last night, Pashan led the Xianzhen camp to the border. All the brothers in the Xianzhen camp were wearing specially made thick armor and holding babosha. Although they still used their bodies as shields, the mortality rate was greatly reduced after they had the PP shot. Overnight, he broke through half of Yushu from Fuing County, the southernmost county in Yushu, and now his troops were at the gates of Yushu. At that speed, there was no chance for others to be informed. 10,000 cavalry, 10,000 infantry, 3,000 trap camps, and 1,000 native soldiers are enough to make Yushu surrender under their feet. It was daybreak at this time and the gates of Yushu city were not yet open. Yushu was governed by successive Qingyu of the Shu dynasty. Its city walls were majestic and not inferior to any other famous passes in the world. The highest point is 25 meters, and the lowest point is 5 meters. It is nothing in day, but looking across the north, few cities can compare to it. Bashan took out a piece of dry food, took a bite, and said in a cold voice, "The cavalry will be dispatched, the engineers will prepare to blow up the city gates, the infantry will form a battle array, and the 2 soldiers will set up the artillery." Da. The cavalry rushed forward with the brothers from the Xianzhen camp. The soldiers guarding the city wall looked confused. Where did the cavalry come from so early in the morning? Enemy attack. He didn't run to the side to ring the bell until someone else heard a loud bang. Dang, 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 bang. It hit 3 times in a row. The loud bell suddenly broke the silence of Yushu city. This big city with a population of 1 million was suddenly in an uproar. The patrolling troops quickly ran up to the city wall. Dio Yufang, the left general, also led his soldiers up the city wall. He was also shocked when he saw the dark mass in front of him. Where did these people come from? You know, this is Yushu. And the entire Yushu is a county connected to a county. A checkpoint connected to a checkpoint. If there is an enemy invasion, the military guards at the checkpoint will immediately light the signal smoke and send a fast horse to inform. At this time, before they could react, without time to think, Dio Yufang shouted angrily, "Go and inform His Highness, everyone, meet the enemy." What made Dio Yufang angry was that some of his men had not even put on their armor and were buttoning their clothes in panic. But he couldn't care less. These people seemed to have appeared out of thin air, and he had no time to react. By the time the first wave of arrows was fired, the cavalry had already reached the city. Quick, rolling stones. Rolling logs. Damn it, where's the gold juice? Dio Yufang looked at the cold and lifeless gold juice and cursed anxiously. After all, who could have thought that the enemy could come here without any warning? Explosive arrows. Where are the grenades? Throw them to me. General, most of the arrows were taken away by the prince. As well as the grenades, we don't have much here. Dio Yufang almost vomited blood. He then remembered that when Shaoan left, he took away more than 300,000 arrows and hundreds of boxes of grenades. All the rest were taken into the warehouse by Qingyu and could not be used except in times of crisis. Where are the muskets? Load the muskets. Fortunately, Yushu still had a firearms battalion, not many people, but at least 200 or 300. Snap, 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 thick smoke came out of the muzzle. However, the bullets fired could not penetrate the armor at all. The people in the trap camp jumped off their horses, and dozens of them held up special shields to buy time for the engineers. Sufficient detonators were buried underground, and the engineers lit the special fuses. Scatter. The people in the trap camp hurriedly escorted the engineers away. At this time, the 2 soldiers also lined up and prepared their small caliber artillery, following the command of the flags under his command. Fire. Bang, bang, bang. Nearly 20 mortars fired at the same time. Most of it fell on the city wall, and a small part shot into the city. The violent explosion blew the enemy troops to the ground. A shell exploded not far from Dio Yufang. If there hadn't been people around him who blocked the attack for him, he would have been killed. But even so, he didn't feel any better. He didn't know how many flying fragments shot into his hands and feet, and the huge explosion directly made him deaf. Boom, boom, boom. He could even hear the sound of his heart beating wildly. That is the expression of fear reaching its limit. For the first time, he felt that death was so close to him. Looking at his men, all of them were lying in a pool of blood and wailing, "Save me, General! Save me!" At this moment, Dio Yufang had only one thought: escape. The ones who attacked them were not any force in the north, but Day. Only Day has such a terrible weapon. He didn't know which general of Day was attacking, but judging from the number of people, it would be no less than 20,000. When Day was still Biao-Liang, it relied on only 10,000 to 20,000 people to defeat the barbarians and Xi Jing's million-strong coalition army. But at this time, Yushu City had only 60,000 to 70,000 defenders. How could it defend it? But as the moral integrity of General Ziyuo, he still cried, "Where are the reinforcements? Why haven't they arrived yet?" Before he could finish his words, a loud bang exploded beneath his feet, followed by a shaking that almost made him lose his balance. A loud noise directly ruptured his eardrums. Dio Yufang felt severe pain in both ears and a stuffy feeling in his chest. Then he felt a sweetness in his throat and spat out a mouthful of blood. He leaned against the city wall weakly, like a deflated ball. Ow, how could this happen? What on earth is going on? This loud noise also made Pashin grin. Damn, it's so loud? Maybe there are too many detonators. Is that just 1 point? Even at a distance of 100 meters, I can feel the ground shaking. Pashin couldn't help cursing. I just asked you to blow up the city gate. And look, you've already blown down the city wall. He pointed at the gradually collapsing city wall not far away with such a powerful detonator. The explosion range was very wide, and at least 20 to 30 meters became a vacuum zone. Fortunately, the Xianzhen camp withdrew quickly, but those on the city wall suffered. The city gate is broken, let's charge in. Pashin grinned grimly and urged his horse to charge forward. He didn't like guns, so he had someone make him a suit of armor that was invulnerable to swords and guns. When there were no guns around, he could kill anyone who stood in his way. He rushed into the city first. The arrows shot by the enemy were bounced off by the hard armor. Therefore, he was called Iron Man by Liu Yuan in Day. Liu Yuan said something to him that made him take it as a guiding principle. With great power comes great responsibility. Although he still loves killing people, he now has a direction. That is to kill all enemies who are against Liu Yuan. At this time, in Prince Yu's mansion, Xiaochen was awakened from his bed, and the woman beside him was kicked off the bed by him, and she fell to the ground with her naked body lying on the ground. What's that sound? Xiaochuan was so scared that his face turned pale and he looked at the eunuch standing by. At this moment, hurried footsteps were heard outside. Your Highness, something bad has happened. The enemy is invading in large numbers. Chapter 246 Massacre. Xiaochuan was a little confused. A concubine who was kicked to the ground also held her waist and cried out, Your Highness, why did you kick me off the bed? Seeing the concubine with a face full of grievance, Xiaochuan no longer had any thought. She hurriedly got up from the bed and shouted to the outside. Who is the offender? I don't know yet. General Ziyuo has already led his troops to defend. There was an explosion. Would it be the Zheng family? Xiaochuan. It was impossible for it to be the Wang family. The Zi family, the Huan family and the Zhu family were allied and had been fighting against Prince X. They would not dare to come and take advantage of the situation at this time. Then there is only one possibility. The Zheng family took advantage of the main force's departure and took action. Without having time to think too much, he put on his clothes and walked out. Gather all the soldiers and horses, and let them defend the city for me. He was furious. When there is no tiger in the mountain, the monkey becomes king. If the army had not left Yushu, the Zheng family would never have dared to attack even if they had 10 times the courage. However, the Zheng family is too stupid. The walls of Yushu city are high and deep. Do they think they can come here to take advantage of us? Xiaochuan sneered. But before he could leave the courtyard, Prince Xiaoping came running over. Dad, something terrible has happened. The city gate has been breached. The disdain on Xiaochuan's face froze. And then he just felt it was ridiculous. What bullshit are you talking about? Our Yushu city is one of the most powerful cities in the world, and it's not worse than Beu Jinji. What strength does the Zheng family have? Do they think they can break through the city wall? It's not the Zheng family, it's Day's army. Xiaoping was so scared that his heart and liver were about to burst. General Ziyuo has died on the city wall. Our city wall has been blown down. The ES cavalry has already rushed into the city. Xiaochuan was stunned, as if he had lost his soul. From the time he was woken up to the time the servant reported him, it took less than a quarter of an hour. And by the time he saw Xiaoping, it took at most another quarter of an hour. Xiaoping actually said that the city gate had been broken and the enemy had rushed in. Did he overwork last night and have hallucinations? Dad, listen, Day's army is coming. This sentence brought Xiaoquan back to reality. He couldn't help but tremble all over and said angrily, Why did they attack us? Didn't we not provoke them? Why did they attack us? A ridiculous thought suddenly flashed through his mind. Oh, it turned out to be the Day army. No wonder they were able to break into the city so quickly. But then, he couldn't help but slap himself, mobilize the troops and drive them out. He was furious. This was the foundation built bit by his ancestors. Even if he didn't go to Bau Jinji, he could just make Yushu the capital. This place is well connected and has a large population. It is no exaggeration to say that this is the most suitable place in the north to be a capital. How can I escape? And when he ordered his servants to open the gate of the palace and saw the billowing smoke outside and the cavalry killing people crazily, all his heroic spirit was gone. Da. The crisp gunshots from Babosha took the lives of his own soldiers. He saw rows of soldiers falling to the ground like rice being cut. A high-speed rotating bullet passed through the body and even formed a thick and lingering blood mist. A gust of wind blew, mixed with blood mist, dyeing his white clothes red. Xiao Wan looked at the red-stained robe and was so shocked that he was speechless. What the hell is this weapon? They were left without any ability to resist. He wanted to lift his feet to leave, but found that his feet seemed to have taken root and could hardly move. Hurry, help me and leave. Xiao turned his head with difficulty and looked at the eunuch. But he found that the eunuch had already peed his pants with fear. It was Xiaoping who pulled the two of them in. Dad, we have to go. Although Xiaoping was afraid, he was clear-headed. If the Day soldiers did not break into the city, they would still be able to defend, but if the city was broken and the Day soldiers came in with guns, they would only be killed. To kill 100 people, for others, it might require swinging the knife 100 times. But for Day soldiers, all they had to do was empty a few magazines. Hurry, go through the tunnel. Xiao Quan stumbled inside. But at this time, he had not lost his mind. Instead, he asked the palace soldiers in the palace to guard the gate to delay time. And then took his family in confidence and went into the tunnel. Their family has been in charge of Yushu for more than 200 years. How could they not have a way out? But before they could run far, the gate of the palace was rushed open, and Pa Shan, covered in blood, grabbed a man and asked, "Where is Xiao Quan? His Highness has left." Pa Shan crushed the man's neck directly. He knew very well that the city gate had been blocked and there must be an escape tunnel in the palace. Which of the noble families doesn't leave a way out for themselves? Whoever tells me where the tunnel is will be spared. General, I know where they escaped from. At this time, a young servant raised his hand and made a strange gesture to Pa Shan. Seeing this gesture, Pa Shan couldn't help but smile. The young man in front of him was his own. Led the way. Yushu City had turned into a sea of fire. But the soldiers did not attack ordinary civilians. Instead, they drove all the stubbornly resisting soldiers aside. If they did not surrender, they would be shot with a volley of bullets. Blood dyed the long street of Yushu red. This is not a war, it is a one-sided massacre. We surrender, don't kill us, we surrender. Someone took the lead, dropped his weapon, and lay on the ground. They have been so frightened by the killings that they dare not make any more futile resistance. From beginning to end, they never saw King Yu, nor did they see several generals. If that's the case, then why are they still fighting so hard? When the royal cavalrymen saw this scene, they were all filled with disbelief. In their eyes, Prince Yu's mansion was one of the only strongest forces in the Northern Emperor. But they broke through Yushu City in less than half an hour, and took over Yushu in more than an hour. It's unimaginable. But in the eyes of the Xianzhen camp and the two people's soldiers, this was nothing. So what if there are a lot of people? Day has never relied on its large number to gain supremacy. The thing that Pipish is least afraid of is large numbers of people. As long as he raises his gun, he can kill the enemy with his eyes closed. Not to mention the densely populated street fighting, where a few armed soldiers could scare them into submission. That kind of explosive killing power was far beyond their imagination. Just after Yushu was taken over, Xiao Quan also moved his relatives and close followers through the narrow tunnel, along with thousands of soldiers. The tunnel is several miles long. In critical moments, it can not only hide soldiers, but also provide a place for people to live. A large amount of water and dry food are stored in it, enough for thousands of people to live for several months. Dad, aren't we going out? Xiaoping asked, puzzled. Lie. Not many people know about this tunnel. If we just leave like this, it will be too dangerous. We might as well stay here and wait for the army to return. By then, we can work together inside and outside, and maybe we can capture these people. Chapter 247, Catching a Turtle in a Jar. Xiaochuan also calmed down. At this time they only had so many people. If they went out rashly and encountered the Day army, they would not know how they would die. It would be better for them to stay here. After all, the food and water can ensure their survival for several months. In a few days, the army will receive the news and return to defend. At that time, they will sneak out and kill them by surprise. Since Day has no moral principles, there is no need for them to hold back. Xiaoping nodded. This was indeed a good idea. They can only wait until it gets dark and then go out to have a look. However, in this narrow passage, he had no idea how much time had passed in the outside world. The cramped space made him feel a little breathless. While the group was discussing, someone suddenly said, "Why do I smell smoke?" And everyone started sniffing. Which bastard farted? Xiaoquan smelled a foul odor and couldn't help but curse. It should be the smell of torch smoke. Don't make a fuss, Xiaoping comforted. No, why is there thick smoke coming? Is the palace on fire? Anaid asked in horror. Xiaochuan could not help but curse. These bastards must have set fire to the palace. However, the entrance is blocked. How did the smoke get in? He looked towards the passage with some concern. The thick smoke made the women continuously. Daddy, I feel so uncomfortable, a little girl said with a distressed look on her face. I can hardly breathe. Xiaochuan held the child in his arms and said, Don't be afraid, it will pass if you bear with it. Your Highness, this smoke is so choking and it stings my eyes, it makes me cry. The princess was choked so much that her nose and tears were running. She looked so embarrassed. Xiao Chumi sighed uncomfortable because the smoke was getting thicker. "Go, run." Xiao Changfan couldn't stand it anymore and hurried outside, but the passage was too long and the smoke was too thick, and it ran much faster than they could. The oxygen in the passage was rapidly consumed. And some weak people fainted in the passage. Xiao Chuan also felt dizzy and nauseous. "Hold on, we'll be able to escape soon." At this moment, he hated his ancestors so much for building the passage so long and narrow. Finally, the women in the palace could no longer hold on and fell to the ground. And the girl in his arms fell into a coma. He turned around suddenly and found that the ground was full of people lying. He also felt dizzy and cold all over. Finally, everything went black before his eyes and he fell to the ground, unconscious. On the other side, Jiren brought the reinforcements from Zijia and Wanjiu and joined Zuwen, with a total force of up to 100,000. They encountered the coalition forces at the border of Dashu. But it was a small coalition force with only a few thousand people. This group of people was captured with little loss. At the same time, they also asked for key information. 1,000,000 troops besieged Zongshu. After rushing at all costs, they finally arrived in Zongshu. The scouts reported that the situation was very bad. 1,000,000-strong army had besieged Zongshu, and the number of cavalry exceeded 300,000. These 100,000 people are simply not enough. What should we do? Should we fight or? Tian Qi, the second son of the Zi family, said, "If nothing unexpected happens, they have already surrounded the city." Huan Yu, the eldest son of the Huan family, said, "Now that we are here, are we going to go back? When the coalition forces capture the empress, will we still have a good ending?" Zhu Wen said in a deep voice. "Brother Huan is right, the lips and teeth are cold. Originally, we thought it was just the coalition forces of the two governments, but in fact it is a 1,000,000-strong army. The two governments definitely do not have such strength, even if there are reinforcements from vassal states, so there is only one possibility. Those people falsely reported their numbers. No matter what, we have to go and fight, otherwise, when they recover, we will have only two outcomes: destroyed and forced to surrender." Zi Chunqi took a deep breath and urged his horse. "Then stop talking nonsense and start the fight. Everyone listen to my command. Charge!" Huan Yu pulled the reins and slapped the horse's buttocks with his spear. And the warhorse ran quickly. "Brothers, we can't fall behind others," Zuwen shouted and led the Zhu family army northward. But when they arrived at the battlefield, they were stunned by the huge number of enemies before them. Zi Tianqi couldn't help but curse, "Son of a bitch. This is not a fake 1,000,000-strong army, this is a real 1,000,000-strong army." Huan Yu took a deep breath. The scene before him was so shocking that he didn't know what words to use to describe it. Zhu Wen glanced at Zhu Ren and said, "Protect yourself." Zhu Ren nodded, then led the Zhu family army and rushed over silently. The enemy is attacking the city with all their might, and we can vaguely see them climbing up the city wall. The Holy King's army has reached its most dangerous moment. If they had come any later, it would have been a waste of time. Seeing that Zhu's army was about to attack first, Zi Qianqi gritted his teeth and said, "Charge forward and tear them apart." Huan Yu also suppressed the shock in his heart and led his men to charge quickly. The three forces separated tacitly. The Zhu family attacked directly in the middle, the Zhu family went to the left, and the Huan family went to the right, cooperating well. If they could kill these people, the coalition forces would collapse and the danger to the north would be eliminated. Before the cavalry got close, there were several rounds of archery. Explosive arrows exploded in the crowd, and the coalition forces were immediately killed and thrown to pieces. "That's great," Zhu Wen shouted excitedly. After several rounds of archery on horseback, Zhu Wen led his army into the crowd. The sudden arrival of the army caught these people off guard. Ni Qianzhan, who was at the rear, was furious. "Son of a bitch, where did these people come from?" "General, these people seem to be from the Zhu and Zi families. No matter who he is, meet him." Ni Qianzhan reacted quickly. In fact, there were more people on their side, although the enemy was coming in full force. As long as they could withstand the first two waves of attacks, the rest would be close combat. With such a dense phalanx, even war horses would be stabbed to death by spears. Change formation quickly. Ni Qianzhan remained calm as the flag bearer continued to give orders. The people who came this time were all elite troops from all parties, so after a brief panic, they all adjusted themselves. The spears turned around and rushed towards the cavalry. The sharp tip of the gun flashed coldly in the sunlight. War horses were constantly being pierced and men were knocked off their horses by spears. Dense arrows swept across the sky, and countless people were shot off their horses. Even so, the rhythm of the coalition's offensive was disrupted. On the city wall, Xiao Ji and Jia saw that the coalition forces were in disarray, and hurriedly said, "Reinforcements are coming, hold the city wall, victory is just around the corner." Everyone was extremely excited, and just when they were about to collapse, a divine soldier descended from the sky, which undoubtedly gave everyone a shot in the arm. Relying on this motivation, they fought off wave after wave of enemies. Seeing the army being killed and retreating step by step, Ni Qianjun was also furious. Don't hold back anymore, take out the weapons at the bottom of the box. Chapter 248 Diaxia's background. Almost at the same time, the Diaxia soldier took out a pitch-black object, which was none other than a grenade. The imperial court has cracked the secret recipe of gunpowder. As for Day's conventional old weapons, they had already thoroughly studied them, except for gunpowder as explained in the previous article. Even the muskets they made with their bare hands were made by the thousands. But the formula of gunpowder, the musket became useful. Brothers from the firearms battalion, free stage attack. Ni Qianjun shouted sternly. The reason why he dared to come here from a long distance was because they had a hidden weapon. The original plan was to ambush them when fighting against Day, but these people in the northern part of Daqian really deserve to die. In this case, let them see what Diaxia's wrath is all about. At that moment, hundreds of iron grenades were thrown out. After a series of dense explosions, the war horses were frightened and the enemy in our camps were completely in chaos. Bang bang bang. Bang bang bang. Bang bang bang. The people in the firearms battalion formed a formation and fired continuously in a three-stage attack. This is the foundation of Diaxia for more than 200 years. Given some time, they will definitely be able to catch up with Day with their foundation. The days when Day was king are gone. The Z family cavalrymen fell off their horses one by one. The offensive momentum was curbed. Ziqian Qi was also terrified. Where did they get so many muskets? At that moment, the person he thought of was Day. Yes, it must be Day. Although Day had never invaded Daqian, the situation in the north was dominated by Day. All forces that were not created by Day were swallowed up. The rest of the people in the north all have large leaf weapons. In his opinion, this was called raising Gu, which could allow him to control the entire northern land without any effort as long as the supply was cut off. Taking over the northern land would be a piece of cake. Musketeers, counterattack quickly. Ziqian Qi secretly stopped his horse. In front of him at this moment was thick smoke, and gunshots continued to be heard from it. Dense and continuous, they had at least 500 guns. Seeing his men falling one by one, he became very angry. He glanced at the Huan family army, and the Zhu family army. Each of them was fighting hard. Among them, Zhu's army had already opened up the situation from the front, and Huan's army was not weak either, and the situation once became overwhelming. Only he was killed and his attack was stopped. Second young master, their firepower is too strong, we can't get through it all. The family general quickly came to Ziqian Qi's side and said, how about we outflank them from both wings? If we disperse, won't all our efforts be wasted? What will the Zhu family do if the enemy army attacks from behind? Ziqian Qi still has a lot of principles. If he encircles the Zhu family from both wings, all the pressure will be given to the Zhu family and the Huan family, disrupting their offensive rhythm, and they will be in a tough battle. The enemy's number is several times theirs. Once it becomes a war of attrition, there is a 70% chance that they will lose. If they lose, it will be a heavy blow to all the companies. Dai really has a good trick. He uses the power of the north to deplete the enemy's manpower, and at the same time he can consume the north's elite. That's really amazing. But then he took out an explosive arrow from his quiver and began to shoot accurately. The situation on the field is also changing rapidly. Seeing that his formation was about to be broken, Liu Ju became furious and led his men to charge forward personally, resisting the first wave of cavalry attacks. Change formation and keep them for me. The shield soldiers cooperated with the spear soldiers to cut the battlefield into square formations, trapping the lone cavalry inside. They advanced step by step, but were then pierced like a sieve by hundreds of spears. Although muskets are powerful, they cannot penetrate heavy shields and are doomed to be eclipsed. The explosive arrows have also been weakened, and are not even 1/10 of the version used by Day himself. After the first wave of attack by Zhu's army was resisted, the situation began to become tense. The same thing happened to Huayanyu. Damn it, the formation is too thick and there are too many people, we can't kill them at all. Where did they get so many heavy infantry? Cavalry is the strongest type of troops, but heavy infantry is not weak either. For example, Osmoniel soldiers are the model of heavy infantry and the best in the world. Even cavalry can be killed on horseback who would not be afraid. So at that time, all forces began to follow Day's example and put effort into heavy infantry. However, the money and materials consumed in training a heavy cavalry capable of competing with the Moigo soldiers are no less than those of an elite cavalry. Ordinary small forces simply can't handle it. But these people, heavy infantry, actually numbered several thousand. Even if the two governments joined forces, it would be absolutely impossible. The first thing that came to his mind was that Bianjing had really taken action. You bastard, we've all been deceived. Among the old, weak and sick people sent by Bianjing, there are a large number of elite troops disguised as them. Huan Yu cursed loudly, but now that things have come to this, they have no way out. The Holy King's army on the city wall gained some time to catch their breath after defeating the enemy. Your Majesty, is there anyone coming from Day? Shidad An, covered in blood, walked over quickly. No, how could there be so many people from Day? Xiao Jianjia shook her head in disappointment. It should be the Zhu family who has arrived. He had fought together with Lu Yuan, and his devastating tactics were still deeply imprinted in her mind and were hard to forget. I think they can't hold on any longer, Shidad An said worriedly. Let's grit our teeth and hold on. Xiao Jianjia was already exhausted at this point. She leaned against the city wall, using her knife as a crutch. Her legs so weak that she was shaking. But seeing those wounded soldiers still fighting hard, she had no face to rest. And Xiao Ji, clearly at his limit, still relied on his willpower to keep swinging his sword even though the saber in his hand was made of 100 forged steel, its blade was now bent. This battle was definitely the only one she had ever seen in her life. Even in history books, there were not many battles involving millions of people. Unfortunately, there were too many enemies, and they kept coming up tirelessly. The city walls were already filled with corpses. This is no longer the human world, but the real Surahel. At this moment, the Z family's cavalry phalanx was directly killed. Even Zi Tianqi's arm was hit by a lead bullet, and the piercing pain made his face distorted. There were at least 1,000 gunmen behind the thick smoke, or even more. How the hell do I fight this? We have few people to begin with, and now our weapons are not as good as others. Second young master, they are dying too quickly. They can't get through at all. Not only do they have a lot of guns, they also have a lot of grenades. Let us withdraw our troops. A family general was already frightened by the killing in less than an hour. 3/10 of their men had been killed at this rate. They would have difficulty escaping in another hour. Li Tianqi's face was gloomy as he glanced at the anxious battlefield and the endless enemies. He gritted his teeth and said decisively, "Sound the retreat. Screw the alliance, I don't need to work so hard." Chapter 249, No more running away. Never again. Zi Tianqi, who had principles of honor, left the battlefield without looking back. For him, the alliance is to better protect the Z family from being annexed, not to commit suicide. They were already at a disadvantage. But the enemy's firepower remained unabated, which showed that their foundation was stronger than theirs. Even if he really defeated these people, what benefit would he get? As for the Zhu family and the Huan family, screw them. This is a fight for world domination, not burning yellow paper or beheading a chicken to become sworn brothers. It would be good enough if I stabbed them when I wasn't retreating. The longhorn sound can still be clearly heard even in the noisy battlefield. When the Z family cavalry heard the sound, they turned their horses around and retreated quickly. The defeat was like a landslide. Xii Jun's pressure was greatly reduced. "General, they're retreating," the deputy general reported hastily. "Do we need to pursue them? Don't chase after a desperate enemy." Li Qianjian raised his hand. "Assign some people to defend. Our goal is to capture Shuitan County and capture the Empress and Lukyuishan. Let the people from the firearms battalion move forward and don't hold back. Since your true colors have been revealed, there is no need to hide them any longer." He also hated these people because they made him reveal his cards so early. However, from this moment on, he truly realized the power of the Big Leaf Army. It's incredible that we can fight off the enemy even after being attacked by surprise. With this kind of combat capability, the tolerance rate is too high. Just as they were changing their formation, Zuan also learned that Zi Tianqi had escaped, and he was immediately furious. "You bastard, how dare he run away? Brother, what should we do?" Zuran panted and said, "Our weapons are almost empty. There are too many people and our killing power is limited. These people are not a mob at all, but the elite among the elite." Zuan pursed his lips, took out a telescope to observe the battlefield, and looked at the Huan family army. His heart sank. The Huan family army has also fallen into a disadvantage. If this continues, they will definitely lose. At this moment, the retreat of Z's army caused panic among the people. The enemy began to take the opportunity to interfere with language. Originally, they were evenly matched, but now, that slight advantage has been gradually equalized by the enemy. Zuan's scalp tingled as he watched the enemy troops climbing up the city wall. He clenched his fists and said, "It's over. Shuitan County seems to have fallen." Zuran said anxiously, "Second brother, the Huan family seems to have begun to retreat as well." Hearing this, Zuan almost died of anger. "These bastards, they just run away without any moral integrity. I thought it was a divine soldier descending from the sky. I didn't expect it to be a big pile of shit. Let's go there." No hope, Zuan sighed. It can only blame the Empress for having bad luck. She was already close today, so why didn't she go today to ask for help? Having said this, he turned his horse around and rode away. He was also extremely anxious in his the thought that the alliance could contain the joint forces of the two prefectures, so that he could successfully take over Zongshu and Tongshu and join Day. "Oh, right, let's go today to report the news." Zuan suddenly had an idea. "Oh third, I'll give you 500 men. Go to Biaoyang Pass to report the news. Okay. Zhu Ren didn't waste any words and left with his men for them. Fighting against the coalition forces was not the key, but getting Lu Yuan's favor was. As long as Lu Yuan nodded, these people would not dare to touch the Zhu family. As the reinforcements retreated, the pressure on the coalition forces was greatly reduced. You juice fat, you bastard. If the city wasn't under siege, I would have chased you. Chao Xuan also breathed a sigh of relief. Hurry up, the reinforcements have retreated. Let us quickly climb the wall. Are those people in front of us just sitting there doing nothing? It's been so long, and they still can't take it down. Chao An sneered. Because at this time, his people had already rushed up from the north gate. It seems that this first prize belongs to me. The main gate where Niqianjun was located also saw the strongest resistance. As the men from the firearms battalion arrived, the resistance weakened. The people of the Holy King's army were already at the end of their strength, and now they were shot in large numbers. They couldn't be resurrected from the dead, right? Niqianjun had already seen the empress on the city wall through the telescope. How brave! There aren't many women who can do this. A small round-earth city, only about 10 feet high, could actually hold out for 2 or 3 hours. It's amazing. What a pity, we ran into them. Increase the intensity of the attack and don't hold back. Niqianjun knew very well that it was now the post-battle stage, and it all depended on who was faster and could catch Xiao Jianjia and Lu Qiushan first. On the city wall, the continuous sound of bugles caused the morale of the Saint King's army to drop sharply. Xiao Jianjia also had a bitter taste in her mouth. She knew that she might not be able to wait for days' reinforcements to arrive. In fact, if Su's army hadn't come to help, this war would have ended an hour ago. The enemy troops have already rushed up, and the Holy King's army has been defeated step by step, with less and less room to stand. They not only massacred the Holy King's army, but also killed civilians. The secret guards have surrounded them. Each of them is covered in blood and has multiple injuries. They have all reached their limit. Your Majesty, please go through the tunnel. If you don't leave, it will be too late, Xiao Pueyo said anxiously. I'm not leaving, I won't leave no matter what. Xiao Jianjia said, we live together and die together. If I have to leave everyone behind and live alone, then I would rather die here. She glanced at the people around her and said, following me, you have suffered a lot. You are either on the run or on the way to escape. Sleeping in the open air. From now on, you are free, run for your lives. No, I won't leave, Xiao Pueyo knelt on the ground. Your Majesty, please, please leave. Watermelon, peach, monkey. All the confidants also knelt on the ground. Even the wounded Xiaoji limped over and said, sister, hurry up, I'll hold you here. Run away. Brother Ji. That's enough. Xiao Jianjia shook her head. When she first came today, she had doubted Xiao Ji and his son and was even ridiculously wary of them. Little did she know that they were the closest and most loyal people to her. Now Uncle Wan was captured and his life or death was unknown. Even Xiao Ji was in such a terrible state he felt sorry for them. I have one last order for you. Take little brother Xiao Ji and escape. This is an order. If you disobey, it will be deceiving the emperor. I will never forgive you even if I die, Xiao Jianjia said in a deep voice. The people around him kept begging, but Xiao Jianjia remained unmoved. Instead, he quietly took out his revolver, loaded it, and pointed it at his temple. If you don't leave, I will die in front of you. Seeing this scene, everyone burst into tears. Xiao Ji cried, sister, please leave quickly. You are the hope of Daqian. There's no hope. It's my incompetence that has dragged you down. Xiao Jianjia put his hand on the trigger and said sternly, go away. Do you want me to die in front of you? Chapter 250. A critical moment. Everyone cried, but seeing Xiao Jianjia's determined expression, they were helpless. Xiao Pueyo gritted his teeth and gave Shi Jiyue a wink. Shi Jiyue understood what he meant and prepared to snatch the gun from Xiao Jianjia's hand and then take Xiao Jianjia away by force. But at this critical moment, the enemy's offensive rhythm was disrupted again. What followed was the sound of galloping horses, the crisp and intensive sound of gunfire, and the loud noise of artillery shells. Xiao Jianjia looked in the direction of the sound and saw a large black word. At that moment, she was stunned. At this moment, Shi Jiyue was quick to knock the gun out of her hand, and then hugged her tightly. Your Majesty, I'm sorry. Xiao Pueyo and others also rushed forward. Xiao Ji hurriedly picked up the revolver and said, sister, anyone can die, but you can't. Even if Daqian is gone, you should at least consider Huan, right? Xiao Jianjia was held so tightly that she couldn't breathe. Quick, let me go. Reinforcements are coming. Reinforcements are coming. Shi Jiyue thought Xiao Jianjia was lying to her and refused to let go no matter what. Until someone on the city wall shouted, reinforcements are coming. Reinforcements are finally here. We are saved. Crash. At that moment, all the Holy King's troops on the city walls were in an uproar. The enemy was obviously panicked after hearing the words "day reinforcements." Because Day has implanted the concept of invincibility in their minds. Shi Jiyue and the others turned their heads to look, also extremely surprised. When did Biao Yangguan come to Zongshu so quickly? Xiao Ji was also very excited. It's Day reinforcements. It's really Day reinforcements. We are saved. Let me go. Xiao Ji and Jia struggled free at this moment. She felt relieved, not because she would not die, but because the soldiers could survive. It has only been half a day since Lu Qiushan left, so it is absolutely impossible to call for reinforcements. In other words, these days soldiers may have arrived long ago. She thought of the Wang family. Yes, the Wang family is from Day. When these people first became members of the Wang family, no one suspected them. If the coalition forces knew that Day's army was in Xiangbi, they would never have rashly launched an attack. What a good plan! At this moment, she felt admiration and helplessness. Li Yuan was a master of military strategy, and she could only find someone who could be compared to him in history books. No matter what kind of conflict she had with Lu Yuan before, just because he was willing to help her, she would remember him this time. Everyone, hold on, victory belongs to the Holy King's army. Xiao Ji and Jia didn't know where she got the strength from, and she shouted hysterically in a hoarse voice. Everyone responded, and the originally low morale suddenly rose. Not only were they tired, the enemy was also tired. It can be said that the timing of Day's reinforcements appearing was just right. Although the people who came were far inferior to the Zhu family's reinforcements, they still made people excited. When Ni Qianjun saw the Day reinforcements, his face changed drastically. Where did the Day soldiers come from? Quick, hurry back to defense. Hold on, no matter what. You have to hold on for me. However, all efforts were in vain. Especially after Ni Qianjun transferred more than half of the people in the firearms battalion to the front line. The defense capability was greatly reduced. Cavalry, surround them from both sides. Use explosive arrows to kill these bastards. Hawkeye rubbed his hands, his adrenaline pumping. Infantry, press forward and smash all these people in front of us. A royal cavalry was naturally not equipped with cavalry rifles, but they had enough explosive arrows that were not weakened. All the weapons that had been eliminated by Day were equipped to them. In addition, those obsolete flintlock rifles were used to arm a team of 3,000 people. However, the real main force is the 1,002 soldiers behind him. Each of them held a peepish, and their tactical backpacks contained several magazines and grenades, not to mention the Mauser pistols. The Xianbi cavalry took out explosive arrows, and after a round of horse shooting, they directly blew out a vacuum zone. The coalition forces were thrown into disarray after just the first wave. Of course, psychological pressure is greater than actual pressure. Wang Chuan couldn't help but let out a long roar towards the sky. This complete version of the explosive arrow was simply too powerful. What they used was more like the toys that children used to play house. Brothers, kill them ruthlessly. Barat Oratere. 30,000 cavalrymen constantly harassed the enemy from both wings. The infantry surrounded the two soldiers. The flintlock musketeer isn't that experienced yet, but to shoot a gun all you need is your hands, right? The 3,000-man team treated this battle as an exercise, which was a good opportunity for them to become proficient in the use of guns. Don't be anxious. Come closer and fight. Damn it, how can you be as stupid as pigs? I've been teaching you for a day or two, but you still can't learn it. The two officers couldn't help but curse. Hawkeye didn't care about them this time. He only brought 3,000 people out. But their equipment was luxurious. A total of 50 mortars were brought out, but Pashin took some away, so there are only about 30 here. The gunners began to set up the cannons, while the two soldiers took out their PPSHS and lined up in a row. Dod. Tongues of fire spewed out of the spinning bullets. In front of us we saw rows of enemy soldiers falling down like rice being harvested, without even a chance to resist. When they put up their shields, the shells dropped from the sky and blew them to pieces. Xiaojun's grenades and muskets are completely not on the same level as Day's. Li Qianjun also saw the most horrifying scene he could remember. Almost every breath, hundreds of people were knocked to the ground in just a short time. A large number of people had fallen in front of him, including war horses, cavalry, and infantry. What really frightened him was the white flames from the mortar explosion. Once attached, it could even burn iron armor red. What kind of weapon is that? Li Qianjun was shaking all over. At this moment, he finally understood why those deserters were so scared that they dared not leave their homes after returning. Because the real battlefield is even more terrifying than they describe. This is not a war. This is a one-sided massacre. Even though they had cracked the formula for gunpowder and made grenades and muskets, they were still no match for the Day soldiers. Quick! Push forward. Anyone who retreats will be killed without mercy. Ni Qianjun's eyes were red as he beheaded a retreating soldier. Push forward. However, even so, the army was still losing ground. They had never seen such weapons before. And everyone was the same when facing death. Not only were they retreating, but the reinforcements from the vassal states, the soldiers from Dajing, and the soldiers from the two prefectures were all killed and defeated. The coalition forces were already mixed, and the reinforcements from the vassal states and the coalition forces of the two governments were even more uneven at this moment. There was already a phenomenon of escape and collapse on the battlefield. It has spread from the north gate of Shuitan County to the main gate. Liu Ju cried out, "Dai, you son of a bitch, I'm going to fuck your uncle." Chapter 251, Iron Torrent. The army had traveled a long distance, attacked all night, and fought for 2 or 3 hours, and was already exhausted. Yi Jun descended from the sky like a miracle, and his timing of appearance was absolutely amazing. They were about to take over Shuitan County, and at this critical juncture, if they were dealt a heavy blow, anyone would go crazy. Get on with it, and withstand the pressure even if it means sacrificing lives. Liu Ju's eyes were bloodshot, and he looked extremely ferocious. Dajing had suffered too many losses and lost too many manpower in the battle against Dai. If they can't win this battle, the whole situation will fall into disadvantage. Everyone deified Yi Jun, but he did not believe in fate. Light cavalry guards, form up. Tiger army, charge. This time, Liu Ju brought 100. 0 light cavalry guards, 50,000 tiger guards, and 150. 0 infantry, which was almost 1/3 of Dajing's strength. Most of the soldiers attacking the city were infantry, and the cavalry were transferred to the rear of the formation to raid the enemy when fighting against the Zhu family. He just didn't believe that Yi Jun, with such a small number of people, could defeat them. Ni Qianjun also reacted quickly. Seeing Liu Ju change the formation, he roared and asked people to push forward. The Yi army has only so many people as long as we can withstand the pressure from the first few waves. We can defeat them. Whoever dares to retreat, I will not only kill him, but also report him to the court and kill all his 9 clans. These words intimidated the timid soldiers, forcing them to face death head-on. Daixia fought against Dai several times and was almost completely wiped out for 200 years. Daixia became a laughingstock in the eyes of the world. Ni Qianjun clenched his fists. 7 If he suffered heavy losses in this battle, he wanted to tell everyone that even if Yi Jun had more than 10,000 men, they could still be defeated. Cavalry, form up, Iron Harriers, charge. Kill, kill, kill. The fully armed kites rushed around, raising billowing clouds of dust on the battlefield. The huge momentum was breathtaking. The roars of the army gathered together and exploded in everyone's ears like thunder from a clear sky. The strongest armed forces of the Xia and Jing dynasties converged at this moment. They seemed to be about to smash the humiliation of the past few years. Facing the vicious enemy, the Xiangbi cavalry also showed their heroic spirit at this moment. Wang Chuan raised his saber high and shouted, "This is our first battle after joining Dai. Whether we can enjoy the good life or stand outside the military camp like a lackey depends on this battle. Brothers, we will never retreat." The shouts of killing became louder and louder, as if joining Dai and adding an invisible buff around them. The infantry did not retreat either, and advanced step by step under the cover of the firearms battalion. In the eyes of the two soldiers, these people were just prey to be slaughtered. Tens of thousands of bullets were fired almost every moment. The Peepish can fire nearly 900 bullets per minute. Although its power is small and it may not be able to penetrate armor at a long distance, don't forget that the action of force is neutral. Even if it cannot penetrate armor, its striking power is still not weak. The armor on the chest can protect you, but what about the limbs? This is the modern steel torrent versus the cavalry steel torrent. The two ethnic groups' gunner was constantly adjusting the angle. What they fired were not conventional artillery shells but extremely rare and expensive white phosphorus bombs. A damage caused by a single artillery shell in such a dense formation is far beyond the reach of conventional artillery shells. More than 30 mortars dealt tons of damage. The fire had spread to the enemy camp. The wailing soldiers kept rolling on the ground. The phosphorescence fire could even burn through the armor. The fire continued until their flesh and bones were burnt to ashes and they were burned to death. Save me, save me. Get away and don't touch me. You bastard. What kind of fire is this? Why can't it be put out? This strange fire spread among the army, causing panic among everyone. The Xia and Jing armies, which were the first to be hit, were on the verge of collapse and their formation became increasingly scattered. The allied forces of the two governments only wanted to attack the city and did not go up to provide support at all. The coalition forces of those vassal states had already disappeared by now. Hurry up and fight, it will be too late if we don't fight now, Xiaoan kept urging. Hurry up. He anxiously observed the front through a telescope, but because he was far away, he was not affected too much. The previous panic was just because he felt timid when he heard that Yi Jun was coming. What really concerned him was Prince Xian's army on the other side. Shuitan County is so small and the city wall is so small, how many people can it accommodate? Prince Xian's army climbed up the city wall and rushed to kill the enemy. Their men squeezed up and were pushed down again, and some even drew their knives in secret. You bastard. You have no moral principles. Xiao An was angry and annoyed, and he was about to break down. On the other side, Xiao Xuan was not having a good time either. The resistance of the Saint King's army was too fierce. They were obviously at the end of their strength, but they still burst out with unimaginable combat power. By this time, the Empress must have hidden in a cellar, right? Xia Jing's army was defeated and killed. Now he had two choices: continue to attack or retreat. He didn't want to have a head-on conflict with Yi Zhen once they became enemies. It would be difficult to please both sides. Thinking of what his father had told him when he came here, Xiao Xuan was in a dilemma. But the Holy King's army became more and more courageous as the battle went on. Even though more than half of their soldiers were killed or wounded, the survivors were still fighting hard. The blood had soaked the city walls and the ground had become muddy. If you were not careful, you would fall to the ground. Corpses rolled down from the pile of corpses, were buried underneath, and were trampled beyond recognition. At this moment, the situation gradually became clear. Aki stood in the rear, looking at the vicious enemy indifferently. So what about heavy cavalry? They only have losing points. As expected, in just less than 2/4 of an hour, the cavalry formations of the Xia and Jing dynasties became distorted, and the ensuing chain reaction directly affected the local war. The collapse that had been suppressed with great difficulty triggered an even greater escape at this moment. The Yi army is too scary. They are devils, they are killing gods. We can even touch their shadows. How can we fight them? A Daojing soldier collapsed. He saw his former brothers die one after another in front of him, killed by bullets, blown to death by exploding arrows, and roasted into charcoal by the weird Bahuo. A disgusting smell of barbecue struck deep into his soul, making him feel inexplicably frightened. There were more than one person like him, and he saw some of them sneak away. So he followed them in fleeing later. The officer's words were no longer effective, because the officer was bumped into and trampled to death by the fleeing soldiers. From a few people at the beginning, 2 dozens of people, and then 200s of people, the situation began to deteriorate from within. No matter how Ni Qianzhen threatened or bribed them, they could not stop fleeing. Even the pride of Diaxia, the Iron Harriers, began to collapse. He felt a chill in his heart and was so dizzy that he almost fell off his horse. Chapter 252. Collapse. He knew too well the impact of a rout. Once there was a large-scale rout, even if Wu Sheng was here, he would not be able to stop the decline. He originally thought that the Iron Harrier could withstand the first few waves of attacks, but what he didn't expect was that Day's weapons simply could not be measured by common sense. Even the heavy cavalry can't withstand it. It would be fine if it was just defending the city, but this was a field battle, a head-on clash he lost despite having dozens of times more soldiers than Day. How could he have the face to go back and see the elders of Diaxia? He did not hesitate. Guards, follow me and charge forward. Everyone else, charge forward. Even if Day is a god, I will kill him today. Ni Qianzhen knew very well that if they could not shatter Day's myth today, then in the future they would be animals to be slaughtered by Day. No matter how many troops there are, they will be afraid when facing Day. At that time, Diaxia would have no chance. I am willing to follow the general to meet the enemy. Okay. The enemy can come, and I can go too. Ni Qianzhen charged forward with the determination to die, but even if he died, he had nothing to fear. Isn't it the same for Yuju, who is not far away? For some reason, he felt like a hero was at the end of his rope. If I can survive, I will definitely drink 3 cups of wine with Yujugo. Ni Qianzhen led everyone and rushed into the steel torrent without hesitation. Not far away, Liu Ju was also leading the team to charge. That was certainly terrifying to him, but as the Earl of Huiyang, the glory and pride of his ancestors did not allow him to retreat. He led all the soldiers and led the charge. Brothers, crush the Yi army. Unfortunately, dense bullets hit his armor in an instant. Although the powerful kinetic energy failed to penetrate his armor at the first time, the continuous heavy blows directly knocked him off his horse. Bang! Liu Ju fell heavily to the ground. The people behind him were unable to avoid him, and the warhorse stepped heavily on his chest. Snap! Liu Ju seemed to hear the sound of his sternum being broken. He spat out a mouthful of blood, and before he could catch his breath, a huge black shadow appeared in front of him. Glick! His face was sunken. The chains on his face had sunken into his flesh, and his eyeballs had been crushed by horse hooves. Perhaps Li Ju never thought that he would die so miserably. His death left the group leaderless, and the already low morale declined further. A trusted soldiers pulled up Liu Ju's body and cried, "The general is dead." At that moment, the whole army was in an uproar. Everyone has lost the will to fight anymore. Even the main general has been killed. How can they fight? On the other side, Ni Qianzhen didn't know that Liu Ju was dead, and he was surrounded by his confidence. He just didn't believe that Day's firepower could be maintained indefinitely. He tried to outflanking from both sides to disperse the firepower, but Day also had cavalry. The battlefield has been divided into several parts. The allied forces of the two governments are still attacking the city. Fleeing vassal state reinforcements and infantry. The dodging soldiers were leaderless, and the Daxia phalanx suffered the heaviest casualties. The entire battle situation has become disorganized and everyone is fighting on their own. General, the firepower is too strong, we can't get through it all. Ni Qianzhen's eyes were red. At this moment, he forced himself to calm down and tried to find the enemy's weakness. But at this moment, a shell landed accurately beside him. Coax! The exploding white phosphorus bomb instantly set the people around him on fire. The warhorse under him neighed and suddenly swayed from side to side uncontrollably. Ni Qianzhen was nearly thrown off his horse. When he reacted, he found that there was white fire in the horse's belly, and the fire had already set his thigh on fire. It was only then that he felt the burning pain. What followed was boundless panic. He kept slapping the fire with his hands, but it was difficult to put it out to his despair. The fire moved from his thighs to his hands. The warhorse under him became restless and threw him off its back. Seeing this, his confidant immediately took out a water bag and tried to put out the fire. But the fire could not be extinguished at all. Instead, it flowed through the gaps in the armor and burned into the lining. Even though Ni Qianzhen was a tough guy, he screamed out in pain, "Quick, surround them, and take off my armor." On the battlefield, taking off the armor means death, but he can't care about that now. But he was wearing heavy armor. How could it be removed so easily? The fire spread quickly, and soon he felt his chest, back, and even his crotch were on fire. Oh, it hurts so much, it hurts so much. Ni Qianzhen could no longer hold on and fell to the ground, rolling around in an attempt to put out the fire and relieve the pain. But this approach would only hasten his death. The confidants around him were helpless and could only keep pouring water. But the enemy would not give them a chance to breathe, and another shell landed not far from them. More and more people were ignited by the strange white flame, and in the end they all rolled on the ground. This horrifying scene made the survivors step back. It was not until Ni Qianzhen stopped rolling around and died that everyone realized that they had lost, completely lost. But even if Ni Qianzhen died, no one dared to collect his body, and they could only watch him being devoured by the fire. The body's fat became the best combustion agent at this moment, making a crackling sound. This horrifying scene was so shocking that it drove several people crazy. Ni Qianzhen never thought until his death that his first wave of attack would plunge into the attack range of Day's army. Thus one shot was enough to send him to meet his ancestors. The general is dead. Burned to death. I don't know who shouted, and then the whole army was in an uproar. The Iron Harriers, who were still resisting hard, had their formation collapsed, and then they retreated like the tide. The heavy armor they wore made them invincible on the battlefield, but became a burden when they fled, and they were far inferior to light cavalry. At this moment, the offensive of the million-strong coalition force was completely disintegrated. Hawkeye even had the leisure to light a cigarette for himself. He was also imitating Li Yuan and thought it was quite impressive. That's it? However, although he pretended like this, he was actually very nervous in his heart this time. He was too careless and only brought 1,000 soldiers. The ammunition he prepared was not enough. Fortunately, Your Majesty was wise and used the obsolete weapons to arm the Xiongbi cavalry. In the words of His Majesty, there is no old weapon, all are used to kill and kill viciously. Most importantly, the artillery did not carry conventional artillery shells, so His Majesty generously prepared a white phosphorus shell, worth 100 tiles for them. In just a short while, they fired out tens of thousands of tiles of silver. Without the cavalry and infantry to raid the enemy camp, and without the white phosphorus shells to kill everyone, this time would have been very dangerous. But even so, the Xiongbi cavalry suffered heavy losses and the infantry also suffered heavy casualties. But fortunately, the main force of the coalition forces had been completely defeated. Hawkeye crushed Huazi and imitated Li Yuan's posture. Brothers, launch the final charge. Chapter 253, The Sorrow of a Lifetime. The Day soldiers launched a fierce charge. The two soldiers almost emptied all their magazines. They rushed forward, stepping on the corpses of the enemies. A Mauser pistol replaced the PP at this moment. Wang Chuan looked at the enemy troops retreating like a tide, and the pressure was greatly reduced. He couldn't help but shout to the sky, "Chase! Your Majesty! The coalition forces have retreated." Shi Jiyue couldn't help but get excited. "Your Majesty, they really withdrew their troops." Xiao Podeo was also extremely excited. Xiao Jianjia took a deep breath and said, "Whether they retreat or not, we should defeat these people." Everyone nodded continuously at this moment. They saw the hope of survival. The desire to survive made them burst out with powerful fighting power. "Prince, retreat, the army retreats." Xiaoan turned around suddenly and saw the cavalry fleeing in all directions and out of control. His heart sank. This is too fast. They were defeated in less than half an hour? "Prince, what should we do?" Xiaoan gritted his teeth and said, "What can we do? Retreat. He was so angry that Xiao Xuan's men blocked their way. Even if they went up now, it would be too late. It would have been bad enough that they suffered heavy losses this time. But they didn't even get to touch the Empress's clothes. How tragic it was. As for fighting against He Jun, he didn't have the courage. Even the Xia Jing coalition forces were defeated. What could they use to fight? Once the thought of running away came to my mind, I could no longer stop it. Thinking of this, he left the battlefield with his guards. Sound the horn and call back the troops. King Yu's army on the battlefield receded like the tide. As a result, the attacking army of Prince Xian appeared particularly conspicuous. Xiao Xuan kept asking people to push forward until the gunshots got closer and closer, and then he realized what was happening. Prince, let's run away quickly, they have all retreated. The confidant pulled him and retreated. We are almost there. We will catch the Empress soon. As long as we catch her, this trip will not be in vain. Don't catch them anymore. If you continue, we will have a head-on conflict with Day's army. Think about what His Highness has said. They can't afford to offend Day. The confidant had a bitter face. Who could have thought that an army of 1.3 million people besieging a small Shuitan County would end in such a miserable defeat? Not only did they fail to capture Shuitan County and the Empress, but they also attracted Dai soldiers. They lost both the lady and the soldiers. I don't know how Day will deal with Prince Xian's mansion after this battle. How despicable. Xiao Xuan cursed angrily. Damn Xiaoan, he actually retreated without even saying hello, and Liu Zhu and Ni Qianjun are simply too afraid of death. He cursed louder than anyone else, but ran away faster than anyone else. He had already seen the Day cavalry rushing towards him, and if he didn't leave now, he would really be unable to escape. Another half hour later, the war was over and Hawkeye ordered to stop the pursuit. A battlefield was littered with corpses and wounded enemy soldiers. Military doctors are treating the wounded and casualties are being counted. But when Hawkeye saw the corpses piled up under the city wall, he couldn't help but gasp. The battle was so brutal that it was beyond his imagination. Fortunately, he dared to fight. He arrived at the foot of the city as soon as possible and met Xiao Jianjia. Xiao Jianjia also dragged her tired body and said, "Eagle Eye, I don't need to thank you for your kindness. I will remember this kindness in my heart." Hawkeye didn't care about her husband. No. Where is the emperor? Where did you hide him? I'm here to welcome him back to Beijing. What he meant was that he did not come for Xiao Jianjia or the Holy King Army. Xiao Jianjia understood the hidden meaning in his words. Lu King left the city through the secret passage several hours ago. If nothing unexpected happens, he has already arrived at Biaoyang Pass. Don't lie to me. Hawkeye's face darkened. I'm warning you, don't try to use the emperor to threaten Day. You can't afford the consequences. When she was still a lady, Hawkeye would never dare to say this. But now she is not. Xiao Jianjia shook her head. I didn't lie to you. Lu King is really gone. Hawkeye was skeptical. If so, what am I doing here? These words made everyone feel depressed. Xiao Jianjia took a deep breath and said, "If you don't believe me, you can take me away. If I lie to you, you can kill me or chop me up. Whatever you want. Big guy, it's all ready this time. Do you think we would lie?" Shi Jiyue said, gritting his teeth. "General Hawkeye, Lord Lu has already left under escort. Now that we are in this situation, why bother telling such a lie that will be exposed at the slightest provocation?" Xiao Ji leant over and said, "We are old acquaintances, and you should know me well." Seeing Xiao Ji, the disciple that His Majesty once loved the most, Hawkeye frowned. "Then for your sake, I'll trust you once, but if you lie to me, you'll all die." Having said that, Hawkeye went down the city wall without looking back. He also had to count the casualties and send someone to notify Biaoyang Pass to dispatch reinforcements. With so many bandit troops roaming around Zongshu, they might pose a threat today. He was eating dry food at the foot of the city. He didn't care even though there were corpses all over the ground and the smell of blood was so strong that it made him breathless. Xiao Jianjia could no longer hold on, her body went limp, and she fell to the ground, gasping for breath. The others were not much better off after nearly 4 hours of fierce fighting from morning to late evening. They had already exceeded their physical limits. At this moment, fatigue took over and everyone fell in a pool of blood. I don't know who started laughing. And soon the laughter spread from one person to another, and the whole Shuitan County was filled with laughter. We survived. By nightfall, the final casualties were counted. Xiao Jianjia had bandaged her wound, eaten something, and regained some strength, but her whole body ached, especially her arms, which were numb and not like her own. Your Majesty, the statistics show that we lost 85,600 people in this battle, with more than 30,000 casualties. There are also too many civilians under the city wall to count, Xiao Podeo said bitterly. The weather is hot right now. We must deal with these bodies immediately, otherwise, there will definitely be a major epidemic. How many people have we saved? Xiao Jianjia's eyes dimmed. Less than 2,000. Xiao Jianjia was heartbroken and tears fell from her eyes. Tears were useless. But she was so sad at the moment that she couldn't control herself. What Xiao Put-ao said were a string of cold numbers, but piled up there were once living people. Chop off the heads of those rebel troops for me. Build a mausoleum on the main road in the west of the city, and bury the dead civilians. I am the one who has let them down. Xiao Jianjia looked up at the starry sky and couldn't hold back any longer. So she burst into tears. This was also the time she cried the hardest and felt the saddest since she could remember. The secret guards all wiped their tears. The scene outside was simply too tragic. Vultures were circling overhead and crows were screaming miserably on the branches. The blood flowed into streams, leaving no place for even flies to land. This battle was so painful that it was destined to become the pain of Xiao Jianjia's life. Chapter 254, A King Should Have Demeanor. The sound of corpses everywhere was an adjective before, but now it has become concrete. When the people who were carrying the bodies saw the scene, they vomited bile. Hawkeye also counted the casualties at this time. The Xianbi cavalry suffered losses of more than 8,700 people. The infantry suffered losses of 3,500 people, and the 3,0 firearms battalion suffered losses of 616 people. Not a single soldier died. Even so, more than 13,000 people were killed in this battle. Will everyone be laughed at if we report this loss to Liangjing? Hawkeye's face was filled with worry, although 99 of the casualties were newly recruited from the Wang family army. No wonder His Majesty prefers to have fewer soldiers than fewer. So many people died in the sneak attack from behind. That's too bad. Even though he killed more than 150 enemies in this battle, he still didn't smile at all. Moreover, there were too many corpses on the battlefield, including those from the allied forces and the Zhou family. Some of the broken limbs were mixed together, and the blood had coagulated and even stuck together to the point of being inseparable. If we include those innocent civilians, more than 500,000 people died in this battle. What a brutal battle! For fear of a major epidemic, Hakim also ordered people to dig pits and bury the bodies. Not to mention using straw mats to collect the bodies. Dozens or even hundreds of people were placed in a large pit and they were just buried hastily. This is the true portrayal of troubled times. It was not until the middle of the Zhou hour around 8 o'clock in the evening that Lu Qiushan finally arrived with reinforcements, and Zhu Ren also came with him. Along the way, they encountered roaming bandit troops and fought a battle, annihilating tens of thousands of enemies. After finally arriving at Shuitan County, everyone couldn't help but gasp as they looked at the corpses lying on the ground in the moonlight. Chang Wei was also dumbfounded. This is too tragic. Ake also stepped forward immediately the moment he saw Lu Qiushan. He finally let go of his worries and said, "Greetings to the Emperor." "No need to be polite," Lu Qiushan asked anxiously. "Is Her Majesty the Empress okay?" "Everything is fine," said Hawkeye. Lu Qiushan nodded and said to Hawkeye, "If you hadn't arrived in time, I'm afraid Shuitan County would have fallen." Hawkeye scratched his head in embarrassment. "It was all arranged by Your Majesty. I failed to protect the Emperor in the first place. It is my fault. Please punish me, Your Majesty." "I don't blame you. It's my own decision to stay in the Holy King's army that makes things difficult for you." Lu Qiushan did not act arrogantly like an emperor. Instead, he bowed to Hawkeye to express his gratitude. In his opinion, they could be what it is today because of Li Yuan's hard work as a father. How could he put on airs and disappoint the soldiers? It is easy to start a business but difficult to maintain it. Lu Qiushan knows this very well. When the people around saw this scene, they couldn't help but feel admiration. Hawkeye stared at Lu Qiushan in a daze. He waited for Shang Wei to remind him before he quickly dodged to the side, waving his hands. "Your Majesty, you are embarrassing me." Lu Qiushan smiled and comforted him with a few words before turning around and walking towards Shuitan County. But even though people kept carrying the bodies, Lu Qiushan had no place to step and the muddy ground had soaked his shoes. He was in a very heavy mood after finally entering the city. He found out that Xiao Jianjia was already asleep. He did not wake her up, but asked about the battle. When everyone saw Lu Qiushan coming back, they felt like they had found their backbone. Everyone was talking about what had happened. In the end, it was Lu Qiushan who let Xiao Put-ao speak alone. And only then did he gradually understand the entire course of the war. "On behalf of my son Lu, Your Majesty, I would like to thank you all." Lu Qiushan bowed sincerely to everyone. "Lord Lu, you are too kind. This is what we should do," said Xiao Put-ao. "Tonight, day soldiers will be on guard, so let the soldiers have a good rest," Lu Qiushan said, and then left Shuitan County. His current identity was no longer suitable for him to stay here alone. When Xiao Jianjia woke up the next day, she learned that Lu Qiushan had arrived with his troops from Biaoliang Pass. "Why didn't you wake me up?" "Lord Lu won't allow it." Enduring the pain all over her body, Xiao Jianjia said, "Quick, go and get Lu King." Soon, Lu Qiushan entered the city again. "Your Majesty, I pay my respects to you." "Lu King, please get up quickly." Xiao Jianjia hurried over to support him. I am incompetent and failed to ask for reinforcements in time, which put your majesty in danger. I deserve to die. Eagle Eye was not invited by you, but he came because of you. If it weren't for you, we would have already lost. Xiao Ji and Jia pulled him up and asked openly, the crisis of the Holy King army has been resolved this time. What does Lu Yuan mean? I haven't asked my son yet. I am just using my power to pressure Shang Wei to bring troops to help, Lu Qiushan said truthfully. Xiao Ji and Jian nodded, and she said how could Lu Qiushan come back so soon, so this is what happened. The atmosphere suddenly became awkward. Should I wait for news here, or forget Shui Tan County it, as no longer suitable for living? Lu Qiushan said, take everyone and follow me back to Liangjing. The north has become the main battlefield, there will be another war next. Caught in the middle, the Saint King army has no way out. And what identity will I have when I go today, as a surrenderer or as a guest? Xiao Ji and Jia asked. Your Majesty, why do you feel like you are living under someone else's roof? Lu Qiushan sighed and said. You must know that Dale Liangjing is, fundamentally speaking, Biaoyang County of Daqian. Your Majesty, how can you say such a thing as a guest in your own country? Xiao Ji and Jia was stunned. Lu Qiushan added, even if you lose, your Majesty is still a king, and a king should behave like a king, so why should you be embarrassed? Who can tell who will win or lose in this world? 30 years in the east, 30 years in the west, it's just a chess game, a play. Xiao Ji and Jia was shocked, and then she bowed and said, thank you for your advice. Lu Qiushan stepped aside and said, it is my duty as an official. Xiao Ji and Jia was no longer confused, but gathered the troops and the people as soon as possible. After the burial, a number of corpses outside the city decreased a lot. Xiao Ji and Jia left some people to clean up the battlefield with the day soldiers, and then followed Lu Qiushan and led everyone towards day. At this time, Liu Yuan had not slept all night. As he had expected, a great war broke out in the north, a war involving millions of people, which once became the main battlefield. The reason why he agreed to accept the Wang family was to switch things up and arrange his own people over there. In fact, he did the right thing. Upon learning that Lu Qiushan went to Biaoyang Pass to ask for reinforcements and threaten his life, Liu Yuan was so anxious that he almost led his troops there himself. Fortunately, in the first half of the night, Akai's men came to report that the battle was decided. But Liu Yuan also moved from Liangjing to Biaoyangguan. He had already issued an order that Lu Qiushan must be brought back no matter what, even if he objected. This old man says one thing and does another, and he doesn't even think about how old he is. If anything happens to him, his mother will cry to death. At this moment, Liu Su came in hurriedly. Your Majesty, the Emperor is back. Chapter 255, King meets King. This little old man is finally back. Liu Yuan quickly got up from his seat and trotted out of the room. But what he didn't expect was that Lu Qiushan not only came back, but also brought back the Holy King army. The entrance was crowded with people. The Holy King's soldiers are undergoing inspection. All armor and weapons must be removed and are not allowed to be brought in. Someone was indignant and shouted, this is Daqian's territory, how can a son teach his father? Is this how your Emperor of Day taught you? As soon as these words came out, the soldiers on duty raised their guns and said, how dare you? You insult His Majesty, you should be executed. The atmosphere suddenly became tense. Shang Wei was in a difficult position, being caught in the middle. And he said with an unpleasant expression, since we are here in Day, we must follow Day's rules. If you look down on Day, why bother coming here? Day's current status is not due to the imperial court. All the soldiers and civilians in Biaoyang Pass rely on military farming and the kindness of your Majesty, who has given Biaoyang Pass a lot of business, so that everyone can live a good life. If anyone dares to speak rudely again, don't blame me for being ruthless. If Lu Qiushan hadn't been there, Shang Wei would have taken action long ago. To him, the dead empress is the most valuable, the living empress would only be a threat to him. If a conflict arises, he will take advantage of it. Xiao Puteo also said in a deep voice, shut up everyone. Take off your armor and put down your swords. Although those troublemakers were furious, they could only take off their armor angrily and throw their knives on the ground. Lu Qiushan did not say anything. Let's put things one way or the other, he would never stand with the Holy King army at this time. Xiao Ji and Jia said nothing, and took off her armor and sword. She took out the Mauser pistol that Lu Yuan gave her, and said, this is a gift from your Majesty Day Edo, you want me to give it to you? Shang Wei's mouth twitched, no need. Xiao Ji and Jia snorted coldly, then swaggered into Biaoyang Pass with Xiao Puteo and others, which made Shang Wei very angry. Xiao Ji said with some concern, it is better not to be too high profile. The people of Day actually hate the imperial court. How can I not hate it? Among the people of Biaoyang County at the beginning, few did not hate the imperial court. You ask them to be loyal to the court, but they would rather surrender to the enemy. And just at this moment, Xiao Ji and Jia stopped. Seeing the man coming in a hurry, She was confused. "Li Yuan, long time no see." But Li Yuan just nodded slightly and walked past her. The imagined tit-for-tat at confrontation between kings did not occur. Li Yuan was indifferent and looked at her as if she was an insignificant person. The damage would be 10 times more than scolding her. Her eyes dimmed. Xiao Ji also hurriedly threw away his crutches. "Master Lu." Li Yuan didn't even look at him. Xiao Ji was very embarrassed. He stood there frozen, feeling extremely uncomfortable. Li Yuan walked quickly to Lu Qiushan, looking helpless. "Dad, you can't let your son live. If anything happens to you, what will mother do? Why am I not back?" Lu Qiushan saw Li Yuan's behavior clearly. He also knew that he was in the wrong. They talked a lot that night. But he did the opposite. No wonder Lu Yuan was angry. "Luckily you're back, otherwise I would have slaughtered the entire north without sparing a single soul. Don't be so angry." Lu Qiushan grabbed Lu Yuan's wrist, then pulled him to Xiao Ji and Jia, and grabbed Xiao Ji and Jia's hand. "Let's go, let's talk. His Majesty. Come back." Xiao Podeo grabbed Shi Ji Yue and glared at her. "What's your business? Stay still." Soon, Lu Qiushan took the two of them to a separate room and said, "If there is anything, just solve it here. If you are unhappy, just say it out loud. Here, there is no emperor, no empress, only family. In terms of age, I am the oldest, and in terms of seniority, I am also the oldest. So, both of you listen up. Don't speak ill of each other, and don't say one thing and mean another." Li Yuan didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He didn't expect his father to do this. Xiao Ji and Jia also lowered her head, but then raised her head and said, "Sit down and talk. We don't have much to talk about. We talked about it before. Talking too much makes people think we're being pretentious." Li Yuan said, "Just sit down when I tell you to. Why are you talking so much nonsense?" Lu Qiushan's face darkened outside. He still gave way to Li Yuan, but here, he wouldn't do that. Li Yuan had no choice but to sit down. The atmosphere was awkward. Xiao Ji and Jia took a deep breath and said, "First of all, thank you for saving us. I can never repay you for your kindness." "Is this how you repay a favor? You brought so many people to my day to eat and drink for free, and you even brought my father to persuade me?" Li Yuan sneered. "Also, people went to rescue my father. It has nothing to do with you whether the Holy King army lives or dies. What does it have to do with me? Is that how I taught you to talk?" Lu Qiushan slapped him hard. "I worked so hard, begged and then pleaded, and finally got her back. If you make me angry and leave again, I will never forgive you." This slap, which was neither light nor heavy, made Xiao Ji and Jia laugh. She didn't expect that the arrogant Li Yuan would be so well behaved in front of Lu Qiushan. Li Yuan smiled bitterly. "Dad, please give me some face in front of outsiders. Is she an outsider? If she is an outsider, how did my granddaughter come here?" Lu Qiushan slammed the table. The people outside who were listening looked at each other. They wanted to go in but didn't dare to. They wanted to eavesdrop but didn't dare to. They stared at each other with very strange expressions. "I'm telling you, Lu Yuan, stop being a hooligan," Lu Qiushan said. "I don't know how you two got together at that time. It must have been a coincidence. Or there must be something unspeakable, but for things like this it takes two to tango as a man. Can't you refuse a woman? I'm in the capital, and I know what kind of rumors she has to endure. Lord Lu, I have already talked to him about this matter. He is not at fault. It was my wish that the child stayed." Xiao Ji and Jia said, "Let's not talk about the past. If I talk too much, he will think I am playing the victim. Besides, this matter is my fault." Lu Qiushan frowned, and had some guesses in his heart. "Okay, let's not talk about this. Ji and Jia, give me a clear answer. Are you willing to marry my son?" "Dad, I'm going to marry Honggu Yu. It's the parents' orders and the matchmaker's words. Do you have the right to have a say?" Lu Qiushan brought up the etiquette. He didn't really want to force Li Yuan, but he had finally coaxed Xiao Ji and Jia over, so how could he make her angry and leave? "Ji and Jia, tell me the truth. Are you going to marry me or not? My son is sometimes smart, sometimes as stupid as a donkey, and his temper is as stubborn as a donkey. If you don't tell him directly, he will think you are playing hard to get." Chapter 256, The Fate of an Extreme Princess. "Damn it. Marry." Xiao Ji and Jia nodded. "You heard it too. Ji and Jia is willing to marry you." "So what? I don't want to marry her," Li Yuan said. Xiao Ji and Jia's eyes dimmed. Li Yuan's resolute expression didn't seem to be fake. But Xiao Ji and Jia was not angry. "I don't have too many requirements for marrying you. They don't even ask you to help me revive Daqian, nor do I ask you to continue Daqian's national prosperity." Xiao Ji and Jia looked at Lu Yuan. "Of course. I also have 3 requests. First, save Uncle Duan. Second, if one day, the Day army approaches Bianlian, I hope to lead the troops myself to kill the new party headed by Yang Ji. I don't ask to be the queen. Even if I am just a concubine, I will accept it." At this moment, Xiao Ji and Jia lowered her head and accepted her fate. Li Yuan didn't say anything, as if he was thinking, "Do you want to hear the truth or a lie? I want to listen to it." Xiao Jianjia said. For my daughter's sake, I will agree to your request. This is the truth. What about lies? That's the sentence above. Li Yuan took out a cigarette, threw another one to old Lu, and said, maybe you are wondering why I'm still being hypocritical when you are already like this. Humans, who eat grains and cereals, are fickle. I won't hide it from you. In fact, I found out your identity quite a long time ago. The first day you were caught by the security bureau, Ma Sanbao's identity was exposed. Xiao Jianjia looked at Lu Yuan in disbelief. You knew it a long time ago. Then why did you? At the time, I was just suspicious and not sure of your identity after all. I hadn't seen you for 5 years, and you suddenly showed up with a child. Anyone would be suspicious. After Biao Yang gradually rose, I actually looked for you, but there was no news mentioned in the previous article. Later when you appeared, I was really happy. Not pretending. After I found out your identity, I still didn't change my attitude, and I never thought of changing what I promised you. I thought maybe it would be better to wait until you say it yourself. I'm going to expose you. How embarrassing it is. Li Yuan exhaled out of smoke. But you didn't. You have been lying to me. Those people instigated you to use me. You did think so and did it. But you are too proud and twisted. Of course, as an emperor who is high above everyone else, how could you look down upon a traitor like me? It must be very painful for you to use me, right? Xiao Jianjia felt like she was stripped naked and thrown in front of Lu Yuan. She thought she was hiding well, but in fact, she had been seen through long ago. At that moment, she was ashamed and angry. If Lu Qiushan hadn't been there, she would have left long ago. Lu Qiushan also looked at Lu Yuan in surprise, then quietly lit up the cigarette, walked to the side, opened the window, and looked at the people outside. Everyone stepped back. If anyone comes closer, I won't be polite. The most anxious person in the crowd was Ma Sanbao. Li Yuan, I'm telling you, if you dare to bully His Majesty, I'll fight you. Hearing Ma Sanbao's threat, Lu Qiushan closed the window directly, then sat aside and stopped interrupting. Do you think it's fun to play tricks on me? Xiao Jianjia clenched her fists and said angrily. You insulted the empress in front of me, humiliated me, and belittled me to the point of being worthless. Do you feel happy like this? Now I come to you so humbly to beg you. Do you feel good? Do you feel like you have gotten revenge? Xiao Jianjia's body was shaking constantly. She had never felt so embarrassed before. That kind of humiliation made her want to kill herself. Lu Yuan shrugged. If you think so, what else can I say? Of course, in your eyes, I am just an ignorant woman with long hair and little knowledge. I am extremely stupid, and everything I do is disgusting in your eyes. That's why you humiliate me and bully me unscrupulously, because you know very well that it is impossible for me to gain any power. And you are just waiting to see me make a fool of myself. You support those people around you and give them weapons, which restricts me and leaves me no way to escape, forcing me into a corner. Li Yuan couldn't help laughing. You'd better think about why I didn't sell weapons to you. The weapons I sold to you were several times cheaper than those sold to them, and at that time, only the Holy King Army had such weapons. Do you actually blame me? Do I owe you? Even if I owe you, I have paid it back after helping you so many times. My father is already this old, and he still works like a slave for you. You should speak with your conscience. Even though I curse the empress, I will also teach you. Have you ever seen anyone taking others to war? Many of Day's weapons are confidential. Have I hidden anything from you? Don't you know what military tactics the Wang family used to beat you? What kind of force is the Holy King Army? Do you believe that I can destroy it with just 1,000 men? At this point, Li Yuan shook his head and said, forget it, there's nothing to talk about. You are amazing, you are noble, and you have a very noble status. There are many people who want to marry you. But let me tell you, Xiao Jianjia, I did want to marry you before, but now, I don't. Finally, I'll leave you with one last word. You deserve to be an extreme princess. Li Yuan stood up, put out his cigarette, pushed the door open and left. Lu Qiushan was tired. Looking at Xiao Jianjia, he sighed and said, Jianjia, don't you understand? If he really wanted to laugh at you, the Saint King Army would have been gone long ago. Don't you understand why he is scolding the empress while teaching you? If he really wanted to leave you with no way out, would the Holy King's army be able to get in? Xiao Jianjia was stunned. What's going on with the Wang family? If you want to know what's going on, can't you go and ask yourself? Lu Qiushan shook his head. He had a lot to say, but he couldn't say it directly. Li Yuan's frank words just now really surprised him. At this moment, he finally understood everything. That bastard boy is also a twisted person. Just calm down. Sometimes, don't be fooled by illusions. Lu Qiushan was tired. He had never been so tired, even when he was persecuted by the treacherous prime minister. Seeing Li Yuan and Lu Qiushan come out one after another, everyone frowned. How did the conversation go? Ma Sanbao rushed in immediately. Your Majesty, are you okay? Xiao Jianjia looked at Ma Sanbao and shook her head. I'm fine. Sanbao, do you still remember the first time you came to Biaoyang County and were arrested? Ma Sanbao was puzzled, but still said, remember. Did they discover your identity when they searched you? Xiao Ji and Jia's sudden question silenced Ma Sanbao. They found out. Right? Ma Sanbao sighed, then nodded helplessly. Yes, I think I found it. And why didn't you tell me earlier? Xiao Ji and Jia said angrily. Ma Sanbao knelt on the ground and said, this servant deserves death, please punish me, your majesty. Xiao Ji and Jia held her forehead helplessly. What's the point of saying this now? Chapter 257. Even if there are only 3 households in Chu will be the one to destroy ye. If Ma Sanbao's identity had been leaked long ago, then her identity would be obvious even if Li Yuan did not guess his true identity at that time. He must have had some guesses. Yes, his people have been protecting him secretly, and it is very likely that they will follow him back to the capital. There was a fire in Lu Qiushan's house. If it weren't for Yu Su, Su Xiue and others would have died long ago. By that time, Li Yuan probably had confirmed his identity. And I am still hiding and deceiving. The fire in the Lu family was caused by her, but Li Yuan did not blame her. However, when she turned back again, he cursed the empress again. From the dislike shown to her by many generals of Dai, it can be seen that she is not welcome in Dai. If they knew that I was the empress of Daqian, the boycott would probably be even greater. From this moment on, she realized that Li Yuan had really done a lot for her. Ma Sanbao asked anxiously, Your Majesty, didn't we reach an agreement? Xiao Ji and Jia did not answer, but turned her head suddenly to look at Xiao Ji. Xiao Ji was a little frightened by her gaze. Royal sister, is there something on my face? Xiao Ji and Jia shook her head. She finally understood why Li Yuan expelled Xiao Ji from the sect, just because Xiao Ji concealed his identity. He had his reasons for doing so. However, after being expelled from the sect, the border markets were open to each other. Although Li Yuan seems heartless, he actually has a trick up his sleeve. And the determination at this moment may be the accumulation of disappointments time and time again. Thinking of this, she laughed at herself. My life is just like a joke. Your Majesty, you. Xiao Ji and Jia waved her hand. I'm going to find Li Yuan to make things clear. Before anyone could react, she rushed out. In the carriage, Li Yuan said to Lu Qiushan, Dad, why are you doing this? You kid, stop fooling me, you sound so heartless. Do you dare to say that you didn't hold back? Lu Qiushan snorted. Li Yuan spread his hands and said, What's the point of saying this? Even if she really wants to marry me, it's too late. Do you understand that child? He is just slow, Lu Qiushan sighed. I'm not her father. I have no obligation to do this, right? Then how do you plan to deal with them? Drive them out and leave them defend for themselves? Given the current situation in the north, who can they defeat if they go out? Are you happy that she is really dead? If you are really a qualified emperor, a rational emperor, you should keep her and marry her. Then who would dare to criticize you for being unorthodox in the future? She has some talented people under her command. Wouldn't it be good to strengthen Dai? I know that many generals and common people in Dai hate her and despise her, but that doesn't stop you from marrying her, right? On the contrary, it can enhance Dai's prestige. Li Yuan said helplessly. Dad, please stop brainwashing me. Asshole, I am teaching you what brainwashing is. Lu Qiushan's eyes widened and he said angrily, You have already extended your hand into Daqian. You will have to govern the people and the place in the future, right? Even if Daqian was a poor man, a rotten boat still had 3 pounds of nails, and there were many people loyal to Daqian. Even if you suppress them, you don't want the place to be unstable, right? Li Yuan didn't know whether to laugh or cry. These words reminded him of the saying, even if there are only 3 households in Chu, if he is destroyed, Chu will be the one's enemy. This land has never been truly unified. In the future, there will be a process where the wheels of the vehicles will be of the same track, the writing system will be the same, the ethics will be the same, the land will be the same, the weights and measures will be the same, and the currency will be the same. Although King Xiang was strong, he eventually lost to the Han dynasty because he only wanted to survive in a corner, while Liu Bang only wanted to unify the country. Old Lu's words really made Li Yuan think deeply. Some things cannot be completely solved just by having a gun in hand. The merger of countries and the integration of ethnic groups will inevitably be a process. Seeing that Li Yuan remained silent, Lu Qiushan continued, This method can help you avoid taking detours, so why do you have to go the long way? Listen to your father and talk to him calmly. Although this child is slow in some aspects, he has a strong character and is willing to endure hardships and difficulties. He will definitely become a virtuous person after he is educated. Look at how cute Huan Huan is. I'm sure the children you two will have in the future will be good too. As a grown man, don't be so hesitant. You won't suffer any loss in this matter. Our Lu family is small, and there is only one person in the 3rd generation. You must take up the banner of prospering the Lu family, right? Otherwise, if you unified the world, how would you be able to defend such a large territory? Old Lu is indeed smart and has a broad perspective, but he is ultimately unable to escape the constraints of this era. In his mind, he still wanted the descendants of the Lu family to establish a fiefdom and rule the country. It cannot be said to be bad, it is just that this system will do more harm than good in the later stages. But if you think the ancients were so stupid, then you are too stupid. Even Liu Yuan had no plans to abolish the feudal system for the time being. A world is too big. Middle-earth alone is as large as most of Asia with such a large territory and in such a backward era. It is inappropriate to abolish the feudal system. And you do it or not? Give me a definite answer. Lu Qiushan frowned and said angrily, if you drive her away, she will either die in battle or use the power of the two governments to become a puppet emperor. At least Prince Xian and Prince Yu are still members of the Xiao family. If all else failed, she chose to marry into a powerful aristocratic family. Is this what you want to see? Dad, can we just solve this ourselves? It's been so long. And you haven't given me a definite answer. Lu Qiushan made the decision directly. I don't care if you are the Emperor of Day or not, if you still recognize me as your father. You will marry her. I recognize this daughter-in-law as my wife. As for who you want to make queen and who you want to marry in the future, I will not interfere. Dad, At this moment, the carriage suddenly paused and stopped. Xiao Jianjia's voice came from outside again. Stop the car, Liu Yuan, get off. Liu Yuan frowned, pushed open the door, and looked at the breathless Xiao Jianjia. Did I not make myself clear? Lu Qiushan glared at him, then got out of the car and said to Xiao Jianjia, go ahead. This guy was embarrassed just now because I was here. Now that I'm gone, you can talk about anything. Liu Yuan held his forehead with his hand, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. This little old man was really tenacious. Okay, Xiao Jianjia nodded and got on the carriage. Miss Liu Su, please drive slower. Lu Qiushan bowed to Liu Su, who was driving, then glanced at Honggu next to him and felt a little embarrassed. Yes, Your Majesty. Liu Su could only slow down. However, Honggu's eyes dimmed. In her opinion, Lu Qiushan did not like her. Yes, he has no father or mother. And his only brother is still missing. She is a woman of the world, so how could she be qualified to be the queen of Liu Yuan? Is she worthy of being the mother of the country? She was a little dazed. Especially when facing Xiao Jianjia, that hint of inferiority made her feel ashamed. Chapter 258. I'm just a woman. Aunt Hong, long time no see. Xiao Jianjia smiled at her. Honggu was a little at a loss. She nodded mechanically and then wanted to get off the car and let her get in. But at this moment, Liu Su grabbed her hand, held her tightly, and said in a voice that only Honggu could hear, don't let me go. Privately she competed with Honggu. And even when Honggu took advantage of her going out to have affairs with her, she didn't care and only hated herself for being incompetent. Because they understand each other and support each other. But why does Xiao Jianjia do that? I have suffered together and overcome difficulties together, so why should she, an outsider, come and pick the peaches? Just because of her status as empress, she is not qualified. How many people in day like her? Honggu looked at Liu Su. She was originally strong, but now she seemed a little hesitant. Perhaps it is true that the more you think, the more constrained you are. Can you let me go up? Xiao Jianjia asked again. Liu Su held Honggu down tightly and pretended not to hear anything. Seeing that the two were indifferent, Xiao Jianjia didn't say anything, but climbed onto the platform in an extremely embarrassing posture. The carriage that Liu Yuan was riding in was tall and big. It would be difficult even for a man to get up there without climbing the stairs. She dusted herself off before entering the carriage. Not even closing the door, she looked at Liu Yuan and said, you don't have to marry me. So how about I join Day? Although I'm not good at leading troops, I fought hundreds of battles, both big and small, with both wins and losses, and I can be considered a battle-hardened general. I can lead troops or be in logistics. At worst, I have some talented people under my command. If they join Day, it will also be beneficial to Day. If you don't agree, I will leave Day right now and never bother you again. Beneath the seemingly calm gaze, undercurrents have long been surging. She didn't know whether Liu Yuan would agree. And this was the last resort she could think of. What's the benefit of accepting you? Liu Yuan asked inferently. Although I am not worth much as an empress, I have something valuable. Xiao Jianjia took out the blood-red national seal from her bosom. This is the Daqian national seal, the real national seal. If you agree, it will be yours from now on. You are the legitimate heir. By handing over the national seal, the national soul of Daqian has, to a certain extent, been lost. Even a peasant could raise a rebel group if he picked up the national seal, let alone Liu Yuan. I don't need Daqian's approval, Liu Yuan said. Xiao Jianjia was stunned. This was the most valuable thing on her body. But she didn't expect Liu Yuan to look down on it. Well, Day is so powerful, why would he need a dead object to prove himself? As for the people under her command, Liu Yuan probably looks down on them. When I have nothing to do, I can accompany Huan Huan. This is not a condition, this is what I should do as a mother, Xiao Jianjia said. Li Yuan's expression fluctuated. Okay, stay here from now on, you will report to the military medical camp. In addition to missions, you must spend half of the night with the children every month. I don't ask you to share anything for day, I only have one request. That the child grow up happily. It is more important for a child to have a healthy personality and a complete family than anything else, do you understand? Yes. Xiao Jianjia thought about it, gritted her teeth, and was about to kneel down with her knees softened. But Lu Yuan didn't let her kneel down. It's not an important ceremony, Day doesn't practice kneeling, just bow your hands. Yes. Thank you, Your Majesty. Xiao Jianjia clasped his hands together. Li Yuan also let go of his hand. Since you want to surrender today, you will no longer be the emperor of Daqian in the future. I can't let you be an ordinary soldier, lest it be spread out in the future and people say that I, Lu Yuan, bullied a woman. Moreover, you are the princess's biological mother. So I will grant you the title of a first-rank lady. However, although you have joined the military medical camp, you do not have a meritorious title. If you want to be granted a title, you must rely on your own strength. Most people under your command will be disbanded in the future. Do you understand? I understand. Xiao Jianjia nodded at this moment. She didn't feel embarrassed. In fact, Li Yuan asked her to join the military medical camp, which was beyond her expectation. In her opinion, even if Li Yuan agreed, he would treat her like a canary and not let her show up in public. But not only did he not do that, he allowed himself to join the army. She couldn't figure out what this man was thinking. Wu Sun. The slave is here. The Wu Sun outside the car hurried forward, bent their bodies and waited for orders. Tell the Civil Affairs Department to give them a comprehensive check first, and issue them identity certificates if there are no problems. Yes. Your Majesty. As for you, come with me to Liangjing. The children haven't seen you for a long time and have been talking about you. Don't put on such an attitude in front of my family, Li Yuan said. Yes. Xiao Jianjia nodded and got off the carriage. Jianjia, what's wrong? Lu Qiwishan hurried over and asked. Lord Lu. His Majesty has agreed to take us in. Xiao Jianjia forced a smile. Lu Qiwishan also heard her hidden meaning. But he didn't hesitate as long as he could stay. Everything would be fine, okay. Great, since we are here, we should make the best of it. Don't be too nervous. Xiao Jianjia nodded, and then handed the national seal to him. Please Lord Lu. Give the national seal to His Majesty. After obtaining the national seal, Lu Qiwishan sighed. This is the source of unrest. I don't know how many people have fought to get it. Since Xiao Jianjia is willing to take out the national seal, it means that she has completely let it go. Although I don't know what they talked about. It's a good thing that Lu Yuan agreed. Things will get better in the future. Hua Bao was the first to come over and said, Your Majesty. Are you okay? Did that bastard bully you? Your Majesty, are you alright? Looking at the concerned eyes around him, Xiao Jianjia said, I'm fine. His Majesty Lu has agreed to accept us. He also conferred upon me the title of a first-rank lady and allowed me to serve in the military medical camp. So from now on, I am no longer the emperor. And you can no longer address me as, Your Majesty. This is an order. When these words were spoken, everyone was shocked and fell to their knees, begging and crying. Your Majesty, let's leave day. Your Majesty. Even if we are homeless and have to eat coarse food, we will not live under someone else's roof or depend on him for support. Ma Sinbao collapsed on the ground and cried bitterly. I am sorry to Emperor Shenzong. I am a sinner. I did not take good care of His Majesty. I deserve to die. Xiao Ji's eyes were even gloomier. The secret guards were very emotional and refused to let Xiao Jianjia stay no matter what. That's enough, Xiao Jianjia shouted. This is my decision and my order. From now on, there is no Xiaoling Xiao, no Empress Daqian, only Madame Xiao of Day, and General Xiao Jianjia of the Military Medical Battalion. She panted, gathered the hair scattered on her face behind her ears, and said in a hoarse voice, I'm just a woman. Chapter 259 Reactions from all parties. This sentence made everyone silent. The Empress they knew was not like this. That sentence, I'm just a woman, is so sad. Everyone burst into tears. They hated their own incompetence, hated their own weakness and hated themselves for not being able to protect the monarch. As a result, we have ended up in this situation today. Everyone, get up. From now on, you are the people of Dayin. 90% of the people in Liangjing are Qian people, they should not reject us. You must not consider yourself a Daqian person, or you will be sent out of the country, and I will not be able to protect you. Xiao Jianjia's tone was calm. But her heart was bleeding. However, she knew better that if she could not protect a country, then she would protect a state or a prefecture. If that was not possible, then she would protect a county or a town. If that doesn't work, then protect the people around you, so that they all have a future and can live a good life. Your Majesty, can we leave the city? There will always be a chance. Ma Sanbao knelt on the ground, holding Xiao Jianji's feet, his eyes full of anticipation. Sanbao? I am not a qualified emperor. I have failed my father's expectations. I know you are sad, but I hope everyone can survive. Xiao Jia looked at this old eunuch who was no longer young in just over a year. He seemed to have aged 10 years. From now on, don't live for others, just be Ma Sanbao and live for yourself. I don't want it. I was born to serve your majesty. That's all I have to say, you guys take care of yourselves. She broke away from Ma Sanbao and came to Wu Sun, eunuch. Thank you for your help. Wu Sun flicked his whisk and said, just follow us. When Xiao Pu'io and others saw this, they hurriedly followed. They were brought up by Emperor Shenzong since childhood and were not born to live for themselves. Wherever Xiao Ji and Jia went, they went. Xiao Ji was even more confused at this time. His father was captured. He was expelled from the sect by Lu Yuan, and now he even lost his country. He seemed like an orphan, just following the crowd. However, those who joined later, such as Shi Dad An, were relieved. Anyone can see that Xin Qian is doomed without Day's weapons. Xin Qian will only be swallowed up. Adding big leaves is actually the best choice. One is a declining empire, the other is a vibrant new empire full of infinite possibilities. You can tell which one to choose with your toes. Shi Dadan glanced at the others and said, let's go, follow them. A news that Xin Qian joined Day spread like wildfire, instantly setting off an uproar in the entire day. Also spreading along with it was the Battle of Shuitan County. Aki and the Xianbi cavalry defeated a million-strong coalition army and immediately became known to everyone. But no matter how popular it is, it cannot compare to the Empress bowing down and offering the national seal to the Emperor. This means that Day has become the orthodox one from now on. Possessing the national seal means having the right to dispose of the territory of Daqian. Future attacks will not be invasions, but restoration of order. There is no difference between the two. However, just when everyone thought that His Majesty was going to marry the Empress, they never heard the news they wanted to hear. The Empress was simply given the title of a first-rank lady. And the matter was left unresolved. Just when the outside world was discussing it, the envoys from various countries were already in a panic. Including envoys from small countries. Among the million-strong coalition army, how many people are from your own country? But Day never took any action against them. However, the final statistics on casualties were enough to move them. They finally counted the number of Allied forces killed, which was over 400,000 just counting all the Allied deaths. And there were no prisoners. This means that Day did not leave a single person alive. This shows Day's attitude. Li Kungai was also dumbfounded. Even the attempt to lure the tiger away from the mountain failed. That was an army of more than 1 million, and they couldn't even take down a small county like Shuitan. Even a million pigs could knock down the city wall. Right? He held his forehead in despair. Such a good plan actually failed, and he was beaten by Day to a point where he didn't know where to go. The situation will become even more tense in the future. Moreover, after Day is prepared, if the coalition forces shrink their front lines and hold out for a year or two, they will surely lose. He was besieged in Liangjing and had no idea what happened. If he knew that the coalition forces almost broke through Shuitan County but were disrupted by the Zhu family, he would probably be furious. Uncle, why hasn't my sister come to see us for so many days? Li Yanla frowned. Feeling extremely worried, Li Kunai didn't know how to answer. If nothing unexpected happened, Li Wuyu would probably have died. It should be Lu Yuan who didn't allow her to come after all. It is a special period. He could only coax Li Yanla. Li Yanla sighed, then went back to his room and began to study weapons. I haven't seen Neon Wen Yao and Xie for a long time. It's like they disappeared out of thin air. I'm afraid they are in danger. Li Kunai was a little worried. I'm afraid it will be our turn next. Li Yanla is a child of natural talent. He can crack the secret formula of gunpowder and forge weapons. He is definitely the hope for the future of Diaxia. Your Majesty, you miscalculated. You should never have let the princess come. Unless they win, if they lose, they will never have a chance to leave. However, what really made him angry was Li Quniong, his brother. Traitor. Li Kunai couldn't help but curse. Then he wrote a letter and secretly sent it away by pigeon. If Li Quniong betrayed, killing him would be the best option. On the other side, Li Yuan brought old Lu and Xiao Ji and Jia back home. The palace is being built. And because the old city is full, the new palace can only be placed in the new city. A new urban area will become the political center of the entire Day in the future. According to Lu Yuan's plan, Liangjing will be a mega city capable of accommodating a population of 5 million in the future. Fortunately, Liangjing is a basin large enough to accommodate so many people. As for moving the capital, Lu Yuan has not considered it for the time being. It is only 300 to 500 miles away from Haikao, and it is located at the junction of 3 countries. It will also be an important hub connecting the 3 countries in the future. A right time, right place and right people are all in place, and this place is qualified to be a country. Even if they were to rule Middle-earth in the future, it would be qualified enough. However, before the palace was built, their family still lived here. But the area within a radius of 500 meters had been cleared, with a guard post every 5 steps and a pavilion every 10 steps. After passing through layers of checkpoints, the carriage finally entered the mansion. Suexiyue and Lu Lingzhi were already waiting here with their family members. Huan was also happy to see Liu Yuan, but when she saw Lu Qiushan, she quickly braked and rushed towards Lu Qiushan. When Xiaoji and Jia got off the carriage, Huan was overjoyed, then her eyes turned red and she threw herself into her arms. Agreed lie, mother. You haven't come to see me for a long time, I thought you didn't want me anymore. Xiaoji and Jia also held the child tightly in her arms and kept kissing her. She, who had always been strong, also choked up and said, no, how could mother not want you? From now on, mother will never leave you again. Chapter 260, The Strongest Assist is online. You must be hungry, let's eat. Suexiyue also wiped her tears, then secretly pinched Lu Qiushan's waist, and the old Lu's face turned green from the pain. He didn't dare to cry out even with the child in front of him. He endured the pain and said, I'm back now, aren't I? Suexiyue left angrily, and Lu Qiushan sighed and had to chase after her. Lu Lingzhi was laughing secretly on the side. Liu Yuan smiled and shook his head. Brine and tofu, one thing conquers another. The atmosphere at the table was a little subtle. Lu Qiushan and his wife sat in the upper seats, Liu Yuan sat on the left, and next to him was Honggu. Xiaoji and Jia sat on the right holding the child. In order to ease the awkwardness, Lu Lingzhi asked Liu Su to sit at the table together. Wu Sun and Luo Bing were serving on the side. Although Xiaoyang is not here today, it is also a day for the family to reunite. I'll raise a glass to you. Lu Qiushan stood up and broke the awkwardness. I hope that in the future, our family will be harmonious and happy. Everyone clinked their glasses, but the atmosphere became increasingly subtle. Xiaoji and Jia's full attention was on the child, while Honggu lowered her head and remained silent. Lu Lingzhi kept talking about the interesting things that happened in the past few days, and only Yu Su agreed with her. Until then, Huan suddenly asked, Mom, are you coming back this time to marry my dad? Xiaoji and Jia froze for a moment, and asked unnaturally, who told you that? My classmates all said that my father is going to marry a queen. Isn't that you? Huan said with a happy face, that's good, our family will never be separated again. Xiaoji and Jia didn't know how to answer, so she could only change the subject. This is not something a child should be concerned about, just eat your meal obediently. Dad, are you going to marry my mom or not? Huan climbed down from the stool and lay on Liu Yuan's lap. Why don't you sit with Mom? Liu Yuan was also a little embarrassed. He rubbed her head but didn't know how to answer. If he lied to her, she would find out sooner or later. Your mother and I are not husband and wife, but we have a closer relationship than husband and wife. It doesn't prevent us from loving you. Liu Yuan picked her up and said, Huan, whether to marry your mother or not is a matter between me and your mother. You just need to remember one thing, your mother and I love you very much. Huan frowned, her face full of confusion. But why don't you get married? That's because mother doesn't want to marry your father. Xiaoji and Jia put down her bowl and chopsticks and said calmly, having you is enough for mother. If I marry your father, I will have brothers and sisters. In that case, mother will not have much energy to pay attention to you. Do you want that? Huan tilted her head and said, I can take care of my brothers and sisters too. Why don't I have brothers and sisters with daddy? I'd love them. Xiaoji and Jia was speechless. She had forgotten that her girl had always dreamed of having a younger brother or sister. Liu Yuan was also defeated by this little girl. Lu Lingzhi hugged the little girl and whispered a few words in her ear. The little girl was surprised and said, Auntie, is it true? Lu Lingzhi whispered, if you want brothers and sisters, you have to work hard. Leave it to me. Huan patted his chest, looking confident. Liu Yuan didn't know what his sister had said to Huan, and after that, the girl didn't mention the matter again. After finally finishing the meal, Honggu planned to talk to Liu Yuan, but she didn't expect to be pestered by Huan. Dad, tonight, you and Mom will sleep with Huan. Okay? This, Liu Yuan glanced at Xiaoji and Jia. Xiaoji and Jia forced herself to remain calm and said, it's not the first time, there's no need to hesitate. Liu Yuan glanced at Honggu again and said, I'll be back when the child falls asleep. It doesn't matter, just spend more time with the children. It doesn't matter if you don't come back. But she was very uneasy in her heart. It's not jealousy or hatred, but inferiority. Even though Suexiyue has recognized her, she is not relaxed about this matter. She even felt like she wasn't herself. Liu Yuan didn't think much about it, nodded, hugged her gently, and said, I'm sorry for wronging you. When the time comes, we can have a baby too. Honggu's body stiffened. She was not used to being so intimate with Liu Yuan in front of their elders. After returning to her room, she tossed and turned, unable to fall asleep. She didn't know when it started, but she had gotten used to having Liu Yuan around, instead of squatting in the corner like before. When Xiao Ji and Jia came back, she was not jealous. She wouldn't mind even if Liu Yuan found a few more women. As long as this person treats Liu Yuan sincerely and gives birth to children for Liu Yuan, that is enough. She just felt that she was not worthy of being the queen. She was under a lot of pressure and even began to suffer from insomnia. I don't know how much time had passed. She touched the bed in a daze, looked at the time again. It was already midnight. And he hadn't come back yet. I guess Liu Yuan won't come back. She stared at the ceiling and began to have wild thoughts. On the other side, in Princess Huan's room, Liu Yuan fell into a deep sleep. He was really too tired these days. There was a war outside and heavy official duties at home. After receiving the news yesterday, he almost didn't sleep all night. As soon as he touched the pillow, he fell into a deep sleep. Even Huan covered her ears. Daddy is so noisy. Xiao Ji and Jia looked at Liu Yuan's tired appearance and whispered, Dad is too tired. How about we go to the guest room to rest? No, just sleep here, Mom. Then you and Daddy spend more time with me in the future? Give me more brothers and sisters? You silly girl, why do you want a brother or sister so much? What good will it do you to give birth to them? Xiao Ji and Jia flicked her forehead in anger. Huan touched her forehead, a grieved lie. This way? Huan will have company. Although I have many friends at school, my grandma will accompany me when I go home, and my dad will let grandpa and his children come to our house. But Huan still wants more friends. If I had brothers and sisters, I wouldn't have so many worries. Xiao Ji and Jia suddenly felt ashamed. It turned out that this was the problem. The child grew up in the palace since she was a child. In order to protect her, very few people were allowed to come into contact with her. It's bad enough that he's been bullied since he was a child, but he also doesn't have many friends. After coming today, he became more cheerful and lively. Given Liu Yuan's status, it was naturally impossible for anyone to come in casually. The children of those ministers would come to the mansion every now and then, but they were all disciplined very strictly and it was impossible for them to play with this girl. She glanced at Liu Yuan and couldn't help but sigh. When Liu Yuan wanted to marry her, she didn't want to marry her. By the time she changed her words, a misunderstanding between them was already difficult to eliminate. You will have brothers and sisters in the future, Xiao Ji and Jia said. I know that Daddy will marry other concubines in the future, but I only want my own brothers and sisters. Huan whispered to Xiao Ji and Jia, Mom, I heard from others that as long as a man and a woman hold hands, they will get pregnant. You should hold Daddy's hand more often. Chapter 261, the same character as your father. Xiao Ji and Jia glared at her and couldn't help but pinch her pink cheeks. Stinky girl, who told you that? The teacher taught me, Huan said seriously. We have hygiene classes in our school. Huan knows how he came to be Mom. Huan didn't appear out of thin air in my belly. The teacher said that Mom and Dad have a good relationship, so they should hold hands and kiss each other. The more Xiao Ji and Jia listened, the more she felt something was wrong. Stop it, you little bitch, that's not a proper school. Why would they teach kids this? Did I say something wrong? Huan frowned. The teacher said that only by understanding these things can we better protect ourselves. Little girls should keep a distance from little boys. They can't hug each other or hold hands casually. Huan counted on her fingers and Xiao Ji and Jia listened very carefully. She only breathed a sigh of relief after hearing the latter part. It seems that the teacher really teaches the children to protect themselves. She was too embarrassed to talk about these things. In contrast, the child's eyes are clear and free of any distractions. The adult world is too complicated. Mom, I won't disturb you and Dad, the little girl said, and was about to climb down from the bed, but was held down by Xiao Ji and Jia. Don't leave, you stupid girl. For your brother and sister, you even betrayed your own mother? Daddy, save me. Save me. Xiao Ji and Jia was so angry that she laughed. She quickly covered her mouth and pretended to be vicious. If you wake up your father, I won't accompany you anymore. Huan was so scared that she shut her mouth and said with a bitter face, Mom, what do I want you to do in order to give birth to a brother or sister for me? Xiao Ji and Jia said angrily, do you really think your mother is a deity who can give birth to you out of thin air? If your father doesn't work hard, it will be in vain even if your mother works herself to death. Having said that, she turned around angrily and ignored him. If Liu Yuan hadn't fallen asleep, she wouldn't have dared to say such a thing. Seeing that she was angry, the little girl crawled to her side like a little worm and kissed Xiao Ji and Jia on the face with her little mouth. Mom, please. Please, can you and Daddy try harder? Xiao Ji and Jia was both angry and amused. You are a pure little rascal, just like your father. Mom, please. A little girl didn't know where she learned how to act like a spoiled child, and she used all the skills she had used on her father on Xiao Ji and Jia. Xiao Ji and Jia couldn't resist her nagging and coaxed her. Okay, it's getting late, go to bed, your brother and sister will come out soon. Really, Mom, please don't lie to me. Huan was so happy that she lay in the middle of the bed and laughed, as if she was looking forward to the scene after her younger brother or sister was born. But after the excitement, she felt tired. She pulled Xiao Jianjia's hand, and then pulled the hand of the sleeping Lu Yuan. The family of three succeeded and held each other tightly. With daddy and mommy accompanying us to sleep, Huan will no longer be afraid of the dark. Xiao Jianjia turned off the lights and felt Lu Yuan's warm hand. Her body stiffened. Soon, Huan fell asleep and a slight snoring sound could be heard. Xiao Jianjia was furious. This girl is just like that bastard. Not only does she not look like me, but she also doesn't have the same personality as me. It turned out that I was pregnant and I had raised her for nothing for so many years. She pulled the blanket and covered the child's belly. She wanted to let go, but found that her hands were already locked. If she tried to break free, it would easily wake up Lu Yuan. I simply closed my eyes and ignored him. But Huan's words kept echoing in my ears. And I was almost going crazy. The next morning, Xiao Jianjia suddenly woke up from a nightmare. After sitting up, she found that Lu Yuan was gone. Only Huan was gone. Only Huan was lying on the bed with her arms and legs spread out. She didn't know what sweet dream she'd had. Her little mouth was smacking, as if she was dreaming about eating something delicious. Xiao Jianjia smiled bitterly. Last night she dreamed of the civilians who died tragically outside the city. She dreamed that they were trying to kill her, and then she was beheaded by the enemy army with a single knife. The war brought her not only victory or defeat, but also lasting shadows and stress reactions. At this time, Lu Yuan had finished exercising, and Honggu handed him a bath towel, just like usual. What are your plans for today? Lu Yuan asked while wiping the sweat off his body. Honggu took out the schedule and said, this morning I will meet with the generals of the Holy King Army and the children of the Zhu family. Near noon, I will go to inspect the construction of the palace. After lunch break, Blind Shen will report to you on his work, and then on the expenses of the tourists stranded in these days. Lu Yuan took the ginseng soup from Liu Su, took a sip, and immediately felt much better. Tell my father that he will be in charge of the management of daytimes. A news about the Holy King Army, the Wang family, and the Zhu family joining day should be reported separately, and the picture of the Daqian national seal should be used as the cover of the next issue. After a while, Xiao Jianjia woke up and I asked her to come and see me. By the way, call Hong Mei over as well. After Lu Yuan gave some instructions, he went in to wash up. Not long after, Lu Yuan arrived at the office after Biaoyang City was promoted to Liangjing. The prefectural government office also became a temporary palace. There are also daily meetings of various sizes. But there is nothing much to do generally. There are small morning meetings, and each department holds a meeting separately. Finally, the heads of each department will come to Lu Yuan's office for a meeting, which can greatly improve efficiency. Therefore, Lu Yuan made a distinction between large and small court meetings. If it was a large court meeting, he would notify them in advance. Day has been established for such a long time, but there has only been one grand court meeting. But all departments are very busy and working around the clock. Streamlining the organization and processes will lead to efficient work efficiency. Lu Yuan does not need such a complicated and bloated system. While waiting for the various departments to present their plans, Suren walked into the office in small steps, bowed his head, and did not dare to look up at Lu Yuan the whole time. Get up, no need to be polite. Lu Yuan smiled. Thank you, Your Majesty. Zhu Ren stood straight, looking straight ahead, but he felt very nervous. Your Zhu family's intentions have been shown to me through practical actions, and I am very moved, Lu Yuan said with a smile. Thank you for your praise. Your Majesty, this is all part of the Zhu family's responsibility. Zhu Ren suppressed his excitement and said respectfully, it is the Zhu family's honor to be able to contribute to Your Majesty and A. Lu Yuan threw a pack of huizi over. Zhu Ren hurriedly took it and said flattered, thank you, Your Majesty, for the reward. I like down-to-earth people. I previously refused your joining because Day's rules and system are different from those of other countries. The military and politics of Daxia were separated. Dajing emphasized honors, and Daqian emphasized political parties. But they all have one thing in common, that is, aristocratic families are in power. We don't have any aristocratic families in Day, nor do we need any. If you want to join Day, I have to make things clear to you, to avoid any resentment in the future. If you just want to change your nationality, then Day, am not suitable for you. Chapter 262, Slap. He said the same thing to Wang Jingdi. After the Wang family moved to Liangjing, they were disbanded and arranged to live in various counties. Among them, the core figures of the royal family stayed in Liangjing. It is impossible to establish a huge royal family like Xiangbi. Zhu Ren was a little confused and said anxiously, Your Majesty, I am stupid, please give me some advice, but is there anything that the Zhu family has not done well? No, the Zhu family has done a great job from your brother Zhu Biadayu. The Zhu family has been determined to join Day. I am not targeting the Zhu family. Anyone who enters my Day, regardless of whether they are from an aristocratic family or dares to claim to be from an aristocratic family, will be killed without mercy. Those who form cliques for personal gain will be killed without mercy. Anyone who uses power to oppress others will be killed without mercy. Land cannot be bought and sold, and even if you become a king, you still have to pay taxes. If you want to have power over the world, be rich enough to rival a country, have countless fertile lands under your command, and have numerous powerful slaves willing to serve you, then I advise you to leave early. If you seize land, keep slaves, or try to rule by knowledge, it is a serious crime punishable by the death of your entire clan. Zhu Ren was so shocked that he was speechless. The Zhu family cannot be considered a 1,000-year-old family, but it has lasted for more than 300 years, which makes it considered a powerful family. If they don't own slaves and can't be local landlords, then what kind of powerful family are they? How to ensure the extravagant life of nearly 1,000 people in the Zhu family? The Wang family. There is no Wang family anymore, there are only the people with the surname Wang in Day. I have not touched the Wang family's property, but I have divided all the land equally, and all the slaves have been released and become free. They no longer have privileges. If you want to go into politics, you must pass the exam step by step, just like the children from poor families. If you want to do business, you must follow Day's rules. Seeing Zhu Ren's complicated expression, Li Yuan said, "So, go back and discuss it carefully. If you are optimistic about Day's future, come today with your whole family. If you want to be kings for generations, I won't stop you. Since you have made some great contributions today, I will let you go once if we meet on the battlefield in the future." Zhu Ren left the office in a daze. Xiao Jianjia looked at Zhu Ren, who was stumbling and felt a little nervous. "His Majesty is summoning you." Liu Su, holding a babosha, pushed open the door and motioned for them to go, and if these people made any unusual movements, Liu Su would send them to death. When the group entered the office, they all became inexplicably nervous. "Your Majesty." Everyone bowed to greet him. Li Yuan said calmly, "No need to be polite, please take a seat." After everyone sat down, Lu Yuan said, "Although I agreed to accept you yesterday, the number of the Holy King army cannot be retained. As for whether some of your generals are qualified, it remains to be discussed. Therefore the Holy King army will be disbanded and become ordinary citizens of Day. If they have families, they will be allocated 3-bedroom apartments. But this house is only rented to them temporarily, and they need to pay a certain rent every month. Then why are the houses allocated to other people directly? This is unfair." Qi Jiyue said angrily, "You are treating them differently." "Qi Jiyue, shut up!" Xiao Jianjia shouted angrily. Li Yuan took out a cigarette and lit it slowly. "I haven't finished speaking yet, is it your turn to interrupt? I provided you with shelter, do I owe you? If you don't accept it, get out of Day. If you dare to say anything more, you will die." Xiao Podeo stood up and slapped Qi Jiyue hard on the face. Bang! In an instant, a clear slap mark appeared on Qi Jiyue's face, which made Qi Jiyue stunned. "You think you are right just because you speak loudly? His Majesty is willing to accept us because of Lord Lu's face, not because of how important your watermelon is, understand? Kneel down and kowtow to His Majesty and admit your fault." After saying this, Xiao Podeo knelt on the ground and said, "Your Majesty, I have been spoiled since I was a child. I am arrogant and spoiled. I am also wrong, please punish me and don't involve other people in this matter." Li Yuan didn't say anything. Xiao Podeo slapped Qi Jiyue hard on the head again. "Evil creature, kneel down quickly." Qi Jiyue was also frightened. In the past, no matter how angry Xiao Podeo was, he would just scare her. "I would never beat her so cruelly like I do now." Plop. Qi Jiyue knelt on the ground and kowtowed, "Your Majesty, I have committed an insubordination. Please forgive me even if you kill me, I will sincerely obey you, please do not implicate other people." She also calmed down and thought that Lu Yuan still doted on Xiao Jianjia as before. "If you still can't figure out the situation now, no one will dare to say anything if you die here, and it will even implicate everyone." Xiao Jianjia gritted her teeth and knelt on the ground. "As their leader, I failed to control them, the fault lies with me. Your Majesty, please punish me." Immediately afterwards, everyone knelt down. Even Ma and Bao knelt down with a dejected look and lay on the ground, not knowing what he was thinking. "Slap yourself in the face." Li Yuan exhaled a smoke. Qi Jiyue didn't say anything, but just raised his hand and slapped himself on the mouth again and again, and he was very hard after just a few slaps. His mouth was swollen. The loud voice echoed throughout the office. Everyone saw this scene, but no one dared to plead for mercy. If Li Yuan doesn't calm down, they will be deported at any time or even die in Day. And casually asking for mercy would inevitably anger Lu Yuan again. Qi Jiyue didn't know how many times he slapped himself. He only knew that his face was numb and blood splattered every time he slapped himself. A piercing pain made her sweat profusely and her vision went dark. Xiao Pueo sighed and felt pain in her heart, but she also understood that if she Gua continued, she would die sooner or later, so it would be better to teach her a lesson so that she would remember it. Just as Shi Jiyue was about to faint, Li Yuan spoke up. Stop. Shi Jiyue was in a daze for a moment, thinking that he had misheard, and he continued to slap himself in the face mechanically. Thank you, Your Majesty, for your grace. Xiao Pueo quickly grabbed Shi Jiyue's hand and kowtowed repeatedly. Shi Jiyue was now completely unrecognizable, with blood all over his mouth. Thank you, Your Majesty, for your mercy. Everyone kowtowed. Thank you, Your Majesty. Li Yuan didn't say anything, and didn't even let them get up. He just continued. The monthly rent for public housing is very low. Only about 50 yuan in a year. The cost is less than 1 or 2 tiles of silver. If you live in day for 10 years and behave yourself without getting into trouble, you will get the ownership of the house and will no longer have to pay any rent. The reason why rent is collected now is that the population of Day is gradually increasing. In order to ensure the lives of every citizen, special public rental housing has been set up. You can refer to the houses in those communities in Day. The public rental housing will not be much worse than them. Even if they rent the property for 10 years, they won't be able to recover even a third of the cost. This is Liangjing, a place where every inch of land is worth a lot of money. A house is worth a lot of money on the black market. I can live in a house like this with only 600 yuan a year in rent. I deserve it from everyone. Chapter 263, Etiquette and Law Issues. Everyone was in a trance. They entered Day and without making any contribution. Ordinary people could get a house. A monthly rent of 50 yuan is actually equivalent to a monthly rent of 50 cents, which is an extremely low rent and is no different from giving it away for free. Collecting rent is more like a reminder to these people to be down to earth and not to commit crimes. Looking at the 3 kingdoms, which country can do this? Your Majesty is wise. Xiao Jianjia couldn't help but admire him. She said this not to flatter him but from the bottom of her heart. Xiao Pueo and others also echoed, Your Majesty is wise. Imo didn't care about their compliments at all. Xiao Jianjia, you will follow Hong Mei in a while. She is the principal of the military medical school and her position is the division commander. You need to go to the military medical school for further studies before you can serve as the commander of the military medical battalion. The position is currently a battalion level officer. Do you have any objections? Your humble servant has no objection. Xiao Jianjia originally thought that it would be difficult to accept becoming a vassal, but the reality was easier than she thought. Li Yuan nodded and said to Xia Hong Mei beside him, I will leave her to you. Yes. Your Majesty. Xia Hong Mei bowed respectfully. Xiao Pueo, Tao Zi. Anana, you will be assigned to various factory positions at random, Li Yuan said. All the women were stunned. Xiao Pueo's heart sank, and she pretended to be brave enough to ask, Your Majesty, I am so brave. Why don't you let us join the army? Want to join the army? Sure, take the exam. Li Yuan said, in Day, whether male or female, everyone can change their life by taking the exam. But before that, you must go to work in the factory, no discussion. Xiao Pueo's eyes dimmed. Yes, thank you for your grace. Li Yuan was on guard against these secret guards. She arranged them to go to the factory to temper their character. Where is the military medical camp? It is a place where one can come into contact with various medicines, including poisons. There are some people in the Holy King's army who are unwilling to submit. Putting them in such an important position as the military medical camp, or letting them join the army, who knows whether they will retaliate against Day. Monkeys, camels, bulls. You guys will also be randomly assigned to work as big screws in the factory and on the assembly line. A group of people knelt on the ground. Thank you, Your Majesty. They knew that Li Yuan intended to separate them. Liangjing is so big and they all have their own jobs in the future, so it would be difficult for them to get together. But they have no power to resist and can only accept it. Jidadan, I heard that you are brave and capable, and you can study in the military academy. Jidadan was delighted. This military academy sounded very high class. Thank you, Your Majesty. But everyone was puzzled as to why they were not qualified to join the army, while Jidadan was qualified to enter the military academy for further studies. But no one dared to ask. As for you, Xiaoji, Li Yuan's eyes moved slowly. I remember that your original dream was to teach. Xiaoji lowered his head, feeling extremely ashamed, and dared not look him in the eye. I never thought that Your Majesty still remembered my dream. But my country is broken, so I have given up writing and joined the army. You are not suitable for military service. You have neither the courage of a general nor the physique of a fierce general. Go to Day College for further study. When you have completed your studies, you can devote yourself to teaching and educating people. Even if the mountains and rivers are broken, this world still needs someone to mend it. Xiaoji's eyes were red. My father was captured, but I can't do anything. I'm really not worthy of being a general. Your father is still alive. I will save him if I have a chance, but I dare not guarantee it. If I can't save him, then it's his fate, Lu Yuan said lightly. Thank you. Your Majesty, my father and I owe you a lot, and I will never be able to repay you in this lifetime, Xiaoji choked. Lu Yuan nodded. Among so many people, Xiaoji was the most sensible. If his surname was not Xiao, Lu Yuan would definitely focus on training him. Ma Xin Bao. I'm here. Ma Xin Bao quickly lay on the ground. Huan Huan said that you treat her very well in the future. You should serve Huan Huan well and stay with her all the time if there is any mistake. I will never let you off easily, Lu Yuan said in a deep voice. Ma Xin Bao looked at Lu Yuan in disbelief. He thought Lu Yuan would make him an ordinary citizen. He had treated him so badly before that it was only natural for him to be put to death. But he didn't expect that Lu Yuan would actually let him take care of Huan Huan. He entered the palace at a young age and had been serving in the palace since he could remember later. He was awarded by the old emperor to Emperor Shenzong, who was still a prince, and then served Xiaoji and Jiao and her daughter. He has taken care of the Xiao family all his life. It would be better for him to die than to be an ordinary person. Your Majesty has a broad mind and is a sage monarch. I will do my best to take good care of the little princess if the little princess is hurt in the slightest. I will bring my head to you, Ma Xin Bao said with red eyes. Lu Yuan nodded. He didn't have eunuchs around him, so he wasn't too confident in letting others serve Huan Huan. There is no doubt that Ma Xin Bao loves children. Everyone go down, Lu Yuan said. After everyone left, Lu Yuan went back to supervising the construction of the palace. He found it too annoying, mainly because he had too few people available. Over the years, he had trained many generals, but talents in internal affairs were scarce. When Cao Wei and Hu took office, there were only a handful of people available around him. While the foundation is too thin. My father is too idle. I need to give him more support. Ongu, leave all future supervision matters to my father. Ongu was speechless. If you have anything else to arrange, just tell me. Lu Yuan sighed. My father is good at domestic affairs, but he is the emperor emeritus. I can't use my father as prime minister. According to etiquette, my father should be the emperor first, and then it should be my turn. This is only because my father doesn't bother with me. If it were someone else, he would have already scolded me for being unfilial all over the world. Lu Yuan was glad that he had a good father. It was also because the country was established too hastily that this point was indeed neglected. This resulted into emperors ruling the country as soon as day was established. A normal order should be that old Lu ascends the throne and then abdicates, which is reasonable and in line with the will of heaven. But at this moment, it is not justifiable according to etiquette and law. Lu Yuan was also very troubled and wanted to solve this problem. It is impossible to give up power again. Day has just started, and if he follows the old-fashioned way, it will be easy to get into trouble. And he has a younger brother. He was not on guard against Lu Yong, but there would always be speculators who would take unconventional paths. He didn't want any rift to arise between the brothers. Therefore, he could only give Lao Lu as much power as possible. Arranging him to work in daytimes and be responsible for supervising the construction of the palace is a prestigious and powerful thing. However, Lu Yuan was unsure and still had to have a good talk with old Lu to avoid any rift between father and son. After the supervision was finished, Lu Yuan took advantage of his lunch break to adjust himself and said, "Call Blind Chen over." Soon, Blind Chen came in with a few people and bowed. "Your Majesty, I pay my respects to you. It has been 3 years since we last met. But you are still as energetic as ever. You are truly a blessing today." Chapter 264. No one can show off their personality in front of me. Your Majesty, I have brought some good things this time. I guarantee you will like them. Facing Lu Yuan, Blind Chen was not too restrained. Lu Yuan smiled and said, "Don't keep me in suspense. What good stuff is that?" "Dragon Tiger Golden Pill. This is a real Taoist pill that I have spent a lot of effort to get." Blind Chen took out a rosewood box from his arms and opened it. Inside was a round and smooth pill. When Yu Su presented it, Lu Yuan was horrified. Could it be made of lead and mercury? That's the external golden elixir method. It can easily kill people. Blind Chen explained hurriedly. It is made with several kinds of tonic medicines, some of which are already extinct. So they are very precious. After taking it, not only can it prolong your life, it can definitely strengthen your body and replenish your vital energy. It also has a certain ability to remove toxicity after taking it. Mosquitoes will not bite you and poison will not harm you. Lu Yuan trusted Blind Chen very much. When he first came to Biaoyang, he was just a weak scholar. Even though he followed Honggu to strengthen his body, he was already past the age to learn martial arts and his bones had stopped developing. It was Blind Chen who got him all kinds of medicine to help him build the foundation. The so-called foundation building is not the foundation for becoming an immortal, but the foundation for stabilizing his essence. This allowed him to become as strong as a macho man in just a few years. And his strength also increased significantly. Moreover, Blind Chen is a man of real ability. His real name is Chen Xiu. According to him, he was extremely handsome back then and charmed countless senior and junior classmates. 6 years ago, Li Yuan came to Bialiang, just in time for the barbarian soldiers to enter the country. It was Blind Chen who led a group of Taoists to resist the barbarians and save the people. Don't be fooled by his ugly appearance, he is actually the leader of the Dragon and Tiger sect. He came down from the mountain to save the world only because of the chaos in the world. He also saved Lu Yuan after calculating Lu Yuan's fortune. He said that Lu Yuan was the destined overlord. And he followed Lu Yuan wholeheartedly. Looking at Blind Chen with a face full of expectation, Lu Yuan didn't think much and directly stuffed the pill into his mouth. The amazing thing is that this pill is so big that it melts when you take a sip with your tongue. It leaves a sweet taste in your mouth and flows down your esophagus. A cool feeling emanates from your body, which makes Lu Yuan excited. What a good pill! Your Majesty has been over-involved in state affairs lately. You must make sure to get enough rest. No matter how good the medicine is, it can only replenish what you have acquired. Once your innate foundation is depleted, even the best medicine will be difficult to replenish, Blind Chen reminded. Li Yuan nodded. Knowing that Blind Chen was doing this for his own good, I will keep it in mind. Blind Chen breathed a sigh of relief. He liked this point about Lu Yuan. His restraint and moderation. He was not surprised at all that Lu Yuan could achieve great things. This return today further proved his idea. After asking about his well-being, Lu Yuan said, "You're back just in time. I'm almost too busy to handle everything. Pick a few capable disciples from among yours to assist me." Blind Chen is actually the top leader of the Special Forces Battalion, one level higher than Liu Su. Over the years, he has been in charge of intelligence work. From Daxia to Dajing Zi to Daqian, the intelligence system of the Three Kingdoms was almost entirely established by Blind Chen. Moreover, every time a group was formed, he would withdraw immediately and never interfere. He was one of the few people that Li Yuan could trust. That's easy. The main reason I came back this time is that Daqian's intelligence network has been laid out. Not only that, I also found a talent on the way back. Your Majesty may be interested in him. Oh, picked up a talented person? Li Yuan was curious. Blind Chen did not keep the audience in suspense and told the whole story. Li Yuan smacked his lips and said, "So fierce, he can survive being chased by so many cavalrymen. This boy is indeed born with courage and strength. I have calculated his fortune and found him to be a lucky star and a general. If he can be used by your Majesty, he will be even more powerful." Li Yuan is in need of talent right now, but before meeting Xiao Yanlong, he asked, "How's the Sword Saint doing?" "A person hasn't come back yet, so it's unknown for now," Blind Chen said truthfully. There are still many talented people in this world, and Lu Yuan is not so arrogant as to think he is the best in the world. Then let's meet Xiao Yanlong. It is even more amazing to fight 1 against 100, especially against cavalry armed with muskets. If such a powerful general could be used by one's own men, wouldn't he be able to kill them all at once? Soon, Xiao Yanlong came in. Li Yuan's eyes suddenly lit up. This man was tall. Probably 8 feet tall, or more than 1 meter 9, a little taller than Lu Yuan. The monkey-like back, slim waist and long arms are particularly eye-catching. Although his face was pale due to injury, he gave people a sense of heaviness, which made people feel good about him at first sight. A person suddenly flashed through Lu Yuan's mind. Fuck, isn't this Xiao Zilong in the world? Xiao Long. Come quickly and meet His Majesty, Blind Chen said with a smile. Xiao Yanlong was not opposed to this title. He knelt on one knee, clasped his fists and said, "I, Xiao Yanlong, pay my respects to His Majesty the Emperor of Day." Seeing him kneeling on one knee, Lu Yuan couldn't help but smile and said, "Get up." "Thank you, Your Majesty." After Xiao Yanlong stood up, he kept looking at Lu Yuan. He was very curious about Lu Yuan. Although Lu Yuan was the emperor, he was dressed in casual clothes. This office was not magnificent, and even looked very simple in his eyes. Even the study of Prince Yu's son Xiaochu was more than 10 times more luxurious than his room. Lu Yuan is very handsome, with clear black and white eyes that are very deep, as if nothing can be hidden in front of him. He is younger than me, but he can achieve such a great feat with his bare hands. It is really amazing. I have also heard about your story. I long for talents and appreciate talents, but I am also very picky, Li Yuan said inferently. I heard that you can fight 100 people alone. Can you let me see it? My martial arts are for killing people, not for entertainment. Xiao Yanlong thought of the years in Prince Yu's mansion. Whenever there were guests, Prince Yu would ask him to dance with swords and perform music to please the guests. So he vowed never to sell his martial arts and loyalty cheaply again. I thought Li Yuan was extraordinary, but now it seems that he is just so-so. Are you unwilling or afraid? Li Yuan asked. I don't want to. Xiao Yanlong shook his head. Li Yuan said calmly, you have been brought up in the Yuwang mansion since you were a child, but you are not taken seriously. I am willing to meet you and give you a chance for the sake of Blind Chen. Martial arts are just a stepping stone for a person to advance. Whether you can be reused depends on your personal ability. Now I understand why you were not taken seriously. Even if you have martial power, it is only brute force. Xiao Yunlong raised his eyebrows. Your Majesty, do you think that common people are rare and valuable? Not really. Li Yuan shook his head. There are so many talented people in this world, but there are also many talented people who are more humble and work harder than you. Even if you are a god from heaven, you still need to show your courage. If you want to lead troops into battle and go down in history, you need to show your best side. Instead of trying to pose and show off your personality here in front of me. You can't even put your own identity in a proper place, so why would anyone want to use you? Chapter 265. He looks like my brother. Blind Chen glanced at Xiao Yunlong but did not speak for him. This kid is capable, but perhaps because he has been unsuccessful in Prince Yu's palace for too long. He is extremely arrogant in his heart. If he is not allowed to put his identity in the right perspective, he will only be a second-rate general with only brute force in his life. Xiao Yunlong was stunned. Then said angrily, gold will always shine. If gold falls into yellow mud, how many people can tell it apart? Li Yuan threw a bag of huizi to Blind Chen. Blind Chen was overjoyed as if he had found a treasure. He opened the box, then happily picked up a cigarette and started puffing away. Third-rate military commanders have a high opinion of themselves, are blind and arrogant. Second-rate military commanders are loyal but do not know how to judge people. First-rate military commanders are loyal, have vision, have the ability to execute, and are humble and low-key. As for Shui Kai, he may not be the best in martial arts, but he must be all-round. When you are nothing, what qualifications do you have to negotiate with me? Even if you are my master, you have no right to act arrogantly in front of me. Li Yuan shook his head and said, being well-versed in human nature is a skill, but you are still far from that in my eyes. You are at most a third-rate general. I don't want a person like you at all. Xiao Yunlong was stunned, because no one had ever said such words to him. He lowered his head and subconsciously wanted to refute, but was Li Yuan wrong? No, Blind Chen, it seems that you have made a mistake this time, Li Yuan said. Blind Chen sighed, people make mistakes, horses stumble, and since this guy is unwilling to serve your majesty, then I don't want him either. He looked at Xiao Yunlong and said, let's go, Li Dai. I have only one request, don't become an enemy of Dai in the future. That will be considered as your repayment of the favor. If you dare to harm Dai, I will kill you. Master, Xiao Yunlong was anxious. What do you mean by, His Majesty wants to test your strength. Why are you being so reserved here? Who was smiling just now had a stern face, his eyes full of disappointment. You have been in Prince Yu's mansion for so long, but you don't even know the most basic etiquette. No wonder you are bullied so badly. You are in this situation entirely because of yourself. You can't blame others. Xiao Yunlong gritted his teeth and said, I have been entertaining others in Prince Yu's mansion for too long. I don't want to practice martial arts for many years to please others. You haven't done anything yet. So how can you be respected by others? Just because you are the disciple of the Sword Saint? I tell you, the reputation of the Sword Saint doesn't work in Dai. If one wants to establish himself and make a name for himself in troubled times, how many people would do so without enduring hardships and suffering? In my old days, I was from a very poor family. In order to have a full meal, I kowtowed from the foot of Longbu Mountain to outside the mountain gate. Since you need to eat and can't stand being angry, then just go and live in seclusion in the mountains. Why bother coming out into the world? So stupid. Xiao Yunlong suddenly came to his sense. She knew that both Li Yuan and Blind Chen were telling the truth. Only mean people are sweet-mouthed but have evil intentions. Whap! Xiao Yunlong knelt on the ground and said, I am ignorant. Your Majesty, please give me another chance. If he leaves Dai, he may never meet an emperor as frank as Li Yuan, or a senior as sincere to him as Blind Chen. No chance. Li Yuan shook his head. If you don't seize the opportunity given to you, you can't blame others. Xiao Yunlong was extremely anxious. Your Majesty, please give me another chance. I am willing to show you everything I have learned throughout my life. I'm not interested, but there's one guard missing downstairs. If you're willing to stay, you can stand guard. If you don't want to, the door is behind you, Li Yuan said. Gatekeeper, standing guard, this is worse than being in Prince Yu's palace. But Xiao Yunlong did not stand up angrily. Because Li Yuan had already given him one chance, but he did not seize it. I am willing to stay and stand guard for your Majesty. Liu Su. Ask him to report to the gatekeeper. He has to stand guard from today on. If he doesn't do his job well, he will be fired. Let him leave. Li Yuan waved his hand. No matter how good a talent is, he has to be obedient. The Dai platform is bright enough and can attract many talents as long as he is willing. Yes, your Majesty. Liu Su looked at Xiao Yunlong coldly. Follow me. Thank you, your Majesty. Xiao Yunlong's mouth was full of bitterness. If he had behaved well just now, why would he have to do this? Just as Taoist Chen said, what happened to him today was entirely caused by him. After Xiao Yunlong left, Blind Chen said, "This kid is capable, he can throw the 200 Jin millstone. I have also tested him on military tactics. The Sword Saint is indeed training him as his last disciple. It is also because King Yu did not know the value of a piece of jade, he did not polish such a rough jade properly and let it be covered in dust. And you can polish it for me." Li Yuan smiled, and then looked at the disciples behind Blind Chen. "You guys have been traveling around for so long. So stay in Liangjing and report to the 6 ministries." Several people also knelt down hurriedly to express their gratitude. "And I will stay at home and not come out from now on." "Why? Are you tired?" "I have done what I should do. Could it be that your majesty is still willing to let me, an old man, travel around the country?" Blind Chen immediately pretended to be miserable. "It's so miserable when it rains. My whole body aches and I can't even get out of bed. I intend to make Dragon Tiger Dao the state religion, and you will be the state teacher. A still lacks an imperial observatory, and without you, I will hastily establish the state. Next up is the coronation ceremony and the wedding. You should calculate the date for me, right?" Blind Chen said, embarrassed, "Lie, your majesty's words are golden. If you say a good day, it will be that day. However, since your majesty values it so much, I think I can hold on for another 1 or 2 years. Not reluctantly. No, I haven't been a national teacher yet. Let me satisfy my curiosity first." Blind Chen laughed. Li Yuan pointed at him and said, "You old blind man, you have more cunning eyes than anyone else." He didn't think that Blind Chen was really greedy for the position of imperial master. Saying so would only make Li Yuan think that he had weaknesses. People like Blind Chen are true hermits who take it as their mission to save the dying and the wounded and uphold justice. He is not even afraid of death, so why would he care about these false reputations? Blind Chen smiled frivolously. "Only by following a wise leader can you have a clear vision." Li Yuan shook his head. "Go ahead. If you really have official business, I won't joke with you anymore. I will take my leave." Blind Chen came and left quickly, and his carefree attitude made Li Yuan very envious. Li Yuan looked at the time. "It's been a busy day, I can go home after listening to the report." He turned his head to look at Honggu beside him, but found that there were tears in the corners of Honggu's eyes. He was startled. "What's wrong?" Honggu covered her face and suddenly squatted on the ground and burst into tears, confusing Li Yuan. "Why are you crying? Did something happen? That person looks so familiar. He looks like my brother." Chapter 266. One shot into the soul. "Who? Xiao Yunlong?" Li Yuan picked her up and put her on his lap. In his impression, Honggu was an extremely strong woman, the type who would not frown even if she was seriously injured. She was crying so hard that his heart ached. "Yes. He really looks like me. When I saw him, I couldn't help but want to cry." Honggu covered her face and cried breathlessly. While comforting her, Li Yuan took out a sketch from the drawer. The sketch shows a little boy about 10 years old. This is the brother drawn based on Honggu's narration. Honggu's brother's real name is Zhu Onli. The names of the brother and sister together mean a dot of red across a vast expanse of white snow. If you look closely, he does look somewhat similar to Xiao Yunlong. When Honggu's family was broken up and she was separated from her brother, Zhu Onli should have been around 10 years old. No matter how his appearance changed at that age, he could still be seen as a child. Of course, after so many years, Honggu's memory may have been distorted. However, human intuition is very accurate, and Xiao Yunlong was adopted by the Sword Saint since he was a child. As long as we can find out who his parents were before they adopted Xiao Yunlong, we can follow the clues and uncover the truth. Be good, don't cry no matter whether he is your brother or not, let's investigate it first. Li Yuan kept wiping her tears. "He is, I can feel it, he is it. Why didn't he recognize me? Did he forget me? Or did he forget to avenge his parents?" Honggu was very sad. She had been wandering in the world since she was a child, and had suffered a lot. She had been hurt more than the candies she had eaten. Looking for her brother and searching for enemies had been going on for half of her life. How could she not be sad? Silly Honggu, you were only 6 years old when you separated from your eldest brother. You were just beginning to remember things then, and your childishness hadn't even faded away. Now you've changed so much and become so beautiful. How dare he recognize you so easily? Li Yuan held her face and said, "So? Don't waste your energy. I'll investigate this matter thoroughly." "Okay, I'll listen to you." Honggu was so confused at this moment that she had no idea what to do. Li Yuan stroked her back gently and fell into thought. On the other side, Xiaoqiu came to Nanshan and met the Sword Saint. "I was very nervous. Although the old man in front of me is over 70 years old, he has a youthful face and is in good spirits. His body was not very tall, but he gave people a sense of oppression, especially his eyes that were so ordinary that they couldn't be more ordinary. Once he looked into his eyes, he felt as if everything about himself was seen through. Junior Xiao Jiou pays homage to Senior Sword Saint. Xiao Jiou bowed deeply to the sword saint, who did not dodge but accepted the bow generously. Prince Xiao has come from afar. I apologize for not welcoming you. The sword master said this, but he didn't even bother to stand up. He glanced around and said, my useless apprentice didn't come. What happened? Xiao Tzu's heart skipped a beat. And he wondered how the sword saint knew that? Thinking of this, Xiaoku's face showed sadness. He knelt on the ground with a plop, revealing the word filial piety on his arm. I am incompetent and failed to take good care of Yanlong, so Yanlong was killed by thieves. I am here to report the death on my father's orders. Looking at the urn of ashes in Xiaoku's arms, the sword saint was neither happy nor sad. My apprentice, although dull, has great martial arts skills. Although he has not yet reached the peak, he has reached the level of killing hundreds of people. Ordinary enemies are no match for him. When he went down the mountain, I also gave him a BMW. The horse grew up in killing and has a very sensitive sixth sense. It can warn of ordinary traps in advance. I don't believe he is dead. Xiaochu was horrified. Senior sword saint, listen to me. The people who killed Brother Yunlong were indeed ordinary in martial arts, but they had powerful weapons. Even if Brother Yunlong is invincible, it is difficult to fight him. The sword master said calmly, the powerful weapons you mentioned, could it be the firearms of Biao Yang? Senior, do you also know about Biao Yang's firearms? The sword saint pulled out a spear from under the table and pointed it at Xiao Di. Xiao Di was so frightened that he quickly dodged. Senior, don't point the spear at anyone. It's too dangerous. This firearm is indeed powerful. Almost no one can dodge it within 100 meters. But my apprentice has a life-saving inner armor, and this firearm cannot hurt his vital parts, the sword saint said lightly. Xiao Di was so angry that he cursed in his heart. But his face became more and more sad. Does senior sword saint think that I am lying? Brother Yelong came to Prince Yu's mansion when he was 15 years old. He and I grew up together and we are as close as brothers. My father even regarded him as his own son, treating him the same as the crown prince in the mansion, and always keeping him by his side to teach him. The sword master showed no joy or sadness. He just picked up the silk cloth and gently wiped the gun. My apprentice is not dead, so you don't have to wear mourning. Xiaochu was so confused that he asked, Senior, if you don't believe me, do you not believe my father? As he said this, he took out the letter from his arms and said, please take a look at it, Senior. The sword master opened the envelope and glanced at the contents. When he saw the lock of hair in his heart, he couldn't help but laugh. Cutting off hair in exchange for life. Your father is really courageous. Father said that no matter what, we will find the real murderer who killed Brother Yunlong. Please rest assured, Senior. If you don't believe it, I am willing to stay and serve the sword saint. Xiaochu thought to himself, I have done this. You should believe it, right? My father wanted to coax the sword saint out of seclusion, not only because of his abilities and the forces under his command, but more importantly, he was the 15th generation grandson of King Jingyang in terms of seniority. He was the uncle of Emperor Shenzong. This was also the secret his father told him quietly. The sword master loved fighting since he was a child. He left the Jingyang palace at the age of 16, was invincible in Jiandan at the age of 18, and was invincible in Daqian at the age of 24. After refusing to inherit the throne of Jingyang, he left Daqian and fought from Dajing all the way to Diaxio at the age of 40. He was invincible in the central plain. She attained enlightenment in Nanshan. The Green Forest Masters, who had fought all over the world in those days, all lived in seclusion in Nanshan and followed him. No one knows how many followers the sword master has. My father only said that it is a very powerful force. No need, I already know who the real murderer of my apprentice is. The sword saint looked at Xiao Di, who was kneeling below, and smiled. It's your father, right? Xiaochu looked at that smile and was shocked. Then a chill rushed from the soles of his feet to the top of his head, almost making his body stiff. Senior, please stop joking. We are a family. My father values Brother Yunlong so much. How could he kill him? You can't accuse a good person. Xiao Tzu suppressed the shock in his heart. His hand had already reached into his arms, grasping a grenade. Really? The sword master smiled faintly, then quickly pulled the bolt and pulled the trigger before Xiaoku could react. Bang! Xiaochu was shot in the forehead. The shock on his face froze, his eyes were still blurry, his pupils dilated, and he fell forward heavily. The sword master looked at the corpse and his smile faded. My disciple has worked like a slave in your house for 15 years. How can you respect him? Chapter 267. Breaking up. There are few people in this world who can deceive him. In the early years, he traveled all over the country and was invincible. Was it really because of the sword in his hand? If he didn't have a pair of sharp eyes, he would have been beheaded to death long ago. The reason why Xiao Yanlong was sent to Prince Yu's palace was because Prince Yu's ancestors had done favors for Prince Jingyang's palace. He has been seeking truth for many years. And to achieve the truth he wants, he must cut off everything. That's why he let Xiao Yanlong work for him, and it's also to give the kid a chance to prove himself. Does King Yu really think he is a fool for not sending people to keep an eye on them? That was his only disciple. He was already waiting here when Xiao Tzu hadn't arrived yet. Immediately afterwards, the sound of fighting was heard outside, but it stopped after a short while. A hairless man walked in. Master, everything is settled. I've been in Nanshan for so many years it's time for me to go out for a walk. I have to sever some ties myself. The sword saint sighed. Find a way to find that child. If he's alive, I must find him. If he's dead, I must find his body. Yes, master. The man stepped back and took Xiao Tzu's body away. Immediately afterwards, the sword stood up, and the aura of his whole body was like a sharp sword drawn from its sheath. Even his robes moved without wind. On the other hand, the news of the coalition forces' disastrous defeat had spread throughout the north. The huge Jingwan at the main road entrance of Shuitan County frightened the spies from all sides. King Yu and King Xin met again. They smoked silently and looked at their sons and generals kneeling below, and they were also very angry. The joint forces of the two governments lost 200,000 men, and Xiao Hu felt extremely hurt. The most important thing was that he was facing off against Dai. Not only did he not catch the empress, but he also got into trouble. He conquered a lot of territory, but who the hell dared to take it? Dad, we didn't expect Dai to come so soon. We have been working day and night, Xiaoan said with a bitter face. You still have the nerve to complain, Xiao Hu cursed. 1,300,000 people can even take over a small Shuitan county. Are you pigs? Even if 100 pigs were to ram the city wall, they would still break it down. Brother Yu Wang, calm down. Even if we kill them now, it will not help, Xiao Chuan said in a deep voice. Shuitan County is easy to attack. But the Zhu family coalition suddenly arrived and delayed the process. Then what do you say we should do? Shuitan County is empty, and the empress has gone today. Do you dare to go today to support the king? The coalition forces lost 500,000 men over there. Do you think this war can still be fought? Only 20,000 or 30,000 people killed a 1,000,000-man army and made them lose their armor and helmets. It's shameful. Xiao Hu clapped his hands, gritting his teeth in hatred. Xiaoan lay on the ground, not daring to even raise his head. Xiao Xun sneered secretly. If Xiaoan hadn't been so incompetent and blocked his men, the empress would have captured him long ago. What's the point of talking after the fact now? Alright, now that things have come to this, can we still turn the tide? Xiao Chuan was also a little angry. Now that the empress has entered Dai, this means that the empress has probably become Lu Yuan's puppet a long time ago. We were just fooled by Lu Yuan. There are two options now. Either find a way to resolve the conflict with Dai, or, while the coalition forces are still there, attack Dai. After hearing this, Xiao Hu lost his temper instantly. Can we win? If we can't even defeat a sneak attack, what can we use to fight? We have to resolve this matter. Xiao Chuan suppressed his anger and said. If the coalition forces lose, there's no guarantee that Dai won't settle the score later. Xiao Hu shrank in his chair and said angrily, then send someone to Dai to explain. What will the coalition forces think when they find out? So we can't make this too obvious. Even at this time, Xiao Chuan was still trying to please both sides. Do you think Lu Yuan is a pig? Xiao Hu said. And what do you say we should do? Xiao Chuan couldn't bear it any longer and slammed the table in anger. Seeing Xiao Chuan slamming the table, Xiao Hu also flew into a rage. If you can't do it, then don't do it. Everyone should rely on their own abilities. After getting up, he kicked Xiaoan hard. Useless trash. Why are you still kneeling? Get back now. Xiaoan got up from the ground, feeling extremely embarrassed. Xiao Hu's departure with his men meant that the two governments had completely broken up. On the way back, Xiaoan couldn't help but ask, Dad, is it appropriate for us to break up with Prince Xin's mansion now? Then you take the blame? Xiao Hu glanced at him. Xiaoan smiled bitterly. How could he carry it on his back? It is a fact that we lost the war, and it is also a fact that the empress is a puppet. Lu Yuan has made a big plan. As long as the empress asks Dai for help, he can openly send troops to invade Daqian, and we will be the first to bear the brunt. Xiao Chuan is still trying to please both sides. Do you think Lu Yuan is a fool? He just said he won't fight? I would rather attack Bianjing than attack Dai. You mean? We should. It's just as you thought. We can forget about the north, but there is still a chance for Bianjing. If it doesn't work, we'll just leave. Since he couldn't defeat Dai or Bianjing, he would invade the small country. So many people under my belt, where can't I make a fortune? There are hundreds of Western Yi countries, where can't they settle down? Xiaoan was also secretly shocked. He didn't expect that his father was so afraid of Dai. But who wouldn't be afraid? Until now he dared not think back to that battlefield. It was too tragic. No matter what decision Dad makes, I will support him. The news of the defeat spread like wildfire and also reached Dajing. Wu Sheng was stunned for more than a moment as he watched the sparse remaining soldiers return. He couldn't believe it and asked, how could this happen? General, we lost so unfairly. Yu Ju's brother Liu Emu knelt on the ground and cried as he recounted the battle. At the beginning, the coalition army advanced triumphantly and besieged the empress in Shuitan County. Although the resistance was fierce, victory was in sight at the critical moment. The Zhou family's coalition forces of more than 100,000 attacked from behind and severely damaged the army, which caused problems with the rhythm of the attack. After repelling the enemy, they were about to capture the city when Yi's army arrived again. Their weapons are far superior to ours, and we have no room to resist at all. Wu Sheng resisted the urge to kill. With an army of 1.3 million, we were unable to capture Shuitan County, which only had rammed earth walls, and we also lost more than 100,000 elite soldiers. How can I explain this to His Majesty? Damn you! Everyone in the camp knelt down, terrified. Wu Sheng knew very well that the coalition forces had failed to make a breakthrough, and the death of Deng Ran, the commander of the Fuhai Navy, had severely damaged the morale of the army. The entire battle situation had already fallen into a disadvantage. It's only been over a month and they haven't even won a single battle. Suddenly he thought of the soldiers who were sent to the front line, and said urgently, "Quick, call them back." The coalition forces' flanking move was actually a chain of tactics. Their original intention was to capture Shaoji and Jiu and Luqiushan, counterattack Dai, and then the Xia and Jing dynasties would exert pressure and gain the upper hand. What's the difference between sending troops now and seeking death? Chapter 268 All-Out War. Marshal, it's too late if nothing unexpected happens, the army has already pressed forward. Wu Sheng was stunned, and could only bite the bullet and said, "In that case let's go to war. Don't test us anymore, inform Kbuf and on T hide your weakness anymore, defeat the Dai Navy for me." The whole army is pressing forward. Wu Sheng didn't want to try anymore. If he continued like this, his advantage would be completely wasted. He wrote a letter and sent it to Diaxia urgently, "Tell Li Badayo to beat me up." "Yes, Marshal." On the other side, inside the Great Hexia military camp, Li Badayo's face was as gloomy as water. As the prince of the current dynasty and His Majesty's younger brother, he was too embarrassed to even write to his brother after fighting such a battle. The coalition forces of more than 1.3 million were unable to defeat tens of thousands of people and even suffered losses of nearly 200. Zero troops. How tragic it was. Ni Qianjun, you are a sinner. Li Badayo punched the heavy document, which instantly made a dent. The ones he brought were all the elite troops of Diaxia. There were 70,000 to 80,000 Iron Harriers, and 80 of them were lost there. How many Iron Harriers were there in the whole of Diaxia? Less than 300,000. Including the heavy cavalry that had been lost previously, more than 60 of Diaxia's elite troops had been lost. It's a real pain in the ass. Inside the camp, everyone was as quiet as a cicada. His son Li Yuan came forward with a huge copper hammer. "Dad, I want to fight." Others also stepped out. "Marshal, I'm willing to fight." Li Badayo glanced at them and said, "The army has already gone to the battlefield. Even if you don't ask for a fight, it is inevitable." He knew very well that he couldn't push forward in a small area for Dai. There was no pressure at all. Only by putting all his cards on the table could he have a chance of winning. Fortunately, Wu Sheng thought so too. "Take out all your trump cards, show Dai a lesson, and let them have a taste of gunpowder." "Yes, Marshal." Following Li Badayo's order, Dia Yuan's army split into more than a dozen groups and marched in different directions. A month has passed since the Battle of Shuangfeng Town. We have lost more than a dozen wars, big and small, and suffered more than 200,000 casualties. Fortunately, he was given the power to recruit soldiers temporarily, and he captured another 300,000 young and strong men from the surrounding areas. "This time, if I fail, I will die." Li Badayo personally led 70,000 Iron Harriers, 60,000 infantry, and the firearms battalion to attack from the front. The rest are just covers to delay the main force of the enemy. He didn't believe that Dai could defend against such a long battle line. "Shuangfeng Town, Lu Yang, right? Wait for me." Li Badayo sneered. He had already found out Lu Yang's identity. Li Yuan's younger brother, instead of being a prince in Dai Yiliang Jing, he actually ran to the front line to fight. He is really not afraid of death. Today, he will let Li Yuan taste the feeling of losing his loved ones. In the town of Shuangfeng, Li Yang was ordered to guard here. After capturing Shuangfeng Town a month ago, he once pushed the front line forward nearly 100 miles. But the general staff asked him to retreat on the grounds that the front line was too long and supply was difficult. Shuangfeng Town is an important road, and the two hills are natural passes. With just his 3 teams and sufficient ammunition, they can defend against the death of tens of thousands of people. Thanks to his military achievements, he has been promoted to company commander, and he is the leader of the company. There are hundreds of companies like his along the border. 150 people guarding Shuangfeng Mountain may seem difficult, but it is actually not easy at all. Lu Yang was writing a war diary in the tent, recording the day's work, which was also something he had to do every day. Only by reviewing every day can we achieve continuous improvement. At this moment, Footsteps were heard outside. "Captain, something bad has happened. The enemy has deployed a large number of troops and has arrived 10 miles away." Li Yong stopped recording and asked seriously, "Can you estimate how many people there are?" "No less than 50,000 people. Most of them cavalry," said the scout. "Quick, pass the news back to the regiment headquarters and notify the surrounding companies to prepare for battle at any time." Lu Yong did not panic, but gave the correct instructions at the first time. He urgently summoned the soldiers who were resting in the tents. "A large number of bandits are attacking. We must defend Shuangfeng Mountain before the support from the regiment headquarters arrives. Check the traps immediately in landmines and see ultra PS on the roads that the enemy must pass through as much as possible." Others checked their equipment and stacked the sandbags to make sure everything was safe. Shuangfeng Mountain had been burned bare by the fire, and in the middle of the mountain there was a temporary stronghold built by the enemy. Li Yong ordered the reinforcement of these two strongholds, but at the same time, it also makes the stronghold more obvious. "Captain, the trap has been set." Reporting to the company commander, "All supplies have been counted. We currently have 30,000 submachine gun bullets, 5,000 rifle bullets, 1,500 grenades, 300 white phosphorus grenades, 3 mortars, and 50 shells. The mines have been laid, 200 in total." Lu Yong nodded. "There are 70 ppsh bullets for each soldier, and there are 150 soldiers in the army, so more than 10,000 bullets have been used. In other words, for these 30,000 bullets, each person has 3 magazines. Rifle bullets, each person has more than 30 rounds. White phosphorus grenades are very expensive, each person has only 2. And only fortresses like Shuangfeng Mountain can apply for them. Brothers from other companies don't have this kind of treatment. Even if we die, we cannot retreat a single step. We must defend Shuangfeng Mountain to the death. Do you understand?" Lu Yong said again. "I understand." Everyone shouted. "Save your honorable bullets. Even if you die, you will never be captured. We would rather die than surrender and sacrifice our lives for the country." Everyone shouted in unison. "Set up the formation and make sure the enemy has no chance of returning," Lu Yong shouted. Then, everyone in the company took up their positions and waited for the enemy to attack. About half an hour later, the earth began to tremble. Before it became completely dark, Lu Yong could clearly see the dark masses of cavalry. "That's heavy cavalry. The Great Xi Iron Harriers, their number will not be less than 100,000. Lu Yong trembled all over, his face full of disbelief. The main force of the enemy army. It turned out to be the main force of the enemy army. Usually heavy cavalry would lead the charge, followed by a large force behind them. Although he had made all the preparations, he knew very well that although the Papusha was good at killing people, it was powerless against heavy cavalry. Once the range was too far, it would even have difficulty penetrating armor. It could only inflict tons of damage at close range. But the enemy is not made of wood and will not let you kill him at will. The range of a bow and arrow is at least more than 80 meters at close range. The lethality of a bow and arrow is not inferior to that of a firearm. The heavy cavalry of each country were all equipped with repeating crossbows. Because heavy cavalrymen are wearing heavy armor, it is difficult to draw a bow on horseback, so the crossbow is the best choice. Everyone became nervous. But Lu Yong calmed down and said, "All troops, be on alert. Wait until the enemy gets closer before attacking. No matter what, we must defend this place for me." Lu Yong was ready to die here. He clenched the gun in his hand. If he had used up all the bullets, he would jump off the mountain and fall to pieces rather than be taken prisoner. Chapter 216. Stand firm. Everyone in the company was nervous. As the mines were triggered, the war broke out instantly. Li Yong made a gesture and they all took out their cavalry rifles. In terms of range and power, a single bullet is much more powerful than the ppsh. Moreover, there is a crusher on the rifle, which allows for precise strikes. A team was divided into 6 combat teams, 2 on each side. After several rounds of attacks, the enemy inevitably rushed into the canyon. The brutality of heavy cavalry cannot be stopped by mines and ultra PS. But he had a backup plan. "Quick, cut the rope." Lu Yong fired a flare, illuminating the dark sky. Several people quickly rushed to the aisle, not far away, and cut the fixed rope. Crash! The huge rocks piled up halfway up the mountain rolled down rapidly and hit the ground quickly. The cavalrymen who were hit were either killed or crippled. The cavalry camp suddenly became chaotic. After this series of moves, the leading heavy cavalry team also became chaotic. Li Yuanshao in the middle also shouted angrily, "Don't worry about it, charge forward and break through the pass." The reason why cavalry is used to lead the way is because of their strong mobility. Once the infantry are allowed to hold the line, it will be extremely difficult to resist Yi Jun's strafing fire. This is a lesson learned with blood. The infantrymen who die in the front will become an obstacle blocking the passage, and the army will be caught in a tough battle. And this strategy was indeed effective. As the heavy cavalry quickly reached the canyon and were interrupted, The corpses and boulders on the ground did not pose much hindrance to the enemy. Lu Yong was not in a hurry. He ordered his men to fire flares again. The mortars had been set up and they attacked from a high position. The shells fell randomly in the middle of the team, blowing the crowd to pieces. Li Yuanxiao was turning the copper hammer in his hand, and he was also extremely anxious. No matter how he urged, the team's progress slowed down. Because the canyon interrupted the trenches dug by the enemy, and the neatly stacked sacks formed a barrier. Son of a bitch, why didn't you report such important information? Li Yuanxiao cursed. He didn't even think about how many scouts dared to rush to the canyon to gather intelligence. And Lu Yong's stronghold was halfway up the mountain, overlooking the area below with a clear view. Moreover, both mountains were burned bare, leaving no place to hide. Quick, move the barricades and sandbags in front of me and fill up the ditch. Li Yuanxiao was a little anxious. He really didn't know how Li Ziqiao lost such an important checkpoint. He was simply a waste among wastes. Moreover, he also realized that using heavy cavalry to clear the way might not be entirely correct. So the first thing to do is to retreat. The sound of retreating troops was heard. The soldiers at the front were also stunned when they heard the sound, but they immediately followed the main force and left. Captain, they are retreating. Lu Yong also frowned. Don't let your guard down. They are very likely to adjust their attack plan. Sure enough, after these people retreated out of range, a scout came back to report. Captain, it's bad. They started to make people climb the mountain. Lu Yong looked solemn. Two strongholds are the best locations, but that doesn't mean you can't climb other places. It's just more difficult. The enemy was outnumbered. And they had only 100 men or so if they were scattered across the front, it would be hard to hit them with fire. But the forest has already been burned down. It is impossible for it to burn down again. However, they had imagined this situation, so they responded immediately. He sent 9 men over. Even if we die, don't let any enemy come over. The vanguard team saluted in unison. Then without looking back, they went around the mountain path to the other side of the mountain. At this moment, he only had 64 people minus 1 scout who brought the news. Soon, gunshots were heard from the other side of the mountain. However, through the light, one can see that behind the 2 mountains are densely packed bandits like ants. Lu Yong's heart sank. He made all the contingency plans, but he did not calculate that the main force of the enemy would pass through here. Because from the map, although Xuanfeng Mountain is relatively important, it is definitely not the only way to pass through. At this time, he thought of the document issued by the regiment headquarters, which warned him to be wary of the enemy's attempt to divert attention and stretch the battle line excessively. At this moment, he admired the wisdom of those people in the military. At this moment, the main force of the rebel army changed the battle formation. The heavy infantrymen held shields and moved forward. It was unknown how many people were under the shields. When they rushed into the canyon, the first thing they did was to remove the barricades and throw sandbags into the trenches. With the cover of sandbags, even the PPK would be helpless. Accurate shooting, send a squad down, and beat them back. As the words came to his lips, Lu Yong hurriedly retreated. Everyone come back, don't go down. He realized that the enemy just wanted to disperse their forces and defeat them one by one. They were on the mountain, came down the mountain, and ran out of bullets. They were no match for the cavalry and could only be killed. And in the mountains, even if the pass was breached, they could hold their ground and inflict the greatest damage. The scouts have already gone to report the news. The longer they delay, the easier it will be for the regiment to respond. Accurate shooting, ignore these infantrymen, and nail the cavalry behind with mortars. Compared with infantry, cavalry is more dangerous. Li Yong is an excellent marksman, a skill honed through firing thousands of bullets. Bang! A high-speed rotating bullet instantly blew up the enemy's head. Others followed suit. However, there are too many enemies and the shields are too thick. Rifles can't break shields. With such a defense, it must be the elite among the elite of Diaxia. In other words, the general leading this team must be of some importance. Catch the leader first. A sharp light flashed in Li Yong's eyes, and he hurriedly took out a telescope to search. However, it was too dark and there were too many people, so the area illuminated by the flares was not very large. He hurriedly asked the scouts to investigate. No matter if we can find it or not, we have to give it a try. As long as the commander dies, the army will inevitably flee. Captain, if nothing unexpected happens, the enemy commander should be next to the great Hexia dragon flag, someone reminded. Send two people to sneak into the middle of the mountain and observe. The enemy commander may not be under the dragon flag. He is most likely hiding in the rear, Lu Yong said. The regiment headquarters is 30 miles away, and the round trip is 60 miles. It will take at least 2 hours to respond. Therefore, he had to delay for 2 hours, or even longer. Li Yuanxiao was originally hiding among the heavy cavalry, but when he sensed danger he moved to the rear. Looking at the soldiers who were constantly rolling down the mountain, He had no mercy at all. He was determined to take over the Shuangfeng mountain. Soon, the scout came to the front quickly. "Report, General, the road ahead has been cleared and can be passed." Li Yuanshao shouted. "Men, charge." Chapter 270, Courting Death. Charge. Orat oratere. The infantrymen at the front all stopped in unison and then charged forward. The ones who were interrupted were the light cavalry. Even if the infantry died in front of them, they were just stepping stones. Li Yuanshao held back the heavy cavalrymen who were ready to move. He had already seen some of them climbing halfway up the mountain. How could these people hold out if they were attacked from both sides? As for those people in the front, they were just young and strong men who were temporarily recruited. If they died, they died, and he didn't feel sorry at all. "Brothers, hit me hard." Li Yan looked at the charging infantry, threw his empty rifle aside, took out his peepish, and fired a volley of bullets at the enemy troops below. Da da da. The tongues of fire were extremely obvious in the darkness. The two strongholds fired at an angle, and the infantrymen in the front fell down like rice being mowed. But the peepish is good, and it only takes a cup of tea to fire a round of bullets. Even though Lu Yang had fired accurately, he had used up a volley of bullets in just a few minutes. And replacing the bullet is not simple. He quickly retreated to the rear and changed bullets. Throw the grenade. Boom boom boom. Boom boom boom. A grenade exploded in the crowd, and countless people were blown to the ground by the grenade fragments. But the people behind kept rushing forward, stepping on the bodies of those in front of them. The horses' hooves trampled on people, without any regard for the lives of the injured. The screams and cries for help even drowned out the sound of the explosion. A barrage of arrows shot down from the ground. Shuangfeng Mountain is just a mountain no more than 100 meters high, and it is impossible to completely ignore the attacks from the ground. But most of the arrows were blocked, and only a few arrows posed a threat to them. But this small number of arrows is still a considerable number. Beat them back. Lu Yang gritted his teeth. In an instant, the firepower was raised to a higher level. He did not hide his weakness and threw the white phosphorus grenade down. In an instant, the crowd was engulfed in white flames. The entire canyon was illuminated by the creepy white fire, and shrill screams resounded throughout the world. This fire also hindered the progress of those who came later. Later people did not believe in it and moved forward in the fire, but the fire was extremely easy to be contaminated. Once infected, it can never be eradicated. Then the word spread from 1 to 10, and from 10 to 100, and it spread among the crowd like a plague. Save me, save me. What kind of evil fire is this? Why can't it be extinguished? Countless people rolled on the ground. A fire clung to their flesh and blood, roasting their fat and making a sizzling sound. That kind of despair eroded the nerves of these people. Even the cavalry could not avoid it. The warhorse was tainted by fire and went crazy, throwing the cavalry behind it off its horse. What are the people in the front doing? Why haven't they rushed over yet? Li Yuanshao was upset, but unfortunately he was too far away and had no idea what was happening at the front line. But the charging soldiers began to retreat gradually, and he could no longer sit still. Even if the enemy's firepower is fierce, we can't repel them, right? The chevaux de frise and the ditches have been filled up. If we launch a charge, there will always be someone who can rush forward. Why are we retreating instead of advancing? Li Yuanshao was so angry that he wanted to kill someone. He urged his horse forward and smashed a retreating infantryman to death with a hammer. Anyone who dares to retreat will die. Push forward. General. This is too scary. The day soldiers have mastered the will-o'-the-wisp fire. Once it's touched, it can't be put out. It can burn your bones. The temporarily recruited infantryman knelt on the ground, his eyes full of fear. Li Yuanshao laughed grimly and smashed the man's brain with another hammer. This is the fate of a demoralized army. Even if there are mountains of swords and seas of fire ahead, you have to stand up to me. This brutal scene directly shocked those people, and they had no choice but to rush forward again. General, it stays weird white fire weapon. Once it explodes, it will become a ball of fire that can set a person on fire in an instant, and it cannot be extinguished. Even the armor can be melted. Are you asking me to retreat now? Li Yuanshao glanced at the man coldly. The full-scale war has already begun. I am one of the main forces. If I retreat, I will lose. How can I explain myself? It's better to take a detour and attack from another place. Li Yuanshao grinned and said, "Don't other places have such weapons? You are destroying the morale of the army. Go to hell." He swung the copper hammer in his hand and knocked the man in front of him off his horse. The man vomited blood, his body twitched continuously, and then he died. It's ridiculous. An army of over 100,000 people was stopped by such a small number of people. It has been over half an hour, and there's still no breakthrough. When Li Yang launched the flares, Li Yuanshao also saw the situation on the mount, and clearly after such a long time, he also understood the situation of Shuangfeng Mountain. A number of people guarding here is definitely no more than 300. They has few troops and the battle line is very long, which means they cannot deploy too many troops on the front line. Once the battle on the front line fails, they will have to leave people to defend the city. Therefore the strategy set by my father was correct. It's a pity that these people have been frightened by day. He knew that if he failed to stabilize the morale of the troops, he would be doomed to fail. He gritted his teeth, picked up the heavy dragon flag, waved it and roared, "Go ahead, even if many people die, their ammunition is not unlimited. Our brothers have already climbed up the mountain. It's only a matter of time before we take them down." But even so, everyone couldn't stop feeling fear. Li Yuanshao roared, "Kill one person and get a reward of 50 taels, and be promoted one rank," and so on. There is no upper limit. As soon as these words were spoken, everyone became agitated. The soldiers who were originally trembling with fear now showed greed in their eyes. People die for money, and birds die for food. At this moment, Li Yuanshao's words became their motivation. Kill, they are crazy. Even though there was fire ahead, people still continued to move forward. They placed their shields under their feet, and the corpses below formed a bridge of corpses. No matter how fierce the fire on the mountain was, there were always people who kept going up to support it. A quarter of an hour later, when the first person rushed out of the circle of fire, more and more people followed. Charge! Li Yuanshao was overjoyed and waved the dragon flag even harder. Everyone else charged forward. The heavy cavalry behind him also rushed out after hearing Li Yuanshao's words. But just when Li Yuanshao felt victory was in sight, his eyes went dark in an instant. The waving dragon flag suddenly fell from his hand. He lost his balance and fell heavily from the horse's back to the ground. The guards who were protecting him were also dumbfounded. "Prince! Oh no! The prince is injured." The guards were so nervous that they dismounted from their horses to check on Li Yuanshao's condition. When they were rescuing him, they found that there was a bloody hole on Li Yuanshao's right temple and a huge hole next